I, as the most powerful young master of the immortal clan, am already the supreme being of this generation at the age of only 20. However, I was collectively divorced by the 4 saintesses who came to my door. Just because I have been practicing in the clan and have never shown my edge in the world. My Chen family has also been hidden for thousands of years, and the world thinks that the Chen family has declined, which makes the 4 daughters think that I am a waste who only relies on the power of the family, and has already climbed to the top of other major families. At this moment, in the magnificent hall of the Chen family, today I am going to call off the engagement. I, Chu Linger, am honored as the holy maiden of the Taihang Palace, with unparalleled talent, on the path of the great Tao. I may not necessarily fall behind you in the future, wanting to rely on the power of the Chen family of Changxing to force me to become your Tao companion. Forget about it. Today, this engagement, I, Chu Linger, have called it off. At this moment, the elders with strong aura and flowing Tao rhyme stood still on the spot. All of them are members of the Chen family of Changxing. At this moment, all eyes were strange. Master Chen, although you are unparalleled in talent, unparalleled in ancient and modern times, and your status is prestigious, pressing down on the eastern region, but I, Shui Lanying, have long had someone in my heart. That engagement was just a decision made by the elders of the clan back then, and I have no obligation to fulfill it. A woman in purple next to Chu Linger said coldly. As soon as the words fell, the elegant and heroic goddess in golden armor slowly spoke. Chen Qinghe, I, Su Zishi, have already become Tao companions with the imperial son of the Great Yan dynasty. Now that Great Yan and Great Yan have formed an alliance, I will no longer fear the power of your Chen family. I will regret this marriage today. In the main hall, there was a moment of silence. The words of the 3 goddesses were like a bolt from the blue, leaving the Chen family members present stunned for a moment. The young master of the prestigious Chen family unexpectedly faced the humiliation of having his engagement broken off. The elders present were furious and immediately wanted to take action against these 3 ignorant women. How dare you act so rebelliously in my Chen family? Unforgivable. An elder of the clan took a step forward, and a terrifying pressure instantly enveloped the hall. Not yet shot. Just the strong pressure has already made the 3 women feel like they are in an ice cellar, their delicate bodies trembling uncontrollably. With their cultivation only at the transcendent realm, they have no room for resistance. At this time, a phantom fire phoenix soared into the sky in an instant, neutralizing the pressure of that supreme powerhouse. How can the dignified Changxing immortal clan also make a move against us women? A phoenix with long fiery red hair, with a hint of flickering fire in her bewitching eyes. Chen Qinghe, I, Feng Yanran, have already obtained the ancient heritage of the clan. From now on, the road to the great emperor is smooth. Don't say your Chen family of longevity. Even if you look at the 4 major domains in Zhengzhou, there may not be a man who can match me. The woman flicked out a flame in her hand, burning a marriage contract to ashes. In those charming bewitching eyes, there is a look of disdain. The Chen family of Changsheng. So what? My Phoenix clan has been passing down for thousands of years, dwelling in the Jianmu, with countless divine fires. Now that I have obtained the ancient inheritance, given time, becoming an emperor is not impossible. Only with a marriage contract. You think you can have me, Feng Yanran? What a joke. With just Chen Qinghe, this goddess doesn't even care. Besides, the golden-winged Peng Mingwang of the Beast Kingdom has already proposed to our clan. By then, the Phoenix clan will form an alliance with the Beast Kingdom, and the Eastern Xian Demon clan will be completely under our control. At this moment, there was a moment of silence in the Chen family's main hall. The marriage contract that the Chen family of Changsheng had once established was unexpectedly broken by the other party, and all 4 goddesses came at once. Looking at the entire history of the Chen family, this is already quite explosive. At this time, the most respected elder among the elders was also very surprised. Although he had lived for hundreds of years, he was facing the current situation for the first time. He couldn't help but ask himself, has the Chen family, which has been in seclusion for hundreds of years, really lost its prestige in this world? The native chicken dared to come in front of the real dragon to show off. It seems that it is time for the world to reacquaint themselves with my Chen family. Chen Qinghe, although the Chen family has helped my Chu family a lot, allowing my Chu family to rise from being a non-influential family to becoming the top aristocratic family dominating the Western Sichuan, enabling me to enter the Taihang Palace for cultivation, and helping the Taihang Palace multiple times, allowing me to rely on this and become the holy maiden of the Taihang Palace. But this is not enough for me to marry you. Whatever the Chen family wants, I, Chu Linger, will definitely repay it twofold in the future. I hope that everyone can drop this engagement. Chu Linger took out the marriage contract from her arms, and with a gentle rub of her delicate jade hand, the marriage contract instantly turned into powder. Young Master Chen, Lan Shuiying has someone in her heart. I am grateful for the kindness that the Chen family showed to my Lan family in the past, but today, for the sake of her own happiness, Shuiying will undoubtedly regret this engagement. Lan Shuiying also took out a marriage contract, and a cold air appeared in her delicate hands. In an instant, the marriage contract turned into ice debris. The Chen family engagement. This princess disdains it. The Princess Su Zishi of Dian, dressed in a golden armor suit, spoke with a resolute tone. A cold smile appeared on her stunningly beautiful face, and the marriage contract in her hand was immediately shattered by the surrounding aura. The masterpiece of the fourth daughter pushed the atmosphere at the scene to a climax. Well, I've never seen such remorse. The members of the Chen family only felt their heads buzzing incessantly, almost about to explode with anger. Period. When has my Chen family ever suffered such a strange humiliation? What a face for them! Asterisk. It's all. Today, you all must die. The second elder stepped forward, and the supreme aura instantly filled the great hall, and the collapsing yuan chi wrapped around the four women almost instantly. He only needed one thought, and these four female dolls would instantly be torn to shreds by the terrifying yuan chi. However, the second elder still held back. He looked back, and as he did, everyone within the great hall, including the four people, also at this moment, looked at the golden and glorious dragon crystal seat. Phew! The youth, who had been keeping his eyes closed and listening quietly, finally opened his eyes at this moment as well. A smile tugged at the corners of his mouth as he slowly raised his hands, as the crowd watched in amazement. Inside the great hall, the sound of crisp applause resounded lazily. Snap! Pop! 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 Snap! I haven't even started the highlight reel in chapter 2 yet. Chen Qinghe crossed over. In an instant, the images within his mind kept flashing back. Hegemony over Dongxian, mighty in the four great domains, the everlasting immortal race, the young master of the Chen family, awesome coaxing, for words no longer suffice to describe him. Although his parents had disappeared for many years, he relied on the Chen family's resources, as well as his own talent of being a champion of the ancient world. He, at the fanciful age of 20, had already reached the terrifying supreme realm. Supreme triple. What kind of concept is that? Tramp. Other people of the same generation, those so-called supreme heavenly prides, breaking through the nirvana realm at this age would already be a dozen or so lifetimes of their ancestors' graves smoldering, without beating the gong and making it known to the world. It is not enough to reflect their decisive talent. But what about him? Supreme. What a weight those two words carry. At this age, throughout the ages, the flood, the swift, the present day, the three great worlds, only one, what has not been seen before, will not be seen after. He thought that he would be the ruler who would dominate this world, but before he could be happy for 3 seconds, the resounding words of Chu Linger's repentance came to his ears. Is up, Tai. What's going on? I'm a supreme bigot for S sake. How dare they come and repent? Are they always this brave? Brain loading. Oh, it turns out that I had stayed in the clan to cultivate before, and had not yet come out of the world. Besides, the Changxing Chen family has been closed for 300 years. It's not bad for anyone in the world to remember. Who still knows the so-called Chen family's young master? He never came out of the world in the first place. Tu never made a move. The world naturally didn't know what an astonishing realm this mysterious young master of the Chen family who only knew how to bury his head in cultivation had already reached. Only the 3 great elders of the clan were aware of his current strength. This was why the several elders had such a monstrous rage just now. This caused the Grand Elder's brain to be a bit confused and even down for a while after hearing that the 4 women had repented of their marriage. Who'd believe it? For S sake? How can anyone dare to come before the Supreme Being and repent of their marriage? What kind of person would want to repent of the Supreme's engagement? How could anyone dare to repent of their marriage in front of the eternal immortal race's Supreme Lord? LOL. In hell. It's still there. The Great Elder has lived for hundreds of lifetimes, and this is the first time he has encountered this kind of thing. So who the hell is he going to reason with? But, well, Chen Qinghe is also considered to have seen the true face of these 4. Back then, when the marriage contract was concluded, although several juniors were still in their infancy, the forces of the Changxing Chen family had already acted in secret. It was also as Chu Linger had said. His Chu family was still a small and unimpressive family in the western wasteland at first. However, after just a few years, it became the top lineage that dominated the western wasteland. Why? It wasn't even the Chen family's forces that were constantly helping in secret. Cultivation resources, a constant supply of them, are all top-notch in the world, such as pills, martial arts techniques, spirit grass, and even the so-called talent delivery, strong cultivation mechanism, power fostering, industry chain building, and one-stop services. So did the remaining 3 women? Don't look at Feng Yanyan's arrogance nowadays. Think about how miserable they were when the Phoenix clan was suppressed by the Dragon clan in the demon domain. and then when they turned to Jianmu, they were also miserably bullied by the rest of the demon clan. Almost killed Kenwood. Still not relying on the Chun family's fostering, all of a sudden became the lord of Jianmu, and together with the 10,000 Beasts Kingdom of the Eastern Wasteland, and the Dragon Clan of the North Sea, they jointly ruled the Dongxian Demon Clan. Thinking about it is really ridiculous. Nowadays, the four women are either saints or goddesses. Their splendor is outstanding, and they suppressed Dongxian. Their suitors were able to line up from the Western Wasteland to the North Sea. Naturally, he also felt that he, the young master of the Chen family who was not out of the world, was somewhat unworthy of their status. There was perhaps also the authorization of the families, forces, and even sects behind them. It was nothing more than the fact that the Chen clan's 300 years of seclusion had caused all of them to forget the truly terrifying strength of the everlasting immortal clan. Alas, Chen Qinghe sighed sadly in his heart. He didn't expect that even after crossing over to become a supreme big brother, he couldn't escape the opening of being repented of his marriage. But, let's leave it at that. Pop, 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 snap, pop. Crisp clapping sounds suddenly rang out in the silent hall. All eyes were astonished. Chen Qinghe, who was sitting at the top, also opened his eyes at this moment. There was not a trace of divine splendor mixed in the deep eyes, and there was only indifference that was calm to the extreme. It was as if a god in the high heavens was looking down on all beings. Very good. Chen Qinghe opened his mouth, a smile at the corner of his mouth and a relaxed tone. Since the four goddesses and beauties have resolved to repent their marriage, I, Chen Qinghe, have no objection. Grand Elder, old man is here. Young lord, just do as you please. From today onwards, Shu Linger, Lan Shuiying, Su Zishi, and Feng Yanran, the marriage contract between the four girls and me, Chen Qinghe, is hereby terminated. Chen Qinghe's bemused gaze swept over the faces of the four women below one by one. Shu Linger stubbornly held her pretty head high, her gaze resolute. Lan Shuiying frowned slightly and bowed her head slightly. Su Zishi's face was astonished and her expression was complicated. Feng Yanran, on the other hand, had her demonic eyes shining, her red lips hooked up, and she was proud of her style. Chen Qinghe had no waves within his heart. After all, the four don't have any so-called feelings with him yet, and this is even their first meeting. But that's enough. Don't ever see each other again. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to resist directly sacrificing an emperor's soldier. Inform the four great domains as well as the central divine state of this news. Also, Chen Qinghe paused, looking at the four goddesses with differently shaped faces. The smile at the corner of his mouth grew even wider. In addition, recall the powerful people from all sides who have been secretly fostered. Release my Chen family's notification to the East Xian domain. From now on, whoever dares, or any power, clan, ethnic group, or even individual, who dares to have any contact with these four women's families, clans, forces, communities, whatsoever, my Chen clan's imperial soldiers, arrive immediately. The Grand Elder was blinded again, his pale withered glory slowly raised, carefully observing the young lord at the top. In the past, the young master who was gentle and calm and honored people's negotiation seemed to have more than a hint of dominance today. I am an old man, and I honor the young lord's orders. Buzz. In the next moment, the Grand Elder's figure had dissipated into the great hall. You, don't think for a moment that I'll give in just because of that. I, Shu Linger, even if I have no one to turn to and become a loner, I won't succumb to your obscene power. Absolutely not. Shu Linger's pretty face was suffocatingly red. Being pissed off. Simply pissed off. The small chest rose and fell violently. Chen Qinghe pursed his lips. It's too small. The last moment I was there, I thought that Mr. Chen was a gentleman and had the wisdom of benevolence and virtue, but I didn't expect to have looked away after all. Oh, so what if you force me and hate me? I, Lan Shuiying, am not some vase to be manipulated. Good. Well said. I feel sorry for you. The heart is black and serpentine, and the words are skimmed. What a poisonous woman. Gee, pissed her off and deserved it. Su Yanran's phoenix eyes were chilly and frosty, her golden armor glittered, and her pretty face was complicated above. Chen Qinghe, you'll regret it. There's no way I, Su Zishi, will fall. What doesn't defeat me will eventually make me strong. Well said. Chen Qinghe couldn't help but applaud her. Cannon in cannon. Ha! Prepare to suffer the wrath of the Phoenix clan. Feng Yanran sneered. Her demonic eyes flashed with a hint of blazing fire. Then she leisurely left. Chen Qinghe supported his chin with one hand and eyed the departing backs of the four women. He had suddenly forgotten something. A very important thing. Nima, Tai Tai. Haven't you forgotten the saying 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West? Hello? I haven't even started the highlight reel yet. Chapter 3 Chen Qinghe? It's just a stepping stone for me. Western Wasteland. Chu family. Brother Huainan. Don't blame us. Don't you realize what your daughter has done? Damn it, Chu Huainan. What are you doing? If you want to die, don't drag us with you. Asterisk 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 up. The 13 generations of my Zheng family's Yuan, based in the Western Wasteland for more than 600 years, are not just playing around. Your rebellious daughter's brain is guilty. How come even you, Chu Huainan, are such a jerk nowadays, daring to go to the everlasting immortal clan to repent for your marriage? Your Chu family really has guts. My Zhang family will draw a clear line with your Chu family from now on, and will never interact with each other again. Chu Huainan, what the hell? Are you stupid? Your whole family is stupid. What true gentleman of the Chu family? The number one in the Western Wasteland? You Chu Huainan are really worse than a dog or a pig. Mother asterisk 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 her, even dare to repent the marriage contract of the Chen Qinghe family. I respect you as a man. Hey, don't send. We'll meet again in the future. So don't smile, lest I meet again then and can't lay my hands on you. The smile on Chu Huainan's face was a little stiff, and there was some hidden uneasiness in his heart, but at the moment, he was still forcing himself to stay calm and maintain the demeanor of the head of the family. Guys, don't get me wrong. Chu Huainan still wanted to try his best to retain the several great families, so he faded away from his previous condescending demeanor, and at the moment, he was well accompanied by a smiling face. Although this marriage contract has been repudiated, what does it have to do with the friendship between our families? It's not like the Chen family has named names, so why are you fellows so flustered? Besides, the everlasting Chen family has been closed for over 300 years. Can't you all guess what the reason is? Once these words came out, all the people in the hall subsided. Which of the people present, within the Western Wasteland, was not a big shot who would turn the world upside down if he stomped his foot? As top families and the heads of great clans, the minds of these great men were thieves. What Chu Huainan could think of, they could naturally think of as well. But this kind of explicit words people wouldn't be foolish enough to say. Only the current Chu Huainan dared to have the guts to do so. Everlasting immortal race? Chen family? It's been over 300 years. Where's the Chen family? The East Xian domain has been in chaos for nearly 100 years, with constant fighting. Have any members of the Chen family ever appeared? Unheard of. That's over 300 years. Longevity Chen family as if there has never been. All the forces are gradually this mysterious clan a few into oblivion. If it wasn't for the heavenly void edict that stretched across the Western Wasteland the day before yesterday, who would have remembered that the everlasting immortal race still had the Chen clan? The reason why just one by one angrily reprimanded Chu Huainan, looked to be about to reel swords and hands on the posture. But these bigwigs in the use of this matter, venting the heart's dissatisfaction and indignation. The Changsheng Chen family was too far away, but the Western Desert Chu family was as far away as one could see. Over the years, the Chu family had reached the level of questioning the Western Wasteland in just 100 years. The extent of its power and strength is simply horrifying to hear. The major ancient lineages and thousand-year-old sects within the Western Wasteland could only watch the rise of the formerly unimpressive Chu family. It wasn't that these bigwigs hadn't thought of strangling this kind of heaven-defying power in the cradle in the first place. It was a pity that the Chu family seemed to be protected by a great sage ancestor, causing the crowd to really not dare to act rashly. Under the saints, all are ants. Not to mention the Western Wasteland, even if one looked at the entire Eastern Xian domain, great saint powerhouses were at the top level. The Chu family was so powerful that these great families and clans had to submit, and when the two cooperated, they naturally had to give up a lot of benefits to the Chu family, which made all the forces in all directions feel indignant. But in the end, I dare not say anything. Just now, each one of them blew their beards and glared, almost pointing at Chu Huainan's ancestors to take out their anger. It made everyone in the room feel good. Cool. After the fun, it's time to talk business. Chu Huainan detected the words and saw that the people were all frowning and silent, and the stone in his heart had already fallen most of the way. Everyone, what is the basis for the rise of my Chu family's own father? In the next to the top? It's the root of my Chu family for 100 generations. It's my Chu family's heavenly blessing of virtue. It's the thick and thin accumulation of generations of my Chu family. It's my Chu family, the hard work of generations of capable celestials in the clan. Chu Huainan's tone was agitated and his body trembled. The brilliant picture scroll of the Chu family's generations of struggle, rising from a small, unimpressive family in a single leap, flowed in front of his eyes. As if empathizing, Chu Huainan actually had some moist corners of his eyes. My Chu family didn't get where it is today by relying on the background of the Changsheng Chen family. Cut. The big man in the room was a bit speechless. The true gentleman of the Western wilderness is starting his snotty, wonderful performance again. The foundation of 100 generations? God's blessing? The accumulation of wealth? I'll be damned. The old piker is shameless. Leaning on your daughter is just like leaning on your daughter. And you're so shameless. Lowly. But then again, For the Chu family to be where it is today, it does have some strength. Just how much is benevolent? Now that my daughter is gifted, she has been honored as the Holy Maiden of Taihang Palace. My Chu clan has become mutually dependent on Taixing Palace. Chu Huainan was glowing and was simply excited to talk about his precious daughter. Plus, the knee boy has the honor of entering the everlasting Lin family and becoming the Lin family's Black Abyss Guard. Brothers, think carefully. This marriage contract of my Chu family, should it be withdrawn or not? The everlasting Forest family. The hearts of all the bigwigs trembled, only to feel that an inexplicable pressure had hung over their heads, suffocating them. The Lin family of the Immortal Clan, which stretched across the eastern Xian, compared to the low-profile Chen family, the Lin family had practically called the shots in the eastern Xian domain for hundreds of years. Its prestige and power simply made the top forces from all sides worship it. Hitching a ride on the big boat of the Changsheng Lin family, no wonder this old piker dared to have the nerve to go and make his daughter repent her marriage. Everyone came to their senses. The youngest son went to work as a Black Abyss Guard for the Lin family. The Black Abyss Guard was the sharpest sword of the Changsheng Lin family. Only the great clans and sects that were extremely close to the Changsheng Lin family were qualified to send their clansmen to serve. In addition, there had been rumors that the Lin family's second divine son had once had a close relationship with Chu Linger within the Taixing Palace. Good. The youngest son has become a Lin family guard, and the eldest daughter has climbed up to the Lin family's second godson. So it's no wonder that the Chu family has such a bottom line. However, the Qin clan's notification has already been released, and everyone in the western wasteland is now in danger. Brother Huainan, based on your 3 words alone, you want us to hang our heads on our waists and accompany you in a bet, which is a little too much. The Zhang family head was a bit hesitant, and what he said was also the concern of the bigwigs present. Seniors, the little woman is here to vouch for you. Just then, outside the hall, a green-clothed silhouette floated in. The young girl's skin was white and jade, and her face was stunning. Red lips dotted with red, watery eyes. Chu Linger stepped into the middle of the lobby, a flash of pride in her eyes, and under the scrutiny of many gazes, she slowly touched a jade pendant from her bosom. With this voucher, seniors, feel free to rest assured. Chu Linger was confident. Her face was a bit flushed, but with a hint of stealing. In her hand was an ancient jade pendant that was black in color and inked like dust. Above the jade pendant, yuan qi lingered and divine patterns flowed, and at a glance, one could tell that it was absolutely extraordinary. More importantly, on top of that jade pendant, there was an extremely vibrant golden hot lettering. Lin, the divine pattern jade pendant of the everlasting Forest family. Only the divine sons within the family were qualified to wear it. There were only 3 Lin family divine sons. This one, notoriously, looking at the bigwigs of all parties present who were usually majestic and ancient, towering above the others. At this moment, each one of them had fiery eyes, infatuated, and even excited, as if they were observing the god of heaven. Chu Linger's red lips couldn't help but curl up slightly. Ha ha, you want to destroy the Chu family? You want me to bow down? Oh, Changxing Chen family, Chen Qinghe, you, too, are nothing more than a stepping stone for my Chu Linger to fly the phoenix in the future. Chapter 4, Imperial Soldier. Exploded. Everlasting Domain, Immortal Race Chen family. The hall was empty. Laws coiled around. Divine patterns flowed, and the supreme pressure was nearly suffocating. Zip. There was a flow of emptiness within the hall, and Chen Qinghe slowly stepped in. He went to the land of the North Sea to look for the legendary dragon-marked divine spirit there. It is a pity that, after half a month, nothing has been found and we can only return home. His strength had already reached the peak of Supreme 9, but he had been stuck in this chasm for 3 years, never able to touch the reincarnation avenue. After careful contemplation, he decided to refine and comprehend the laws of the Great Tao, using the power of the laws to touch the threshold of reincarnation. But the laws of the Great Tao were so obscure that even if one was as strong as a world-raising Supreme Being, it would be difficult to comprehend them. I wanted to take advantage of the legendary dragon spirit to understand the laws of space and time, but unfortunately, after searching for half a month and almost turning the North Sea's various secret forbidden areas upside down, I never searched for the whereabouts of the dragon spirit. It was not without some demoralization. Inside the hall, the only exceptionally cold, the only long bright lamp burning ghostly, wisps of green smoke quietly dissipated. Phew, Chen Qinghe, dressed in a gold silk black robe, with no color in his deep eyes, sat on top of the dragon crystal seat, feeling a bit bored for a while. The cultivation path was really a bit boring, and it had only been more than half a month since he had traveled across, and he felt bored out of his mind. Although the everlasting Chen clan covered a good amount of land and could be said to have reached half the territory, Chen Qinghe had only spent half a day traveling up and down the clan. Wait, the women? Almost put the 4S on hold. Silent name. Chen Qinghe's eyes were instantly cold. It had been half a month, but there was no news of the four women. Which wasn't quite right. In the middle of the great hall, a black mist emerged. The black mist dissipated and the mysterious black shadow clad in a black robe appeared in front of Chen Qinghe. Silent name, Chen family deadbeat. Great sage 9 peak. Young lord. Silent name half-kneeled. His tone respectful, his voice husky. How's it going with those four women? Chen Qinghe coldly opened his mouth, his deep gaze directly causing Mo Ming, the titular great sage 9th peak powerhouse, to fall into an ice cellar. His breath stuttering. Faced with the young lord's pressure, Mo Ming hurriedly put on his spirits and spoke. Young Lord Qi Bean, the Grand Elder has already instructed his subordinates to organize things. Just. Chen Qinghe's gaze was fixed. Boo! The yuan qi around Mo Ming's body exploded in an instant. Chaotic. And it was obvious that he had already panicked to the extreme inside. And even the control of his yuan qi was in disarray. It's just that. The subordinates have met with some resistance. According to our secret investigation, the repentance of the marriage is secretly fishy. Silent Name's voice was hoarse and slightly trembling as he gave a full account of what he and the others had secretly investigated. Chen Qinghe's face looked strange. Nice guy. Dude, give you guys a thumbs up first. I can't see that these four strong women with pig brains are all very thoughtful. However, this does seem to make things a bit tricky. Not much of a problem. It's all about sprinkling. It seems that my Chen family has indeed been closed for too long, and this eastern Xian domain is on the verge of forgetting about us. Chen Qinghe muttered. It seemed like it was time to go all out. Otherwise, Dong Xian Du would change the sky. If you can't handle four women, how can you handle the world's most beautiful women in the future? Ugh. All beings under heaven. The silent name kneeling on the ground began to tremble again when he heard the young lord's self-talk. It's excitement. The 300 years of closure of the Changqing Chen family was finally coming to an end. It's time to let those mole crickets see the supreme strength of our Changqing Chen family. Young lord's high opinion. We subordinates. We swear to follow young lord to the death. Mermaids couldn't help but call out in a loud voice to worship, their eyes filled with admiration. Tell the Grand Elder to reopen the Clan Mountain and open up the Immortal Road. My Chen family, enter the world. Silent Name kowtowed heavily, then quietly left. But he didn't wait for him to leave for long before the Grand Elder had already arrived in the Great Hall. Young Lord, the Holy Maiden of the Taiching Palace, Bai Lingsu, seeks an audience. What the Grand Elder had come for was not for the Qin clan's decision to re-enter the world, but for an introduction. However, the old man's expression was rather strange, making Chen Qinghe feel uncomfortable. The Holy Maiden of Taiching Palace, Bai Lingsu? What's she doing here? Chen Qinghe was alert in his heart and had an ominous premonition. Could it be another withdrawal? If she backs out of the marriage at the drop of a hat, the old man, I'll tear her apart with my hands on the spot. The Grand Elder had already surmised what was in the other party's mind through the change in the young lord's expression, and inwardly he could not help but feel some sadness. I am the young master of the Chen family, but I have been bullied to this extent. My heart has left an indelible shadow over this matter. I'm ashamed of my ancestors. Upon seeing Chen Qinghe's eyes showing killing intent and surging pressure, the Grand Elder hurriedly reminded, Young Lord, what this woman has come. Yes, the Grand Elder stammered a little, for a moment unexpectedly some constraint, that vicissitudes of the sedate old face, at the moment hard to hold red. Alas, you might as well ask her yourself. Seeing the Great Elder's pig-liver-like expression, Chen Qinghe further concluded the guess in his heart. Yeah, come on. I'll immediately give you a hand-rubbing of the Emperor's soldiers. Let her in. Chen Qinghe gritted his teeth and slowly got up, not to greet, but to prepare to start the Imperial soldier. Isn't it too much to ask to use the Emperor's soldier? No, no, no. It's to let her see my Chen Qinghe's generosity. Be generous and let her die. The Grand Elder quietly retreated and hid outside the hall. The old pipsqueak sat on a cloud, his eyes glazed over. Beside him, the second elder, and the third elder were close by. The three old pikers were like rats stealing fish, afraid of being discovered, but they couldn't help but secretly probe inside. Buzz. The door to the temple opened and a white rainbow floated in. White clothes are snowy, like white lotus on snowy mountains, cold and lonely, unceasingly in the world. The eyebrows are beautiful, and the eyes contain fury. The posture is unparalleled, but the jade face is devoid of any spirit, cold to the extreme. Chen Qinghe's right hand was behind his back, and the Eternal Life Emperor's soldier was slowly sheathed. The white-clothed woman's chilly eyes sized up the handsome young man dressed in black and gold robes, her thin lips wriggling. Buzz. Around Chen Qinghe, the void twisted, and the supreme aura, the Imperial soldier pressure had begun to quietly escape, but he suppressed it instantly. Open up, open up, open up. Say you've come to repent of your marriage. Come on. Chen Qinghe was calm on the surface, but behind his back, the emperor's soldier was about to be sheathed. With her green silk flying behind her, Bai Lingsu carried her hands behind her back. The coolness of the capital, the arrogance of the air. This kind of gesture had already made Chen Qinghe impatient. Bai Lingsu frowned, recalling her master's instructions in her mind. Thinking about it, blinking, a small smile stiffened on his cool face. Her torso twisted slightly, though she thought to herself that her current posture should be much the same as her master had instructed her to be. Delightful and endearing? However, in Chen Qinghe's eyes, Bai Lingsu's body seemed like a dead fish on the chopping board, struggling there to die. Is this woman out of her mind? You'd rather repent of your marriage? Thin lips lightly opened. Bai Lingsu's smile stiffened. Her petite body slightly swayed, trying her best to control her voice. Chen Qinghe, your Su came. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Boo! Imperial soldier. Exploded. Chapter 5. This woman is unusual. Union? Proposal? Within the great hall, Chen Qinghe straightened his robes and sat at the top. Bai Lingsu sat at the bottom, her pretty face slightly red. She stated the purpose of her visit. As the holy maiden of the Taiqing Palace, I have followed the order of my master, Long Shuowei, and come to the Changxing Chen family to propose myself for marriage. Half a month ago, after the everlasting Chen family notified the world that they had broken the marriage contract between the young lord and the four goddesses, all the major forces in the world had been foolishly moving. Some of the ancient sects and holy places that had been passed down for thousands of years and tens of thousands of years were not as ratty as the Chu family. They had truly seen and experienced the terrifying depths of the everlasting immortal race, not to mention the eternal life Chen family at its peak. Even if the Chen family is really as declined and withered nowadays as rumored, it is not something they can easily touch. The first to seize the first opportunity was one of the four palaces, Taiqing Palace. Palace Master Long Shuowei forcefully argued and ordered her beloved disciple Bai Lingsu to personally travel to the Chen family to request a marriage. As the holy maiden of the Taiqing Palace, Bai Lingsu's status and position was not even remotely inferior to Chu Linger's. The key was that Bai Lingsu wasn't relying on connections to get to the top like Chu Linger. The name of white-clothed bloody sword murdering vegetables was a formidable one amongst the crowd of Tenjiu in Dongxian. With status, strength, plus unrivaled posture, such a wife. Do you want Chen Qinghe? Staring at the woman below with a strange expression, Chen Qinghe was a bit headstrong for a moment. This was a situation he had not expected at all. Being barricaded in front of your house by a woman proposing is peculiar? Bai Lingsu pretty face slightly red, 10,000 years of cold ice face at this time slightly constrained. Sitting in the hall always feel uncomfortable all over the body. Letting her raise her sword to kill, she Bai Lingsu could not be the slightest bit of a wimp. That is, a great saintly powerhouse. She also dared to go up and slash a sword. But having her propose to a man she had never met before was a bit overwhelming. Stealing a glance at the handsome man at the top, he saw that the other party's brow was furrowed, as if he was thinking about something. Bai Lingsu's heart grew more and more nervous, only feeling her little heart thumping non-stop, even more violently than when she had killed the Nirvana Great Demon. That, have you thought about it, Mr. Chen? Bai Lingsu lightly opened her red lips, and there was some timidity in her beautiful eyes. She naturally knew the strength of the long-body Chen family, and in front of this young master of the immortal race, this heaven's proud daughter of the four palaces who had been the first to kill, and who had shaken the East Shen, did not dare to have the slightest bit of petulance at this moment. Lingsu knows herself that her body is not worthy of her position and her posture is not worthy of her lord, so she does not dare to force herself, even as a concubine. Lingsu has no regrets. In Bai Lingsu's opinion, even if she was a concubine, it wasn't a disgrace. To be able to be the concubine of the young master of the Changxing Chen family was a great honor for her, as well as for the Taiqing Palace represented behind her. Chen Qinghe rested his cheeks on one hand and crossed his legs, his expression getting weirder and weirder. A flash of surprise passed through the indifferent eyes. Bai Lingsu's profile was something he had seen before. The name of white-clothed bloody sword murdering vegetables was a godkiller amongst the young generation of Dongxuan's pride. This woman doesn't look like a delicate and aggrieved weakling now, but she kills without mercy. 3 years ago, the Taiqing Palace crusade against a demonic cultivation sect under the domain. Bai Lingsu, who was the palace master's eldest disciple, led the team, and with one person and one sword, killed several Nirvana realm demonic cultivation bigwigs on the opposite side, holding their heads and running away. The devil sect cultivators under the Taiqing Palace domain were simply afraid of her to the extreme, not only under the domain of the Taiqing Palace, but also within the territory of the Dongxian domain. This woman had swept all the way through, and there were quite a few prideful people of her generation who had fallen under her sword. Even Chu Linger, back in the middle of the holy ceremony of the four palace discourses, was defeated under her. It is said that was almost chopped by Bai Lingsu with a sword in the beginning, or a big man stepped in and only saved it. This, Chen Qinghe has silently calculated that if he really wanted to join forces, Bai Lingsu was actually not bad. It was just that the Taiqing palace that she represented behind her was somewhat inadequate. In contrast to the Taixing palace represented by Chu Linger, the Taiqing palace, which was also one of the 4 palaces, was actually at the bottom of the list. Even though there was such a god-killing heavenly pride as Bai Lingsu, it still couldn't stop the decline, and the position of the Taiqing palace was now in jeopardy. It's very likely that it's gotten to the point where it's very serious. Otherwise, as the palace master, Long Shuawei would not have been so impatient to give away her beloved disciple, as well as the future hope of the palace sect, just like that, or in an extremely humble manner. For a behemoth like the everlasting Chen family, a marriage is not something that can be said casually. At the very least, the other party's heritage and power should be able to reach a certain level of influence. Obviously today's Taiqing palace no longer possessed this, at least for the time being. The decline of the Taiqing palace was already clear. Duke, my master instructed when he came here that as long as your excellency is willing to take me in, from now on, my Taiqing palace will only look up to the Chen family. Bai Lingsu was a little anxious. She was carrying a heavy responsibility this time. The elders of the Taiqing palace had high hopes for her, and the future of the palace gate was counting on her. She wasn't a brainless idiot like Chu Linger. For the palace sect's loss of power, her master's concern, and the future of the palace sect's disciples were all in her eyes, and it was necessary for her to stand up for herself, which was her Bai Lingsu's responsibility. Alas, Chen Qinghe sighed, looking at Bai Lingsu's pleading face. His heart couldn't help but soften. That tender face really touched the heart. Still, there's no rush on this. He wanted to see if Taiqing Palace had the strength to move down Taixing Palace. Chu Linger was relying on nothing more than the power of her own family and the Taixing Palace, as well as that great person behind her. Since this was the case, Chen Qinghe would have to destroy it all. Let that pay the price at the same time, but also let her see the real anger of the Chen family. As I recall, the 4-palace Lotus Assembly is about to take place instead? Chen Qinghe revealed a hint of a smile with a warm gaze and asked softly. Bai Lingsu froze, not knowing why the other party brought up this matter, but still said honestly, yes, there's still 1 month until the 4-palace Lotus Assembly. It's not too late. I don't know if Lingsu would like to introduce me. I do have some interest in this event. Although Bai Lingsu did not receive a satisfactory answer, Chen Qinghe's words still made her feel elated. Although Mr. Chen has not made it clear, I think he is going to inspect the Taiqing Palace. In that case, there is still hope for me. I'll never let the prince down. This is my only chance. Go for it. Bai Lingsu secretly cheered to herself. On the one hand, she was shouldering a heavy responsibility that she absolutely could not give up. On the other hand, she also has some small mind. Proud as she. I do not know how many great pride, a heart, but always 10,000 years of cold ice. Never touched. She knew she was beautiful and she knew she was gifted. Even a stupid pig like Chu Linger was able to marry the Chen family. She didn't believe that she would be worse than her? Joke. I, Bai Lingsu, have not been weak in my life. Even if you're robbing a man, you'll never fail. The master has also said, if you're going to grab it, grab the best. If you're going to sleep, sleep the best. I, Bai Lingsu, of course, sleep with the best men. Oh, asterisk. Oh. Looking at the woman's small pair of hands secretly clenched in her white sleeves, gnashing her teeth in an agitated manner, Chen Qinghe was vaguely uneasy. Intuition told him that this woman was unusual. Chapter 6. The Lotus Assembly. Out of the world. The Lotus Assembly, which was held once every 3 years, was organized by the 4 major palace sects of the Eastern Xian domain. The grandeur of the event and the scale of the event was several times higher than the 4-palace discourse conference. This was the moment for the 4 great palace sects to show off their strength and muscle to the forces of the southern region, and it was also a trading conference to obtain resources and select quality sons and daughters from all parties. Often, when the conference was held, it was a surge of 10,000 tides, with bigwigs from all sides it's out, and it was already the grandest event in Dongxian's southern domain. This year's venue happened to be the turn of Taiqing Palace. The main venue was situated on the Green Lotus Divine Mountain under its domain. Taichung, Taixian, Taichu, Taixing, the 4 major palace sect elder disciples had all arrived. Look, it's Senior Sister Chu from Taixing Palace. It's really her. Senior Sister Chu is so beautiful. Pedantic. Senior Sister Chu is not only beautiful, she's also a big womanizer. A few female cultivators were setting up the venue, when they suddenly saw Chu Linger, who was dressed in green, and immediately whispered in excitement. Senior Sister Chu is truly the leading woman of my generation. Even the marriage contract of the everlasting immortal clan dares to repent. I adore her so much. Well then, senior sister Chu is truly worthy of being the saintess of my Taixing Palace. This example is a good one for all the female cultivators of my Taixing Palace. That's it. That's what we women should do. Let those men see what we're made of. Who says women can't be independent? We female cultivators aren't bad at all. We don't rely on male cultivators to live as well as we do. Humph. I took that fiancé off some time ago. What the hell is the Shao family? A small eastern wasteland family. It's not worthy of this young lady, a delicate female cultivator said proudly. And for a while, the several female cultivators beside her looked at her adoringly. Good job, senior sister Song. I said long ago that Shao Huahui is a waste of space and doesn't deserve you at all. Right. Senior sister is a supreme celestial pride who will be certified as a great emperor in the future. Ordinary men are not even worthy of lifting your shoes. The delicate female cultivator was quite flattered and said with a proud expression. I was also inspired by senior sister Chu. We female cultivators must dare to love and hate. That fiancé of mine is a piece of. And his family is even more unimpressive. I'm not marrying him. If you want to marry, it's only if you're someone like the second son of Lin. The delicate female cultivator was a bit excited. And when she mentioned that Lin Ergongzi, her eyes were even more golden. And the several female cultivators beside her were also in the same mold at the moment. Second Duke Lin's esteemed status, strength, and natural talent are all 1 in a million. Only a man of this caliber can be worthy of us. Well then I'm going to look for a Taoist couple in the future. It's to take the second son of Lin as the standard. Without his kind of identity and natural talent background, all of them will not be considered. Those trashy male cultivators aren't even worthy of lifting our shoes. The more the several female cultivators spoke, the more excited they became. And one couldn't help but fantasize. Chu Linger had heard quite a few naysayers talking about her along the way. Some praising, some admiring, which made the smile at the corner of her mouth become more and more unrestrained. Chu Linger felt more and more right about her decision to repent her marriage. Tai Hanggong residence. Master, this Lotus ceremony, second Prince Lin will also be there in person. So at that time, I won't be able to accompany you around and receive guests from all sides. Chu Linger said to her master above, her pretty face already blushing above. No harm done. It's a good thing. You only need to stay by second Prince Lin's side. You don't need to worry about anything else. Ink Difrost smiled faintly and waved at his beloved disciple below. Chu Linger's beautiful eyes blinked as her posture floated and rose, arriving in front of her master. Mo Daifang took this beloved disciple's hands. Her face was filled with smiles, and she said in a very intimate manner, Linger, since you've already called off your marriage contract with the Chen family, you can perform well on the side of the second son of Lin in the future. This is your future happiness, and my Taihang Palace's dependence, so you must grasp it well. Chu Linger smiled and nodded her head, seemingly a little shy. Also, there's no need to worry about your Chu family's side. With my Taixing Palace relying on each other, this western wasteland can't turn the sky over yet. Mo Daifang laughed coldly and comfortingly. Chen family. The Chen family has long since ceased to be what it was. We need not fear. Taiyang Palace is your home, and we fully support your decision. On the day you and second Prince Lin officially tie the knot in marriage, this position of palace master will be yours. Chu Linger hurriedly knelt down and respectfully said, apprentice daughter wouldn't dare. The position of palace master. The apprentice would not dare to have the slightest intention of crossing the line. Emotion Xiu helped his beloved disciple up. His smile grew even wider as he laughed. Linger is truly a good disciple of master. The following day, the Lotus ceremony officially opened. The Green Lotus Divine Mountain covered an area of tens of thousands of miles, and the main venue of the event, the Lotus Broad Pond, was even more brilliant and dazzling. A white and dazzling snow lotus, a beautiful scenery and meteorological yaoji, a row of beautiful and refreshing delicate female cultivators. It is really beautiful. Above the void, a flying boat stood in a row. Divine light almost spread all over the circumference of the sky, and basically half of the major forces that had a name in the entire southern region had already arrived. In particular, the top celestial prides of the younger generation of the southern domain had gathered at this moment. The Grand Elder of the Taiching Palace, Su Fei Yen, presided over the situation, and the remaining 3 palace masters all showed up at this moment, receiving guests from all sides at the Lotus Wide Pond. For a while, this piece of heaven and earth was bustling with activity. Hey, Elder Su, why haven't we seen the Dragon Palace Master today? At the grand ceremony, guests from all parties were seated, and in the midst of loud conversation and laughter, Mo Daifang asked Su Fian, who was sitting on her side, such a great event. As the organizer of the Taiching Palace, the hall master did not show up. It was really a bit disrespectful. Now that all the forces in the southern region were converging, Long Shuewei's move was not without some slackness. Has the Dragon Palace Master encountered something difficult? Your Tai Ching Palace is really getting more and more nonsensical. This kind of event, the Palace Master is unwilling to come out to receive it? Tai Chu, Tai Xian, two Palace Masters coldly asked at this moment. This kind of good opportunity to fall down the well, they would not let go. Su Fian was dressed in a purple palace group. The beauty of the woman's posture was overwhelming. Her smile was ripe and charming, and she sat with the three Palace Masters without losing a single step. In the face of the three women's difficulties, he just smiled faintly and blandly arrived. The Palace Master has an important guest who needs to be received alone, so he has no time for others at the moment. Oh, important guests? How important is it? Could it be that all the males present in the southern domain pale in comparison? In the face of Mo Daifang's questioning, Su Fian let out a light laugh and thought to herself, just by virtue of the people present, are they worthy of being compared to that person? However, Su Feiyan didn't retort and just smiled faintly, not bothering to pay attention to the woman in front of her. Ink Dye Frost, however, was unrelenting, and even said with some pride, Long Shuewei refuses to show up, and if he annoys that gentleman, Yu Tai Chung Palace can't afford it. Su Feiyan's eyes flickered, somewhat not understanding the other party's words. However, in the next second, the atmosphere in the field changed abruptly. The bigwigs rose at the same time, simultaneously. Greetings, Second Prince Lin. Everyone was stunned by the youth in front of them, not expecting the second Duke Lin of the Everlasting Forest family to appear here. Is that the second son of Lin? He doesn't look so good to me. Shut up, you sinful disciple must not talk nonsense, a junior sitting at the back said with some indignation, only to be severely reprimanded by his own elder. Saintess Chu seems to have a close relationship with second Prince Lin, a man and a woman, a match made in heaven. I can't imagine that Taixing Palace has climbed the tree of the Everlasting Forest family. Su Feiyan was even more shocked. That second Prince Lin sighed. Stunned was Chu Linger. Chu Linger had a proud look on her face at the moment. Accompanying the second son of Lin gave her a great honor. Lin Chen smiled faintly at the crowd, and as far as his eyes could see, they were all filled with honored fiery gazes. Your seniors are laughing. I'm just here to make a scene. After saying that, with Chu Linger beside her, but she directly sat at the forefront of the first seat. With the appearance of second Prince Lin, it was only natural that someone on the side of the Taiching Palace would have to go forward to greet him. Su Feiyan also didn't dare to be slow, leaving her seat and coming to Lin Chen's side, specially serving 2 cups of immortal brew. Today, for second Prince Lin to be able to come to the conference in person, my Taiching Palace is honored. On behalf of the Taiching Palace, I would like to thank second Prince Lin for his presence. Su Fei picked up a cup of immortal brew and drank it in one go. It drew cheers from the crowd of bigwigs in the room. Lin Chen stared at the beautiful woman in front of him, looking at the other party's plump and petite body. The ripe and charming flavor and soft and voluptuous face made him unconsciously brighten up, and a flash of color flashed in his eyes. However, he didn't lift the wineglass in front of him in front of the crowd. Today's Lotus Conference is organized by your Taiching Palace. Why don't we see true Lord White Dragon? When these words came out, Su Feiyan's face stagnated and her smile gradually tightened. The people present at this moment were also slightly discolored. What this Lin Ergongzi said was somewhat reasonable. This kind of event, as the organizer of the Taiching Palace, the palace master did not show up late. It could not help but make people suspicious. Those present, which one was not in existence that was calling the shots in the southern domain? Even the younger generation, were all dragons and phoenixes among the people. Long Shuewei didn't show up this time. Is she looking down on us? Su Feiyan pursed her lips, but in reality, she was already a little flustered inside. And when she came into contact with Lin Chen's aggressive and stern gaze, she was a little speechless for a moment. Yes, I wonder where the Dragon Palace Master is and why he is unwilling to show his face. Now that all 3 Palace Masters are present, and the Dragon Palace Master is the only one missing, I wonder what Taiching Palace is doing this time. Could it be that you think that we are not enough for true Lord White Dragon to receive us personally? A questioning word came out from the crowd. The atmosphere above the wide pool was a bit gloomy. The corner of Lin Chen's mouth rose as he glanced at Chu Linger beside him. The young girl smiled in satisfaction at the man in front of her, a coldness flashing in her eyes. Mo Daifang was even smiling, waiting for Su Fei to make a fool of herself. The remaining 2 palace masters also looked unconcerned at the moment. With the decline of the Taiching Palace, they couldn't wait for it to fall so that they could divide up the huge resources. Buzz. In the center of the wide pool, a void twisted. From within the crack, a snow-white silver silk slowly floated out from it. Immediately after that, 3 figures walked out. What? The Dragon Palace Master is only accompanying me to talk about something. Are you all so impatient? Chen Qinghe saw the Lin Ergongzi and Chu Linger that sat in the first place at a glance and sneered. The bigwigs in the room rose up in a creepy manner, their gazes in disbelief. It's Chen. It's Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen of the Changqing family. Mr. Chen has come out of the world. For a while, everyone gathered around Chen Qinghe. One by one, very respectfully, he came forward and bowed in greeting. Chapter 7, The Second Prince of Lin. Bai Lingsu raises his sword. Chen Qinghe's appearance directly caused the atmosphere in the arena to reach a climax. As the crowd flocked to the arena just to catch a glimpse of the splendor of this young master of the Changqing family, the corners of Lin Chen's mouth froze in a smile, and there was a cold light flickering vaguely in those shadowy eyes. What had been his home turf was now alien. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, the Dragon Palace Master and I had an important matter to discuss. That's why we were delayed for a while. I hope that you seniors won't pardon me. Chen Qinghe opened his mouth blandly, his gaze sweeping across the field, those sword brows in a stern wind posture, freeing an intimidating force without anger. A black and gold silk robe, temperament honorable and noble, handsome face is like a knife cut between the hands and feet. The king's demeanor is convincing. The people present secretly compared it to that Lin Ergongzi, and their hearts were already clear. It is a blessing for us that Mr. Chen is able to honor us with his presence, and it makes this event supremely honorable. Chen Qinghe's ears were filled with compliments. On the contrary, on the other side, Second Duke Lin and Chu Linger had gone unnoticed. Chu Linger's eyebrows furrowed as she looked at Chen Qinghe, who was surrounded by the crowd, with a cold expression above her features. After seeing that the other party was accompanied by Bai Lingsu, his heart grew more and more furious. I repented of the marriage but a month's time. This Bai Lingsu will be impatient to stick up, when it is really shameless. It's a shame that I still regarded her as a formidable enemy, but now it seems that this Bai Lingsu has long been unworthy of being compared to me. All you do is wag your tail at men. You're a shameless. The more she thought about it, the more angry she became. Looking at that pair of unusually shining dogs and men in the crowd, Chu Linger simply bared her teeth. That was supposed to be her treatment with Lin Ergongzi. She jerked to her feet and moved forward. Chen Qinghe, what are you doing here? This is my four palaces Lotus Assembly. What does it have to do with your Chen family? Our four palaces didn't invite your Chen family. Chu Linger's eyes widened in anger as she pointed at Chen Qinghe and rebuked loudly. The whole room was silent. The air was somewhat frozen at this moment. Everyone present was dumbstruck, unable to believe their eyes and ears. Each of the bigwigs had a strange look in their eyes, and looking at Chu Linger's condescending appearance, they felt that this woman had simply lost her mind. Is this woman stupid? Right? How dare you talk to Mr. Chen like that? The old men are all eager to please, and you're playing contrast here? If it weren't for the fact that it was in the way of Chu Linger's identity, or else the bigwigs would have already been unable to hold back from striking out. I received an invitation from the Tai Ching Palace. Why can't I come? Chen Qinghe looked at the Chu Linger in front of him and let out a cold laugh. This is really not knowing how to live. Under this kind of scene, still dare to be so splashy to himself, just so anxious to cast a berth? Humph. This is the southern region, not your Chen clan. You'd better settle down. Chu Linger was still unrelenting, even with a hint of threat. In her perception, the southern domain was the territory of the four great palace sects, and the Chen family could not yet intervene here. Ding dash! A blood rainbow, like a dragon and snake dancing, shot out, so fast that it cut through a piece of the void. The sound of the sword was so close that those present only felt their eardrums cracking, and then they perceived an extremely terrifying sword intent. Sword intent alone wasn't enough to surprise the crowd of bigwigs present at the Saint Realm. The key was the unique killing aura in that sword intent, which could be described as sharp. The crowd was shocked and looked sideways, as expected in their hearts. Chu Linger only felt a blur before her eyes, and fiercely felt a sense of crisis coming. Her delicate body could not help but tremble. In the next moment, a blue light spell violently bloomed in front of her. Boo! Sword chi was flowing, magic weapons were flowing, and both of them were dispersed in one blow. Chu Linger had escaped from death and had yet to recover from the shock. The beautiful eyes, however, violently stagnated again, and above her pretty head, a strand of hair fluttered down in front of her eyes. Bai Lingsu, you! Chu Linger's anger flared above her pretty face, her red lips tightening as her pair of eyes stared deathly at the woman in white beside Chen Qinghe. White sword and blood sword killer. The name is not false. Daring to draw her sword on such an occasion. I really don't know if she is big-hearted or fearless. Chen Qinghe had a new perception of Bai Lingsu. Mr. Chen was invited by me. If you dare to disrespect the prince in rubbing, the blood sword pointed diagonally, and the sword trembled. This move scared the crowd of bigwigs into backing away, fearing that they would be affected by the disaster. This woman is really daring to make a move. What a deterrent. Lin Chen sneered, put away his magic weapon, and came to Chu Linger's side. Sacred maiden Bai is truly as rumored. I admire you. But, you seem to think a little highly of yourself. Lin Chen stepped forward. His yuan qi surged around him, and a radiant divine pattern hovered from behind him. Chen Qinghe realm. Second Prince Lin has actually stepped into the Chen Qinghe realm. At his age, he's a demon, worthy of being of the everlasting immortal race. This kind of talent is truly heaven-defying. In his early 20s, he has already entered the Chen Qinghe. In his day, the great emperor's testimony will surely be expected. The Lin family's unicorn son should be extraordinary. In the midst of a crowd of horrified gazes, Lin Chen wrapped one hand around Chu Linger's slender waist, and dragged up a small building of golden tripods that shone brightly with golden light. The Chen Qinghe mighty pressure spread over the sky, like a tidal wave, and pounced on Bai Lingsu and Chen Qinghe. Chen Qinghe, this is the southern region. It's not your Chen family's turn to act wild here. As soon as Lin Chen's words fell, an explosion suddenly came out of the void. Boo! The heavenly dome tore apart, and a terrifying aura swept out from the crack. It's the Black Abyss Guards. This is the aura of the Great Sage, 3 great saints, 6 lesser saints. At the lowest, they're all at the Nirvana realm. This Black Abyss Guard is worthy of being a Lin family chamberlain. With this kind of lineup, even if we look at the southern region, there's no one to beat. In the void, dozens of figures with strong auras stood in the dome of the sky. They wore black-striped divine armor and held Xinjing divine spears in their hands. With the Lin family's logo in big hot gold letters on his chest, it was none other than the Black Abyss Guard. These dozens of people were Lin Chen's personal guards, and their strength was quite terrifying. Long Shuawei's scarlet eyes sized up the figure at the very front above the sky dome. That great sage's aura was the strongest. It was definitely the peak of the great sage 9th level without a doubt. Her eyebrows furrowed as she looked at her beloved disciple Bai Lingsu as well as Chen Qinghe on the side, gradually retreating a bit in her heart. If they embraced Mr. Chen and thus offended the Lin family, it would not be something that their Tai Ching palace could afford. Bai Lingsu's red lips were pursed, her face was a little pale, and her right hand that was holding the sword was trembling a little imperceptibly. Lin Chen's Chen Qinghe realm's pressure was just too strong, and with her Nirvana realm's strength, she really couldn't withstand it somewhat, but she fought hard alone, not making a single sound, her cold eyes full of stubbornness. Suddenly, Bai Lingsu suddenly felt a softness in her left hand, and a ball of pure yuan qi crossed into her body, and the pressure on her body disappeared without a trace in an instant. Long Shuawei looked sideways, a smile flashed across her face. She knew it was time for her to make a decision. Chapter 8 Pretending I'll Make You Fly. Long Shuawei was about to go forward, but then she stopped violently, simply because Chen Qinghe made a move. Lin Air, you're scaring me with these people? Chen Qinghe held Bai Lingsu's small hand and said smilingly, glancing at the gawking Black Abyss Guards above the dome of the sky and not taking them to heart at all. How can I say that you are also from the immortal race? So it's fine to pretend in front of others. Even in front of me, Chen Qinghe, you dare to act like this. I really don't know how you survived until today. Lin Chen froze. He couldn't imagine that in this situation, the guy in front of him would still dare to speak so loudly. What did he have the right to do? Just because he's the young master of the Chen family? But I, Lin Chen, am not bad either. Your Chen family has been closed for more than 300 years, and since you've been hiding for such a long time, why do you need to be running out to disgrace yourself? Chen Qinghe, times are different now. Do you really think that I wouldn't dare to kill you? Chu Linger at this moment had changed back to her former proud appearance. Raising her pretty face, her petite body leaned imperceptibly towards Lin Chen's arms. The beautiful eyes were dead set on the hands held by Chen Qinghe and Bai Lingsu. What a pair of dogs. Why do you need to talk nonsense with him? Your Excellency, wouldn't it save you the trouble to kill him? Chu Linger blew up her ears, and a flash of ruthlessness flashed above that pretty face. Lin Air, you're just relying on the fact that you're outnumbered. But I did bring some people with me when I came out. As soon as Chen Qinghe's words fell, there was a distortion in the void. Boom, boom, boom. Above the dome of the sky, an explosive aura stretched across the firmament, and a terrifying pressure poured down like a wave that hooted and hollered, directly shaking this entire piece of heaven and earth. Wow! The golden road, puffing and spreading. A body containing Tao light stood in the void. Great saints! 9 great saints! This is impossible. 9 great saints! Is this the depth of the everlasting Chen family? The whole place was dumbfounded, stunned eyes staring blankly into the sky. 9 figures clad in black robes stood between heaven and earth, and the terrifying pressure of the great saints caused those present to tremble with fear. Enough for 9 great saints. This kind of strong lineup was enough to sweep through the southern region. Lin Chen's face was pale, unable to believe the sight before him. This guy. Surprisingly, 9 great saints were deployed. How could he? How is it possible for this kind of top fighting force to come out in such large numbers all at once? With his status, 3 great sage powerhouses were already tops. And for that matter, he still begged hard in front of his father to make it happen. One must know that a great sage powerhouse was already the top fighting force of this heaven and earth. And apart from the supreme, a great sage was almost a great power of the world. Right. This must be the entirety of the Chen clan's great sage reserves. The reason why Chen Qinghe had made such a big move was merely because he wanted to shock the world in one fell swoop. Right. It must be so. These 9 great saints must be all his Chen family has. Silent name. What are you waiting for? Kill them all. Yes. Chen Qinghe's bland sentence, however, caused those present to only feel their throats drying up and could not help but suck in a mouthful of cool air. Really do it. The 2 great eternal immortal races just went to war? It's still a death sentence. Mo Ming didn't dare to have the slightest hesitation, and immediately took the lead, leading a group of great sage powerhouses and directly pouncing on the Lin family's black abyss guards. The 2 sides directly mingled in the void. Boo! The void shattered, and the 2 sides coincidentally shattered the void and disappeared into the outer heaven. If they were to engage in battle within this realm, this heaven and earth would simply not be able to withstand a battle between the 2 of them, and they could only start fighting in the heavenly beyond. Chen Qinghe, you really have guts. This is your Chen family that started the war. Lin Chen gritted his teeth. His heart was already dripping blood, facing 9 great saints, with his team of black abyss guards. There was absolutely no chance of winning. Chen Qinghe looked at the jumper in front of him. This pair of dogmen were really a match made in heaven. 2 idiots? It's that time of the year. And you're still making these useless farts. Did it work? Lin Chen's heart was already burning with rage when he saw the other party's cold attitude. Thinking about him, Lin Gongzi, from birth until now, when has he ever suffered this kind of strange shame? Today he simply lost all his face. If he couldn't recover the scene, the Lin family's reputation would be ruined on him. He fiercely stepped forward, and the small tower of golden tripods in his right hand flew out, directly suppressing towards Chen Qinghe. This Dao magic weapon was so powerful that no one under a saint would be able to resist it at all. Duke! Bai Lingsu's bloodsword was raised, about to strike. However, she suddenly felt a softness in her hand as Chen Qinghe smiled faintly at her. Boo! When the small tower of golden tripods was close to Chen Qinghe's circumference of 3 feet, he could only see him fiercely waving his big hand, and that small tower directly burst apart, instantly shattering all over the place. Lin Chen's eyes widened in disbelief. This guy, how could he? Under a saint, it's impossible to resist. However, no sooner had he thought about it than the next moment, an illusory palm print violently appeared in front of him, and a terrifying aura instantly erupted. Snap! The crisp ringing sound echoed around the circumference. Everyone was silenced and dumbfounded. Lin Chen's body was directly slapped and flew out, rolling to the side. The force of this slap was truly terrifying, directly sending his entire body flying out, hitting on top of a stone pillar before stopping. When he struggled to get up in a sorry state, the crowd could only see that there was a clear slap mark on the swollen and high side of his face. Blood flowed from the corner of Lin Chen's mouth, and his teeth shattered. Cloaked in hair, he looked up slowly, anger and fear in his eyes. Chen Qinghe finished his slap, casually waved his hand, looked at Lin Chen who was lying on the ground, and smiled. Pretending? It's that time of the day, and you still dare to play the fool in front of me? I'll make you fly. Lin Chen's teeth were bared, and with a face of indignation, he said angrily, Chen Qinghe, don't go too far. You know, consequences. Snap. Void palm prints emerged. Lin Chen's body flew up again in full view of everyone, and 2 spins. This slap directly hit his eyes in pain, and his body almost fell apart in general. Eyes with air out, no air in. Snap! The palm print in the void surfaced once again. Boo! However, this time it was blocked by a twisted space. Boom! 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 The void broke apart, and the heavens and earth trembled violently. Everyone in the room violently felt their breath catch. A huge, supreme pressure that covered the sky and earth swept down. Those with weak cultivation spurted blood directly in a split second. As strong as the saints of the southern domain were, they were also pale and almost unstable in battle. Chen Qinghe's gaze condensed as he raised his hand and waved it, and a circle of light screen surfaced beside him. Beside them, Bai Lingsu, Long Shui Wei, and Grand Elder Su Fei Yen immediately felt refreshed, and the terrifying pressure immediately dissipated. Click! The space shattered, and an old man's figure in white stepped out from it. Supreme! Hiss dash! Chapter 9. She was already bereft. The white-clothed old man had crane hair and a divine face, and between his hands and feet, the rhythm of the Tao was alive and well. With a wave of his large sleeve, space shattered in the void. Click! The 2 forces, the Black Abyss Guards and the Silent Name, rushed out from the heavenly beyond at the same time. The two great saints of the Black Abyss Guard had already died, and now there was only one great saint who was severely injured and a few Nirvana Griffins left, with the Supreme Big Brother forcibly intervening. The few people from Silent Name could only stop and didn't dare to make a move. Young Master Chen, why do you and my family need to come to such a pass? My son has offended more than he should, so please bear with me. The old man's gaze was like a torch as he stared at Chen Qinghe in front of him, his tone indifferent. However, he didn't dare to underestimate it inwardly, and just now, when he purposely unleashed his pressure, each of the great sage powerhouses present were like enemies, and it was difficult to resist them at all. Instead, it was this Chen clan young master who counteracted most of his own might with a simple wave of his hand. It made him suspicious. At this moment, his mind was deliberately probing, but he realized that he was unable to see through the strength of the youth in front of him. It's unbelievable. The entire room was silent as the Supreme Being made his appearance. Only the sound of heavy breathing echoed eerily through the wide pool. Long Shuawei's scarlet pupils froze violently for a split second as she vaguely sensed a hint of something wrong. It is the Supreme Being, the breath of the Supreme Being. As the palace master of the Taiching Palace and the peak of the 9th level of Great Sage, Long Shuawei's strength could be considered top-notch among the southern domain. True Lord White Dragon's mighty name had resounded in the eastern Xin domain 100 years ago. Then his own beloved disciple, Bai Lingsu. She had a lot of blood on her hands back then. Solid crazy woman. But at this moment, Long Shuawei felt for the first time that her heart was flustered in this instant. Suspicion, horror, disbelief. Because of that faint trace of supreme aura, the source is surprisingly Chen Qinghe, close enough that she could never be mistaken. But on the contrary, the Grand Elder Su Fei and her beloved disciple Bai Lingsu on the side, the two of them seemed to be unaware of it. Could it be that she was too nervous and sensed it wrong? Chen Qinghe's face was calm, and it meant nothing to him for the other Supreme to come down. He had long expected that Lin Chen, as the second son of the Lin family, how could he not have a protector by his side? Elder Su, this guy is simply too deceitful. Quickly do it and exterminate him here. Lin Chen was helped up by Chu Linger beside him, and immediately yelled out, his face grim as he looked at Chen Qinghe with a gaze full of resentment. My Chen clan has long since declared that no power shall have any entanglements with the Western Wasteland Chu clan. Apparently, eldest Prince Lin didn't take this matter to heart. In this matter, senior always has to have an explanation. Chen Qinghe's goal was clear. That would be Chu Ling heir, as well as the Chu family of the Western Wasteland. None of these four women will escape. You think you can rest easy just because you've climbed up to the Qingshan Lin family? Idiot. Elder Su's eyes were hesitant. In the face of this Chen family's young master, even as a supreme being, he didn't dare to be the slightest bit careless. He wasn't a brainless asshole like Lin Chen. As the same everlasting immortal race, the strength and heritage of the Chen family was not at all inferior to that of the Lin family. Faced with this kind of behemoth, even the supreme being had to weigh it. Today's matter is the fault of my son, and I apologize on his behalf. Su Lao's voice was old and his tone was sincere, and he even bowed to Chen Qinghe in full view of everyone. Hiss. Everyone couldn't believe their eyes. This is the supreme being. Subsequently, the gazes with which the males of the southern region viewed Chen Qinghe had changed. They would have to reconsider how they should face the Changxing Chen family. How is this possible? Chu Linger's beautiful eyes were wide, her small mouth slightly open, completely shocked by the scene before her. Strong as the supreme being, would he have to bow down before Chen Qinghe? Is this the might of the Chen family's young master? But, obviously the Chen family has. Chu Linger felt as if she had suffered a blow in the middle of her head. Her petite body slowly backed up, somewhat incredulous. Click. The void behind Elder Su twisted and a passageway emerged. The old man swept his gaze at Lin Chen, then with a wave of his large sleeve, he wrapped the other party and the remaining Black Abyss guards to vanish into the passageway. My Lin family will never intervene in the matters of the Western Wasteland. I hope that young Lord Chen will never take today's matter to heart. As Elder Su's words dissipated, their figures had completely dissipated into this heaven and earth. That's it? The stone in the hearts of those present finally fell to the ground. The appearance of the Supreme Big Brother really made the crowd sweat. In looking at that Chen family young master, who was still in a cloudy manner, he couldn't help but admire him in his heart. This, Lin Gongzihe. No way. Chu Linger was alone at the moment. That Lin family Supreme Exalt clearly didn't look her in the eye. At the moment she stood alone in the middle of the field. As for her mentor, teacher's father, Chu Linger's heart ignited another wave of hope as her eyes kept searching, but she suddenly realized that her master's figure had long since disappeared. Within the field, the forces of the Taixing Palace had, at some point, long since disappeared. No way. Impossible. The master won't give up on himself. Not long ago, she was talking about supporting her decision. The Chu family and Taixing Palace are dependent on each other. Chu Linger was inwardly incredulous, and even though she was consoling herself however she could, the fact in front of her made it impossible for her to escape. Had even his master and the palace sect given up on him? Why? Because of Chen Qinghe? What makes him tick? Is the Chen family really that scary? Chu Linger's gaze was dull. She had become a joke, alone and alone, facing the sneering, mocking gaze of the crowd. The former proud daughter of heaven was like a clown at the moment. Identity shifts in an instant. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, you're all liars. Miso dash. Chu Linger's heart collapsed within her, and she laughed up to the sky as if she were insane. He then violently drew his sword and rushed towards Chen Qinghe. The sword was like a rainbow, and a hint of insanity was already above the twisted pretty face. Ding! The blood sword's long rainbow pierced through the sun, and its sword intent and momentum could be considered several times stronger than Chu Linger's. After the latter, Bai Lingsu swung her sword out, directly knocking Chu Linger back. Undiminished in stature, Bai Lingsu's aura was like a rainbow, killing intent surging in her beautiful eyes. Raising his sword, he rushed up to kill Chu Linger, picking off the spirit sword in his opponent's hand. A long leg kick followed, blasting Chu Linger several meters away in a sorry state. With a final foot on top of the other party's delicate body, he raised his sword and was about to plunge it down towards Chu Linger's forehead. This crazy woman. It's so hard to hit. Chen Qinghe's eyes widened, and in just a flash of lightning, Bai Lingsu had already taken down Chu Linger. Slow down. Just as Bai Lingsu was about to stab Chu Linger's head with her sword, she was stopped by Chen Qinghe. The woman turned back with a puzzled look. The male can't give it up? Bai Lingsu's tone was cold, and the killing intent in her beautiful eyes did not recede in the slightest. This woman! Chen Qinghe felt that Long Shuawei was still very powerful for being able to teach such a disciple as Bai Lingsu. First of all, it's a class act in terms of what it says and what it does. She's already a lost cause. There's no point in killing her anymore. The Lin family had already announced their withdrawal from the Western Wasteland, so everything was already under control. Chu family destruction is already inevitable. As for Chu Linger, Chen Qinghe did not have any thoughts of killing her. It's too cheap for her. To let her take a good look at how horrible the consequences of angering the Changqing family were. Chapter 10 Earthworms have to be split vertically. Rumble. Click click dash. Boo. Black clouds rolled across the dome of the western wasteland sky. Heavenly thunder resounded and thunder boomed. Terrifying pressure, like a tidal wave, swept down from the sky. The whole sky and earth, shaking. What's going on? What a terrifying aura. Look. What's that? Great saints. So many great saints. Quickly report to the family head. The various family forces in the western wasteland. When they saw a figure above the dome of the sky, their livers had already cracked, and each one of them was already a bird of prey. Damn. Wrong bet. That bastard Chu Huainan. It's over. It's all over. Quickly open the clan protection formation. Gather all the strongest members of the clan and open the teleportation array immediately. Above the firmament, a procession wearing black and gold divine armor stretched across the heavens. Their auras were horrifying. Each one of them had yuan qi-like substance around them, and their terrifying pressure made the sky dome somewhat unable to withstand it. Big brother, the back roads of these 7 great clans in the western wasteland have already been blocked by Qin Barbarian and the others, so it's time to make a move. At the forefront of the black and gold divine armor procession was the head of the group leading the procession this time. The 2 young men each held a divine spear with a brilliant golden light in their hands. On his hips rode an ancient fierce, 9-faced golden lion. Chen Hong's gaze was like a torch, sword brows and starry eyes, and his younger brother Chen Xiong beside him reported to him with a jade slip in his hand. Since Chen Qinghe's emergence, the Chen clan had already gathered the strongest members of the clan and traveled to the western wasteland. This time, the ones leading the team were the Chen family's 4 heroes, the 4 strongest celestial pride of the Chen family today. Chen Hong scanned the Chu family below this, and with a cold smile in his heart, he looked at the information on the jade slip and spoke. The young lord said to come, shoot on sight. Tell Chen Barbarian to let go of his grip. If we let one man escape, he will go to the young lord himself to take the blame. Yes. Chen Xiong led the way. Listen up. Let go of my hand and kill on sight. No place shall be missed. Behind them, hundreds of strong men responded in unison, with a strong aura. In here, the lowest realms are starting from nirvana. This kind of terrifying strength was enough to sweep across the western wasteland. Chen Hong, as the great sage powerhouse leading the group, had long had killing intent surging in his heart. The Chu family of the district. If it wasn't for the fact that they once had a friendship with my Chen family 1,000 years ago, giving them a marriage contract, and secretly helping them, causing them to reach today's heyday. Otherwise, with their qualifications, how could they climb up to my Chen family's young master? What's laughable is that the Chu family is so arrogant and presumptuous that they want to climb onto the Lin family's high horse. That Chu Linger even personally came to my Chen family to repent her marriage. Humiliate my Chongsheng Chen family. It's insulting as hell. Today, all of you generals will follow me to set foot in the western wasteland and raise my Chen clan's divine might. Kill, kill, kill. An imposing shout resounded through the sky, killing intent like a tidal wave. Click. A long spear pierced through the clouds and ripped through the night sky, rushing towards the Chu family's land with unrivaled strength. Boom! Terrifying pressure, people's scalp numb. The savage strike of the great sage powerhouse directly tore the Chu clan's protective formation apart. The Chu family's elders, sons and daughters each had their eyes open angrily, looking fearfully toward the figure with a strong aura in the void. What's going on? Who dares to offend my Chu family? Great sage powerhouses. So many great sage powerhouses. Within the Chu clan's land, a large number of Nirvana powerhouses rushed up into the sky, killing towards the sky above. They had originally looked at each other angrily, ready to strike to suppress. However, when he saw Chen Hong, a great grand sage powerhouse, and the many powerhouses behind him, his scalp went numb and his face turned pale. Chen Hong let out a cold smile, and a terrifying great sage's majesty instantly filled the air. You, who are you? A Chu family elder asked in a trembling voice. Next moment, boo! It had been reduced to a mist of blood. Boom, 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 without the slightest bit of hesitation, with just a tight look. All of these Chu family's Nirvana powerhouses had already exploded into a bloody mist. What's going on? Great sage powerhouses are so terrifying. The elders died in just one shot. Escape! Run away! Chen Hong's gaze surged with killing intent as he let out a cold smile. By order of the young lord, no one will be left behind. Remember, do not spare anyone. Even if you're carrying a baby in your womb, you have to drive it out. Earthworms have to be cut vertically. Gotcha! Hundreds of figures swooped down from above the dome of the sky, their terrifying aura causing the Chu clan's children to be terrified. It was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, slaughtering them with abandon. Chu Huainan's face was pale. He was currently at the back of the family's mountain, preparing to clear that great sage ancestor. Elder ancestor, the Chen family has gone so far as to disregard their former friendship and drive my Chu family to extinction. Please also ask the old ancestor to come out and save the family from danger. Within the stone cave, there was no news. Chu Huainan was already anxious at this moment. His only hope was to covet this family ancestor. Boo! The stone door exploded, and a pale wolf's figure violently appeared, rising up into the sky with supreme pressure. He directly killed Chen Hong, who was supervising the battle in the void. Old undead, how dare you resist? Chen Hong bellowed, holding his golden spear without the slightest fear. The great sage pressure erupted out, and the yuan qi around his body exploded, directly charging wildly. As one of the four masters of the Chen clan, Chen Hong's strength was mother of doubt. With a peak cultivation of the 9th level of great sage, it was extremely terrifying when looking at the eternal immortal race. The two great saint powerhouses brazenly battled together, and the terrifying aftermath shook the heavens and the earth violently trembled, and heaven and earth shattered. My Chu family is not something to be taken at random. The Chu family's old ancestor roared out in indignation. However, Chen Hong did not bother to pay attention to the other party. His hands became more and more ruthless. The golden spear in his hands was like a tidal wave of yuan qi, beating the other party in a mess. Inside the Chu family land, there was already a killing sound. Countless children of the Chu family cried and howled, falling into despair. But no matter how they begged for forgiveness, the only thing they faced was a merciless massacre. This scene was constantly playing out all over the western wasteland. The several great lineages that hadn't severed ties with the Chu family before had all encountered the Chen family's offense at this moment. Countless great sage powerhouses shattered the void, and the entire western wasteland sky continuously shook with killing sounds. Bright red blood drifted across the sky. The western wasteland had completely fallen into the shadow of the Chen family this night. Pust! A stream of blood burst out, staining the sky. Chen Hong lifted the head of the Chen clan's ancestor and came before Chu Huainan. The latter's face was pale, and now he was trembling and kneeling on the ground. Old dog, you think you can rest easy just because you secretly collude with the Lin family? He, offending my Chen family's majesty, your Chu family will only die. Chu Huainan was trembling with fear, looking at the head of the Nako ancestor, which was now ashen, but there was a glimmer of hope in his heart. No, you can't kill me. My daughter is still in Taiyang Palace, and my son, he's the Black Abyss Guard of the Lin family. You can't kill. Pust! Chen Hong blasted out with a fist, and Chu Huainan's brain shattered, dying instantly and miserably. What a piece of, what are you waiting for? Destroy this Chu family land directly for me. Chapter 11, the goddess dowager's heart popped. The night was like ink, and the full moon hung high. The white moonlight spreads down, and the fairy mountain in the mist hangs down to the 9 heavens. Above the winding mountain road, a wretched figure Yu walked alone. Her hair was disheveled, her clothes were disheveled, and large swaths of her snow-white skin were exposed without her even realizing it. The former pair of resolute and aura eyes were full of despondency and sadness. By her red lips, blood continued to flow out, but she repeatedly did not notice it in the slightest. Chu Linger's Dao heart is ruined. Everything about facing today's blow was too much for her to handle. Looking at Chen Qinghe's condescending face, as well as Bai Lingsu's brash stance of bullying others at that time, everything was so ridiculous. What saddened him even more was the departure of second Duke Lin and the others, as well as the abandonment of his master and the palace sects people for himself. Did you really do something wrong? Shouldn't that engagement be repudiated? Chen Qinghe, what gives him the right? He was merely relying on the power of the Changqing Chen family to fox around. Compared to him, where do I, Chu Ling fall short? What's he got to do with it? On the basis of what? Good to have the white lingerie one, bitchy woman who bullied others. Sooner or later, one day, she would definitely double back today's humiliation. Even though she had suffered a heavy blow, deep down, the proud Chu Linger still felt that none of this was her problem. So what if you repudiate the marriage? Can't the everlasting immortal clan break their engagement? There's no such rule. I'll never regret coming out. Never. The night was as dark as ink, and the autumn wind sputtered as the young girl walked towards the great hall of the Taiyang Palace. The great hall of Taihang Palace. The ghostly blue crystal exuded a blue luster, and within the empty hall there was only a hushed, low sob. The everlasting Chen clan has already come out, and the western wasteland side has received news that the Chu clan and a few great lineages have already been exterminated. Don't touch it. Get to the point. Lin Chen hung back on the seat in the middle of the great hall, his hands caressing the foot-soft body in his arms. If a bystander were here again, they would definitely be stunned by the scene before them. What are you afraid of? I don't believe that Chen Qinghe would dare to take action against you here in Taixing Palace. The four great palace sects are at least the cornerstones of the southern domain. If he, the Chen family, really wants to drive them to extinction, he'll trigger the wrath of the people. Lin Chen sneered, but his large hand did not stop. At this moment, he was slightly different from his usual self. His demonic eyes were full of fury, and there was this thick black mist floating around him. Alas, pity my good disciple. Becoming a spear in your hand, not only did he not fall in favor, but his family was broken. Lin Chen raised an eyebrow, listening to the lamentation of the woman in his arms. His eyes strange, then he let out a light laugh, his large hands becoming even more wanton. If you had a guilty conscience, you wouldn't be here with me right now, upside down. You are usually high and cool. Whoever thought that secretly you would be so lowly? Who would have thought that the hallowed palace master of Taixing Palace would be secluded here with the man of her beloved disciple, lying in the man's arms? Mo Daifang's cheeks flushed, charmingly blanked the other party, smacked away the man's strange big hand, and said hatefully, "Screw you. What are you going to do with that little ninny now that she's a ruined chess piece?" Lin Chen had an arrangement in his heart, and said casually, "That little is also considered to have made a great achievement. I also didn't intend for them Chu family to be able to do anything. I just wanted to test the Chen family's bottom line and strength. Now that her mission has been accomplished, it doesn't matter if she keeps it. She has a divine wood body. It's a pity to kill her. She can be used for my dual cultivation." Mo Daifang's face stiffened slightly when she heard this, and in her heart, she was a little dissatisfied with Lin Chen's approach. What's so great about that little that you want to stay around so badly? Although as Chu Linger's master, he also loved this disciple on weekdays. But all of this is just scratching the surface. She didn't have Chu Linger on her mind. Little is nothing more than a chess piece in her and Lin Chen's hands, the kind that is used up and thrown away. So what do you say? Lin Chen hugged the plump and delicate body in his arms tightly and whispered softly against the woman's ear, asking for the other party's opinion. "Naturally, I'll kill it to stop future troubles," Mo Daifang said coldly, a murderous intent flashing in his eyes. Since the goal had been accomplished and they had been informed of some information about the Chen family, it would be useless for this Chu Linger to stay and change. Letting her live would only be an eyesore, so it would be better to just kill her and save the trouble. Anyway, the Chu family was gone. She was alone, and no one cared about her. So if she died, she died. Okay, as you say. Although Lin Chen agreed with his mouth, inwardly he didn't think so. That Chu Linger was a delicate beauty anyways. Killing her just like that was obviously really a bit of a pity. It would be better to hide it from Mo Yenchuang until he had had enough fun. Outside the hall, the green-clothed woman's delicate body trembled. Her eyes were heavy with water, her red lips were tightly bitten, and her face was pale. Impossible. Impossible. Eldest Prince Lin and Master would not harm me. Absolutely not. How did this happen? Why did it turn out like this? It's all a lie. It's a lie. Boo. Outside the hall, Chu Linger could no longer control her emotions. The blow she received today was simply too great to imagine. The master teacher, who had always been respected and loved in his heart, would actually be meticulously with the man he loved. The two actually conspired to kill themselves. It turns out that everything was planned by them, letting himself withdraw from the marriage, angering the Chen family and forcing them to take action. All sorts of things. They are behind the scenes layout, and their own, just a dispensable pawn in their eyes. In an instant, Chu Linger's heart broke. The awful truth was too much for her to accept. I was so stupid to fall for their compulsion. Oh, Chu Linger, ah, Chu Linger, in vain. You call yourself heaven's remarkable and unrivaled, but you've even ended up like this. Now even the family, because of its own involvement, is buried. Chu Linger's brain was blank. Her eyes were empty, just like a walking corpse. Who? The dogs and men inside the temple sensed something and rushed out in an instant. Seeing Chu Linger's disoriented appearance, Mo Daifang's beautiful eyes flickered. Linger, when did you come back? Quickly let master teacher take a look. Are you injured? Ink Difrost smiled faintly and was about to go forward to assist. Off. Get out of my way. Don't touch me. Chu Linger retreated backwards in panic, her eyes full of panic. Liar, you're all liars. She kept backing up, yet turned and ran wildly away. Where to go? Mo Daifang let out a cold laugh and didn't bother pretending. A terrifying majesty instantly permeated out. The great sage's aura instantly locked onto Chu Linger's figure, and his body arrived in front of Chu Linger in an instant. Boo! A palm slapped out. Monstrous killing intent erupted at this moment. Facing this beloved disciple of his, Mo Daifang did not have the slightest hesitation, directly wanting to kill him with a single blow. Now that you already know, there's only death. The void palm seal descended from the sky, and its monstrous might had already enveloped Chu Linger in it. The smell of death is close at hand. Chapter 12, The Great Elder. Danger. Boom. The full force strike of a great sage powerhouse was simply unimaginable, and that terrifying aura was enough to terrify people. Chu Linger was only at the beginning of the Nirvana realm. She was already undefeatable, and now that she was severely injured, facing this palm, she could only die. She closed her eyes in despair, only one thought running through her mind. Die. If you die, you'll be fine. She hated it. She regretted it. She hated her ignorance and being played for a fool. She regretted why she was stupid enough to ruin her engagement with the Chen family. If she hadn't listened to their compulsion, if she hadn't destroyed her marriage contract with Chen Qinghe, would everything have been different? The mind is like a walking light. Chen Qinghe's arrogant immortal qualifications that were sought after by thousands of people above the Lotus Conference. That top-down immortal aura, how could it not move people? Thinking about it again, a brainless, stupid woman like Bai Lingsu would stick it to her and give it away herself. Oh, Chu Linger, you're such a fool. Die, die. The eyes of despair slowly closed tightly, and tears of remorse came to his eyes in a flash. She regretted it. She really did. Boo! Void palm prince swept in. A terrifying pressure arrived in an instant, and the aura of death was close at hand. Boom! The next moment, a violent explosion rang in his ears. Chu Linger's body flew out in an instant. Su Fei Yen, how did you get here? Mo Daifang was startled, her beautiful eyes looking at the woman who had suddenly killed out in front of her in disbelief. The Grand Elder of the Taiqing Palace. How could he appear here? Su Fei Yen was holding a sword in one hand, her white robe fluttering with a proud demeanor. The plump and delicate body was tantalizing to the extreme, and a cold smile appeared on that ripe and charming and cold face. I can't imagine that the hallowed palace master of Taiqing Palace would be ruthless enough to lay a death hand on his beloved disciple. Gee, if I hadn't happened to pass by, your good apprentice would have been dead in the water. Su Fei Yan's eyebrows furrowed. She had indeed appeared here by chance. The Lotus Assembly was over, and as the representative of the Taiqing Palace, she naturally had to roam between the four palaces and do the aftermath. Who would have thought that she had just arrived at Taiqing Palace when she sensed the aura of a great saint striking? Just never expected to see such a horrible scene. The hallowed Taiqing Palace master would actually kill his beloved disciple, the holy daughter, ruthlessly. This is my Taiyang Palace's own family matter. It has nothing to do with you. Mo Daifang's eyes were scornful, and his heart was secretly calculating. It seemed that he absolutely could not let Su Feiyan leave today. If she saved Chu Linger, then what she had done with Lin Chen and the behind-the-scenes planning of the two of them would definitely be made public. Since this is a family matter, I will take my leave. Glancing at the dying Chu Linger on the side, Su Fei Yan let out a petite laugh and her delicate body instantly disappeared in place. In the next moment, Shimans appeared in front of Chu Linger and lifted the other party to fly away. Damn it, you dare to tease this palace. Emotion Shan was anxious in her heart. It seemed that no matter what, She couldn't let the two of them leave today. Boom! Between the surrounding heaven and earth, the Yuan Qi shook violently. The terrifying aura reached its peak at this moment. Mo Daifang didn't dare to have the slightest bit of retention, and directly killed Su Feiyan. Su Feiyan didn't dare to stay here any longer as she spotted the second son of the Lin family standing in the distance watching. Besides, this place is the Taihang Palace. Once he and Mo Daifang fight, it will definitely alarm the experts in the Taihang Palace, and then he will not be able to say anything. He could only pull Chu Linger and keep dodging by flying. Unfortunately, both of them were great saint powerhouses, and the difference in realms was only in millimeters. With Chu Linger dragging her down, Su Fei's speed was simply not comparable to Mo Xinshan's. Click! In an instant, a chill ran down her back, and Su Feiyan subconsciously drew her sword and struck out. Ding! The sword chi was unrivaled as it slashed out. Hundreds of sword chi crisscrossed across, instantly churning the incoming void palm seal. Mo Daifang sneered, his hands folded, and the changes in his hands were complicated and incomparable. Want to go? No way. Today, no one can save you. For Su Fei, Mo Xinshan already had a grudge. The four major palace doors secretly contend, has long been maintained for thousands of years. The grudge has been a long time. For the Taiching Palace disciples, ink dye cream never give a good face. Signal. Out of the hand is a killing move. Direct ruthless suppression of two. The sky full of palm prints in an instant carrying a matchless might. The Yuan Qi fluctuation that erupted was enough to shatter the void. This kind of terrifying attack. The retreat around Su Feiyan has been blocked all the way. You don't deserve to leave me behind. Su Feiyan laughed coldly. Her eyebrows knitted up. The long sword in her hand emitted a crisp quivering sound, and there was a hidden murderous intent surfacing in her eyes. The ripe and charming pretty face was filled with gravity. Ding! The sword body lightly trembled. Sword chi slowly gathered between heaven and earth, and a terrifying sword intent that stretched across the sky erupted at this moment. Boo! Without the slightest hesitation, the two women simultaneously struck out and attacked each other. Both being great sage powerhouses and knowing each other quite well, both of them exerted their full strength at this moment. Boom! 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 A terrifying might swept through the heavens and earth. Violent explosions instantly rang out, and the horrifying aftermath rippled for thousands of miles. The entire Taixing Palace was shaken. The two figures flew out at the same time in a split second. Su Fei's eyes were frosty, not seeing the slightest trace of injury, instead grabbing Chu Linger and flying away once again. Don't let her go. What are you waiting for? Mo Daifang was anxious and roared at Lin Chen, who was coldly watching from the sidelines. Lin Chen's pair of demonic eyes flashed with a flash of brilliance as he put away a green copper mirror in his hand, an evil smile welling up at the corner of his mouth. I said, how could the Qian Yuan mirror be touched? So Elder Su is still a body of heavenly fragrance. That's great. You'll stay and become my lord's cauldron. The body of heavenly fragrance. One of the supreme immortal bodies. The meridians in one's own body are full of condensation, which is the upper number of dual cultivation furnace. Su Feiyan was already plump and seductive, ripe and charming and cold. Let Lin Chen's eyes light up at the Lotus Assembly. And now that he learned that the other party was still a body of heavenly fragrance, one of the excellent dual cultivation cauldrons, his heart was excited. Boo! Lin Chen struck out. In an instant, Yuan Qi surged out around his body, rushing towards Su Feiyan in the void. However, the corners of his eyes were leaking at the moment, and there was still a hint of evil in his demonic eyes. His body was even covered in black mist, and his fury filled the air. Logically speaking, with his cultivation at the Qiankuan realm, he would not be able to stop Su Fei at all against the great sage realm in front of him. However, he was undaunted, and instead, his face had a look of excitement on it. Heaven's fury! How did you get a heavenly fury on you? Su Feiyan's expression finally changed drastically when she saw the fury around Lin Chen, and her ripe and cold pretty face carried a hint of fear. Heavenly fury chi! That was something that only appeared in exotic regions, so why had it appeared in Lin Chen's body? One must know that the heavenly fury chi had a natural suppressive power over cultivators like them. Once it came into contact with the heavenly fury chi, it would instantly explode in Yuan Qi. Phew! Su Fei didn't dare to hesitate and threw out a message brief on one hand, while escaping at great speed on the other. Click! However, just after she threw out the missive, a gigantic palm from the heavens suddenly appeared above her head. Hiss! The Supreme Being strikes. Su Feiyan stared at her beautiful eyes. Seeing the huge palm of the prime sky, it pressed downward. Chapter 13, White Silk High-Heeled. Saintly Shyness. My lord, this is not good. It's okay. But, Ryatsu always feels weird. Chen Qinghe looked at Bai Lingsu, who was standing in front of him, slightly lifting up her dress and displaying her long and slender legs, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help but raise an evil smile. Is this made of silk? gently caressing the white silk on her legs. Bai Lingsu's cold and pretty face was also crawling with a red cloud at this moment. Even if it was just silk, the key was that on top of the jade feet was a pair of crystal heels with black and red soles. This ensemble is a bit gaudy in any case. Although Bai Lingsu was a bit nerdy she also knew that men more or less had some pet peeves. I just didn't expect that the usually proper and composed Duke Chen would be like this. Raisu, come and sit in the arms of the male. Chen Qinghe beckoned and laughed somewhat shamelessly. For her part, Bai Lingsu nodded her head. Ta-da-da-da. Within the silent hall, the cool moonlight drifted down. The white-clothed fairy was tall, and her silk legs under the hem of her skirt were as bright as the moon. Black crystal heels that gently tapped against the smooth floor. The elegant figure came slowly. Chen Qinghe's gaze was firmly fixed on the young girl in front of him, and he had to say that Bai Lingsu's posture and this pairing were truly stunning. When they first met, he had noticed that the young girl's legs were slender. It's a bit of a waste if you don't wear silk with such nice legs. In his spare time, he casually refined a set of silk leggings. It's just a matter of convenience. There are many other kinds. Wear them slowly later. Gongzi, I heard that you're going to make a trip to the Tai Su Holy Land? Lying in Chen Qinghe's arms, Bai Lingsu sniffed the scent of the man's body, her flushed face slightly lowered. That shy look was a contrasting pull compared to the previous solemnity. Playing with the young girl's hair, Chen Qinghe pondered slightly and nodded. On the Tai Su sacred land side, I still have some things to take care of. What is it? Do you still need to bother the prince himself? Bai Lingsu cocked her head and asked dully, favoringly scraping the young girl's agitated nose. Chen Qinghe didn't hide anything and said, over at the Tai Su sacred land, the Kayan Pavilion sent out a request for assistance to my Chen family. The Sacred Dan Conference is about to begin, but there are some problems within the Kayan Pavilion. The Kayan Pavilion is affiliated with my Chen clan, and it is still important to focus on their problems. Bai Lingsu's eyes blinked and she pouted her red lips, in a rare act of petulance. Then, when the time comes, can you ask for a 9th grade soul condensation pill for Lingsu? What? Are you going to break through the Qianquan realm? Chen Qinghe was a bit surprised, and couldn't help but probe the breath within the young girl's body, not realizing that the other party's yuan qi was collapsing, and the sea of qi within the dantian was sinking and floating, obviously reaching the realm of an imminent breakthrough. This couldn't help but make him start to re-examine the young girl in front of him. With Bai Lingsu's natural talent, breaking through the Qianquan realm would not be the slightest problem, but the point is, she's making this breakthrough pretty fast. With the depth of the Tai Ching Palace, it was unimaginable to cultivate a Qianquan realm heavenly pride at this age. One must know that guy Lin Chen, nowadays, was only at the beginning of the Qianquan realm. However, he was the second son of the everlasting forest family, and his heritage and resources, and even his immortal qualifications, were not comparable to Bai Lingsu. 9th grade soul condensation pill? Bai Lingsu's beautiful eyes were radiant. Looking at Chen Qinghe's contemplative gaze, her little heart couldn't help but thump. This was the first time she had ever begged a man. She was about to break through the Qianquan realm. The foundation had long been laid laboriously and solidly. If she were to break through on her own, it would be a logical yes. However, if there was a 9th grade soul condensation pill to help, the effect would be very different. By the time the divine soul had come to fruition, the power of the divine soul could be quite a bit stronger when compared to the Qianquan realm powerhouses of the same realm. Besides, the 9th grade soul condensation pill was a worldly treasure. And even if the alchemy mecha Kayan Pavilion wanted to refine such a single one, it would be very difficult. With such a precious thing, it would be reasonable if Chen Qinghe was unwilling or difficult. Looking at the young girl's expectant expression, Chen Qinghe guffawed. A woman this beautiful was born to be loved. How can a mere 9th grade soul condensation pill be worthy of Lingsu? When the time comes, I will personally ask for a heavenly grade soul condensation pill for. The 9th grade is the most, and the pills above the 9th grade are nurtured by heaven and earth, and the Holy Spirit of the Dan Dao. A great sage powerhouse would have trouble holding himself even in the face of such temptation. Bai Lingsu got the promise, but did not show a particularly strong excitement, but nodded and shook his head, then said in a tangled way, well, Lingsu wants a 9th grade on it. Heavenly products, a little too precious for that. Yeah, what a nice girl, that's just superb. Chen Qinghe was calm on the surface, but inside he was happy. Where to find such a good daughter? In a side-by-side comparison, those 4 fairies were practically born. Boo! Chen Qinghe couldn't help but demand hard against the red lips. Then after a period of intense panting, he looked up. Silver threads connected between their lips. Bai Lingsu blinked her beautiful eyes as her mind went blank. My good Raisu, only a heavenly product would be worthy of you. How shameless. The young master of the hallowed Chen family can also say such meaty words? Also, it's unseemly for Raisu to be dressed like that. Can't these two just Go back to their rooms? Outside the hall, Long Shuewei stood in the clouds, her divine soul probing the situation in the hall. Looking at the two of them in the temple as they were making love to each other and pulsating with love, he kept spitting inwardly. This great hall was clearly her territory, but now it was good that it had become a good place for two young people to flirt. So speechless, seeing the love disciple legs that to white silk and attractive black high heel, Long Shuewei face slightly red, always unsmiling cold as ice frost. At this moment she can't wait to leave immediately, but you can't help but stay here and sneak a peek. Damn it! The so-called young master of the Chen family is nothing more than a sex maniac. Lingsu, you should have stopped him. Where has he touched? Are you just going to let him have it? This stupid apprentice, taking advantage of someone for nothing. Long Shuewei kept spitting inside, but she seemed to have forgotten one thing. This was obviously Chen Qinghe and Bai Lingsu, a pair of youngsters in love. What did it have to do with her? Phew! In the void, a jade slip suddenly shot out. Jade Jane is extremely fast and instantly rushes into the big hall retarded. Oh hello. Chen Qinghe was savoring the beauty's fragrant saliva when he suddenly clawed his right hand in the air. The jade slip quickly flew into his hand. It's the Grand Elder's jade slip. Bai Lingsu wiped the saliva from the corner of her mouth and said with a red pretty face. Chen Qinghe sniffed and unashamedly opened the jade slip. A scene comes to mind. The battle between Emotionshang and Su Fei. And the moment Lin Chen struck out in the end. It's baneful. A shocked cry came from the doorway as Long Shuewei looked at the image floating in the void, somewhat incredulous. Seeing her master's sudden appearance, Bai Lingsu was so frightened that she struggled to stand up from Chen Qinghe's arms and lowered her head. Chen Qinghe was thick-skinned and indifferent. It is indeed the heavenly fury. I can't imagine that this second Prince Lin would have a heaven's fury aura on him. It seems like I'll have to make a trip there myself. Heavenly fury chi, originating from a foreign land, a product of the evil demon clan. Not only was it able to erode the cultivator's vital energy, but it would also erode everything in heaven and earth. During the flood period, several great emperors joined hands to cut off the foreign space and blockade the heavenly fury. Unexpectedly, after 10,000 years, the heavenly fury chi had appeared in the eastern Xian domain again. It's time to strike, Chen Qinghe muttered, killing intent surging in his eyes. Chapter 14 Anger, the might of the Supreme Being. Within the dark room, the lights were ghostly. Wow! The clash of chains continued to ring out. Su Fei Yan struggled hard, but no matter how hard she tried, the chains binding her limbs could not be broken. Elder Su, there's no need to waste your efforts. Your Dantian is sealed by me. Your Yuan Qi is stagnant, and nowadays you are nothing more than a mere mortal body. Trying to break free from this god-locking chain of mine is a fool's dream. Mo Daifeng, who was sitting in front of him, examined the bound woman in a good manner, looking at the other party's voluptuous and delicate body underneath the white robe. Even as a woman, she had to secretly marvel at it. The body of heavenly fragrance is really ripe and charming. Such a beauty is really hard to find in the world. In the face of Emotionshang's mockery, Su Feiyan's pretty face chilled in anger. Ink Dye Frost, you, let go of me. Do you realize the consequences of this? Su Fei Yan rebuked loudly, wanting to use the might of the Tai Ching Palace to make the other party jealous. But Mo Difrost was breezy. Her red lips lightly opened and blandly said, consequences? What consequences? The one who made the move to take you as the supreme father of the Lin family. So what does it have to do with me? Wow! The chains kept ringing. Su Fei Yan's delicate body twisted, but she was never able to break free. Gradually, she felt the heat flow surging in her body. The feeling of dryness and heat continuously attacked her whole body. Above the ripe and charming and cold face, a layer of red clouds also climbed up at this moment. Phew! The red lips lightly opened, and between the slight and air, the thick aroma continuously overflowed. What have you done to me? Su Fei Yan felt that her consciousness began to lax a little bit. She was terrified in her heart and vaguely felt a hint of fear. Oh, nothing. In the shadows, a green-clothed Lin Chen quietly surfaced, with a hint of an evil smile on his face. He sat beside Mo Daifeng without a care in the world, stopping the other party's waist. This scene made Su Fei even more shocked. You, he, Elder Su doesn't need to be shocked. Lin Chen surveyed Su Fei Yan's petite body, beastly lust undisguised in his demonic eyes. Later, you'll join us. Does it feel all hot and bothered? Breath shriveled? Delirious? But I used the acacia sect's clear wind acacia scatter. It is the most lascivious aphrodisiac of pleasure in this world. TSK, I can't help but enjoy the performance of the heavenly fragrance body in heat already. Ha ha ha. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Su Fei Yan's face stagnated and her heart was anxious, but she was now a lamb to the slaughter and had absolutely no ability to escape. I can't imagine that the honorable second Prince Lin is such a beastly bastard. I, Su Feiyan, will never submit to you even if I die. Su Fei Yan scolded. but a burst of abnormalities within her body caused her sanity to become more and more confused. Curse, curse, in a moment, you'll be crawling over to me on your own, praying for my favor. Ha ha ha. Lin Chen had an evil grin on his face. Like a maniac, the heavenly fury chi on his body could not be suppressed from surging out. On the side, Ink Dye Frost was somewhat set off waving the black mist around him. Your fury is really unpleasant. Can't you control it? Lin Chen shook his head. He was still not completely sure about the control of this heavenly fury chi. Although this heavenly fury chi is powerful, it's difficult to control, and I can't fully control it sometimes. Su Fei Yan's eyes were lax. Her inner torment was incomparable. The Acacia sect's Acacia scattering was notorious for being very powerful. If it was normal, with her great sage cultivation, it would not be difficult to resist, but now that his cultivation was sealed, his mortal body was simply powerless to resist. The medicine was swift and had penetrated deep into the body. Looking back around, on the bed aside, the seriously injured Chu Linger behind her was still unconscious. Could it be that I'm really going to lose my body today? Although I have a body of heavenly fragrance, I never thought that I would one day be reduced to the object of someone else's cauldron. Even if you die, you must never give in. Su Fei Yan secretly resolved that if she lost her mind at that time and fell into the domination of animal lust, then she would never give in even if she blew herself up with her body. Little by little, her body appeared to change, and she had fallen into despair. It seems that the only way to do that is to blow yourself up. She made up her mind, and the dantian in her body shuddered violently, and the yuan qi stored in it began to expand continuously. Boo! Suddenly, the dark room shook. Boom! Immediately after that, the roof was directly lifted off. Click! A cool breeze was blowing, and when I looked up, the night was like ink. Lin Chen's face was filled with dismay, and Mo Daifang on the side was also shocked. It wasn't until the two saw the figure standing in the void that they only felt their scalps tingle and chills invade them. Chen Qinghe, how did you appear here? Lin Chen glared angrily at him and rebuked loudly. In the void, Chen Qinghe stood in the firmament, his black and gold robes hunting in the wind. The green silk at the back of his head fluttered, and a hint of coldness permeated his handsome face. At a glance, he saw Elder Su, who was bound by chains, as well as that Chu Linger who was lying unconscious on the bed. I can't imagine that you two dogs can still play together. Gee, wonderful. Second Prince Lin, so you still like Gaijin? Lin Chen froze, not understanding what Chen Qinghe meant by covered rice, but at the moment, he was too lazy to care. Chen Qinghe, this is not a place for you to be wild. I advise you to mind your own business or. Lin Chen's tone was gloomy and threatening. Yesterday's insults kept surfacing in front of his eyes, and that sense of shame and disgrace made him nearly crazy. Not much skill, not much breath. Lin Chen, you're worthy of calling out to me? Boom! Chen Qinghe didn't bother with any more nonsense. Damn it, what strength is old man? At that time in the Lotus Assembly, I had already tolerated you for a long time, and if I hadn't been in the way of your Lin family's face, I would have scrapped you long ago. What's your strength? What's your status? I'm the supreme being, playing with you here? Rumble. Without hesitation, he directly slapped his palm down. The heavenly dome collapsed for a few pounds, and the terrifying majesty made this heaven and earth somewhat unable to withstand it. I'd like to see what you're capable of. Lin Chen wasn't afraid in the slightest. We are all the same immortal clan's pride. How strong can you be? I have the cultivation of the Qinquan realm, plus the help of the heavenly fury chi, and I still can't take you? Joke. The defeat at the Lotus Pond Assembly was just him holding back, and it was not appropriate to expose the heaven's fury chi. Today, it's just you and me. I'll kill you. Qianquan voodoo palm. Lin Chen shouted angrily, his yuan qi around his body raising to the extreme in an instant. Divine might flowed around his body, and radiant golden light shone in the heavens and earth. A giant palm of nothingness rose up from behind him, its range almost covering the sky. The golden light gleamed and rose, but upon closer inspection, it was also mixed with wisps of heavenly fury chi. Looking for death, Chen Qinghe sneered and raised his hand to suppress it. Click, click, click. A palm was slapped out, with no frills. In the void, however, space instantly collapsed and pieces shattered. Even the void of yuan qi was squeezed and crushed in an instant. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately afterward, the surrounding heaven and earth instantly shook, and the earth began to tremble continuously. Lin Chen's eyes widened as he only saw the other party just then suppress. The martial arts that he had relied on to become famous had unexpectedly collapsed in an instant. Boom! The sky was empty, but the terror and the threat of death made one's scalp tingle. On the side, Mo Daifang's beautiful eyes were filled with shock. The red lips were wide open, as if she had seen an unbelievable scene. To the Supreme Chapter 15. Lin Chen, die for your master. Master, this might of the Gongzis, why is it so terrifying? Even spatial nothingness can be crushed instantly, and there's no fluctuation of martial arts. What's going on? Above the clouds, two silhouettes. Bai Lingsu was shocked by Chen Qinghe's display of strength. Long Shuawei shook her head inside helplessly. This is the young master of the everlasting immortal clan. This kind of talent, this kind of strength. No wonder the everlasting immortal race was able to stand for 10,000 years and dominate a large domain. This is the bottom line of others. Silly child, can't you still detect Mr. Chen's aura? No. Bai Lingsu shook her head, her eyes clear. Long Shuawei was pondering. Speaking of which, she hadn't detected Chen Qinghe's strength and supreme aura at first. It was also by chance at that time that the other party had leaked a trace of supreme aura, which she happened to sense. It seemed that Chen Qinghe should have used some sort of means to conceal his true strength. Lingsu, master's decision that day was indeed right. Long Shuawei rubbed her beloved disciple's head and said solemnly, even if you become Mr. Chen's concubine, it will still be a blessing for you. Aha. Bai Lingsu nodded, unsure, but the master is certainly right. Silly boy. Looking at her beloved disciple's clueless eyes, Long Shuawei felt that she hadn't been too harsh on her in the first place, so much so that this child's heart was incomplete. Lesser roots. Mr. Chen is already a supreme. Aha. Bai Lingsu nodded. Then, fierce, wide-eyed beauty. Ha? Supreme. Will the gentleman dislike me then? Long Shuawei, I'm sure I'm missing the point. Rumble. Mr. Chen, don't bully people too much. Behind Lin Chen, a hair-face descended and raised his hand, dissolving Chen Qinghe's attack. It's unimaginable that at such a young age, Mr. Chen has already stepped into the supreme. I've lived for thousands of years, but I've never seen a supreme talent like Mr. Chen. Lin Chen froze in place, his demonic eyes filled with disbelief. Supreme, the 20-year-old supreme being. I'm Nima. Can't afford to play? Can you? You. Mo Daifang's pretty face turned pale as she stared at the figure in the void and couldn't stop falling back. Su Fian, on the other hand, was flushed and her sanity was already unclear. Just couldn't stop giggling at the dominating figure. Su Ming, you and I know each other well. What do you say about the heavenly fury qi in Lin Chen's body? A cold light shone in Chen Qinghe's eyes and his tone was cold. The heavenly fury qi was a taboo in the four major domains, and no one could tolerate it, especially as an everlasting immortal race, suppressing the foreign lands and eliminating the heavenly fury that was their mission. However, as a divine son of the Lin clan, yet he was harboring the heavenly fury qi within his body. This was a great offense that was treasonous and offended the heavenly Tao. What are you talking about, Mr. Chen? Where did the heavenly fury come from within my son's body? Su Ming's tone was indifferent. Chen Qinghe furrowed his brows as he vaguely sensed a hint of something wrong. This old man, there's something weird. Click. Right at this moment, the space behind him suddenly distorted, and an old, withered palm violently grabbed towards him. That eerie and appalling aura instantly shattered the void and appeared directly behind Chen Qinghe. Boo! Chen Qinghe was prepared and blasted out with a punch. The dome of the sky shattered, and the withered old palm dissolved with it. With this strike, Chen Qinghe had no reservations, but he was also cold and sweaty. This old man had silently touched behind himself and was still unaware of it. Veteran Supreme, there really are some doors. Ha! Sneak attack? You old bastard. How shameless. Chen Qinghe sneered. The anger in his heart had built up to the peak. If I kill you, no one will know what happened today. Su Minghai Hairphase issued a gloomy cold laugh, as if ghosts cry and wolves howl. Let a person shudder. You, the Lin family, already have a way to take your death. Chen Qinghe also finally, at this moment, detected the aura above the Hairphase. Same with the heavenly fury. So it seems that the Lin family has fallen into the abyss. Big talk. Su Ming instantly struck out. His figure directly stepped on the void. The terrifying pressure covered the sky. That eerie fury had no reservation at this moment. All of it exploded out. Boo! 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 The full force of a supreme powerhouse was simply appalling. With just one strike, the sky dome was blasted through a crack. Chen Qinghe wasn't the least bit afraid. His body was ablaze with bright golden light, and behind him, Tao patterns floated out. At the center of his brow, a divine pattern imprint emerged. A mere old dog is worthy of speaking out in front of me. The golden road was spread directly in front of Su Ming. Provocative. Boom! In an instant, the golden wheel flowed and the sky was about to collapse. Chen Qinghe carried supreme pressure and exploded to kill. In his eyes, a cold light shot out. Killing intent was evident. Between supreme beings, there is no need for nonsense. See the real thing under your hands. Su Ming's eyes were heavy, The Chen family had actually produced a junior supreme, something they had never expected. Chen Qinghe's appearance had greatly disrupted their layout. Today, he will die. What a terrifying battle between supreme beings. The storm raged, the sky dome collapsed, and the two of them constantly fought in the void. Fiercely. Pust. Su Ming's figure trembled, and he flew tens of thousands of miles in a sorry state, spewing out a stream of blood from his mouth. The withered features instantly paled, and a trace of dismay surfaced on his face. Looking up, Chen Qinghe's golden light shone brightly and his divine might was supreme as he had already killed over. In his hands, a four directions divine artifact exuded endless imperial might, causing one's scalp to go numb. Imperial weapon. It's the Emperor's weapon. Click, click, click. Space was all stirred to pieces, and this sky was about to be unable to withstand the duo's powerful attack. The moment the Imperial artifact came out, the heavenly Tao was somewhat eclipsed at this moment. As the young master of the Chen family and a supreme powerhouse, Chen Qinghe's use of the Emperor's artifact was already out of this world. The godless artifact, combined with the immortal bloodline in his body, triggered a might that was enough to destroy a party of the lower realm. Supreme? Die for me! Emperor exploding heavenly star! Chen Qinghe roared, and all of his berserk energy exploded out at this moment. The supreme might swept across heaven and earth. The golden light emperor weapon in his hand directly crushed the heavens and crushed the great Tao. Su Ming hurriedly tore through the void, wanting to vanish into the outer heaven and escape from here. But as soon as he stepped in, Chen Qinghe was already right behind him. Want to escape? With the might of an imperial weapon. Can you escape? Boo! 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 Colorless divine light flickered, and there were hidden dragons and phoenixes chirping in unison, their voices shaking the heavens. Trying to kill me? You're not worthy! Su Ming rose up his divine might, and his fierce chi flowed around him. As a supreme being with thousands of Tao methods, it was impossible for him to be defeated. The killing intent in his deep eyes was biting, and a purple chi divine pattern emerged in his withered old hand. The purple chi divine ripple bloomed with a blinding divine light, then shot towards Chen Qinghe. Give me the town! Chen Qinghe did not place the strike in his eyes at all, sacrificing the emperor weapon directly. The powerful and unparalleled energy instantly crushed that purple divine pattern without even the slightest bit of hesitation. How? Su Ming was shocked. That was a blood soul that he had forged by using his innate Tao lines combined with the heavenly fury chi. Even if it was as strong as a supreme being, it would be difficult to resist it. But in front of this guy, how could he be so unbearable? Even if he was holding an emperor's weapon in his hand, he shouldn't be. Ha! Chen Qinghe sneered. He stood in the heavenly beyond, his long hair flying, his golden light shining like an invincible god of war. The dense supreme aura was almost saccharine to the entire heavenly beyond heaven. In his eyes, killing intent was evident. That powerful gesture of confidence was all natural. Chapter 16 Killing all of the heavenly furies is the rule of the supreme being. Buzz! There was a violent trembling in the outer heaven, and chaotic gases continuously flowed out from the spatial cracks. Su Ming's body was hunched over, and his aged face was filled with scorn. Around him, the bizarre heaven's fury chi continued to spread, black and ominous. Today, no matter what, I will let you be buried here. Little child of the Chen clan, do you think that just because you stepped into the supreme exaltation and hold an imperial artifact in your hand, you can call me out? Do you really think that this 1,000-year supreme is made of clay? Su Ming laughed coldly. A brat who had just entered the supreme realm was only able to barely suppress himself by relying on the power of the imperial artifact in his hand. You do not enter the supreme being and see me as a frog at the bottom of a well looking at the bright moon. You entered the supreme being and saw me as an ant sees the sky. I'll show you what. Call the supreme being. Dang! Su Ming suddenly struck out, and a bizarre heavenly fury chi continued to converge within his withered palm. Zip! 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 A thunderbolt suddenly surfaced in the middle of the heavenly fury. Boo! With a wave of his big hand, the sea of thunder instantly condensed, electricity intertwined, and thunder snakes danced and sheeted. In an instant, it had spread across the heavens and came towards Chen Qinghe to suppress him. Chen Qinghe's brows furrowed as he viewed the appalling sight of the thunder snakes dancing and intertwining with thunder. His heart was creeped out. This old man, he actually made the supreme thunder. Boom! Hastily backing up his body, the emperor weapon in his hand emanated godless might. Since you don't know how to die, I'll let you die. The chopping chart, Chen Qinghe bellowed, throwing out his emperor weapon with one hand to defend against the thunder that kept suppressing him, and forming a seal with the other hand. Buzz! Between his hands, an immortal diagram with brilliant golden light violently surfaced. The moment the immortal diagram came out, it immediately rotated and flew out, directly chopping towards Su Ming. Drink! Su Ming shouted explosively and struck out with all his strength, the heavenly fury chi around his body in a very strange posture. Going crazy, all killing Chen Qinghe. Dang! The divine beheading diagram was radiant with golden light, and its divine might was nearly invincible. This kind of divine-grade immortal weapon bathed in the breath of a great emperor, and was itself bright and peerless. Facing the heavenly fury's aura was directly a ruthless suppression. As for the intertwining of the thunder snakes, they were instantly disintegrated. Ah! Su Ming let out a miserable scream as the golden light emperor's might instantly dissolved one of his arms. In a single breath, the blood, flesh, and withered bones melted into mush, and then completely dissipated. Not good. The immortal weapon in this kid's hand is so terrifying? Su Ming was anxious in his heart, and immediately stopped hesitating, tearing the void behind him, about to flee this place beyond the heavens. Trying to run? Die for your master. It was naturally impossible for Chen Qinghe to let the other party escape in front of his eyes. Buzz. The imperial artifact let out a Dao sound, and its peerless might instantly erupted. Ah! The endless might directly encompassed the extraterrestrial heavens, and this terrifying attack instantly subdued Su Ming. The poor hall of supreme beings, until the end, could not even send out a miserable scream, and instantly disappeared in this heaven and earth. What's going on? Elder Su hasn't come out yet? Lin Chen's face was pale. He had long since lost the heart to stay here. Facing Chen Qinghe, the supreme heavenly pride, his only thought was to flee, but he was still a little undeterred. After all, there was a supreme powerhouse by his side, and with Elder Su's strength, he should be able to take down Chen Qinghe. Lin Chen unconsciously prayed secretly in his heart. Click, click. Space shattered and a figure stepped out from it. The intense aura of supremacy instantly caused one's breath to stutter. Lin Chen's eyes widened as he looked at the figure dead on. Mr. Su, it must be Elder Su. How is that possible? Where is Su? Su Lao? This guy's not dead. Not dead. Lin Chen's heart crumbled for a few pounds. The result was already obvious, but he still didn't want to believe what was in front of him. 1,000-year-old supreme being, gone. Chen Qinghe was like an invincible god of war, his body surrounded by golden light, and the emperor weapon in his hand emitted supreme majesty. Lin Chen, you and Su Ming are harboring heaven's fury. There is no forgiveness for your sins. It is the mission of the immortal race to kill all the fury in the heavens. It is also the rule of our supreme being on earth. In vain, as a descendant of the immortal race, you have secretly colluded with the heavenly fury. If I don't kill you today, how can I explain to the four great domains? Chen Qinghe's gaze was full of killing intent. Even though Lin Chen was the second son of the immortal Lin clan, he was going to do the right thing for heaven today. You can't kill me, Chen Qinghe. My Lin family is an immortal clan. You don't have the guts to kill me. You can't. Lin Chen's face was terrified, as if he was insane, and his heart had completely panicked in the face of Chen Qinghe, a supreme powerhouse. He wanted to use his family's might to make Chen Qinghe's heart fearful. However, it didn't work. Die. Boo. Chen Qinghe was already too lazy to talk nonsense. There was no need to say much in front of this kind of mole scum ze. As a supreme being himself, he would directly exterminate it. The Lin family? I'm not afraid. The three elders, plus himself, a newly promoted supreme. The Chen family had a full force supreme beings. This kind of strength, not to mention in the eastern Xian domain, was sweeping everything when looking at the four major domains as well as the central divine prefecture. It was ridiculous that these mole crickets did not know the might of his Chen family. Let them, then, have a good look at the depths of the Chen family. The giant palm slapped down, without any frills. What was there was simply the supreme power of that supreme majesty. Click, click, click. The sky shattered and space collapsed. The entire Kayan Palace was constantly trembling. The mountain gate formation was simply unable to withstand it and was instantly destroyed. No! Lin Chen's face was filled with unwillingness, and his heart had broken down. Knock! The next moment, heaven and earth were silent. Lin Chen, along with Mo Daifeng beside him, dissipated between this heaven and earth in an instant. Half of the Tai Hangong mountain gate was destroyed. This was still something Chen Qinghe had done on purpose, leaving a hand out. Otherwise, if he had gone all out, the gates of this Taixing palace will also be dissipated in this world. Ta-da-da-da. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Urgent report. Urgent. I want an interview with the matriarch. Everlasting domain. Immortal race Lin family. Within the clan land, a figure crossed the void and directly rushed into the Lin family hall. The visitor had a great saintly aura, but his face was full of panic. After rushing into the grand hall, facing that majestic man, this great saint powerhouse fell to his knees without hesitation. Master of the house, Elder Duke Lin and Elder Su Ming's long life cards, shattered. Lin Song, as an elder of the Lin family's ancestral hall, had discovered today that the two long life plaques standing in the middle of the ancestral hall had shattered with a loud bang. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be Elder Lin, and Elder Su Ming. This immediately made him break out in a cold sweat. One must know that Elder Su Ming was a supreme power. A shattered long life sign means that the owner himself is completely dead. The fall of a supreme powerhouse was not a big blow to the immortal race. Lin Xiaoran sat at the seat of the family head and his gaze stagnated after hearing Su Tsung's report. As the patriarch of the Lin family, what an honorable status he had. But at this moment he was so frightened that he directly rose to his feet. Who is it? Find out for me right now. It must be the work of the immortals. Inventory all the immortal races in the 4 great domains and the central divine state for me. Lin Xiaoran's face was filled with anger. His face was like gold paper. He didn't show a single sob of sadness at the death of his beloved son, but instead was a bit alarmed. With Lin Chan and Su Ming's deaths, he knew what it meant. The Lin family's secret. He was afraid that he would not be able to keep it from the public, and he had to snuff out the news before it spread. Notify all Lin clan members to return to the clanland immediately. The entire clan is on emergency alert. Chapter 17. Wait, I can't cure this poison either. The Lin family's side was already in a panic, and Chen Qinghe, the originator of everything, was also in a headache at the moment. Inside the Tai Ching Palace, in the cold hall, only the afterglow of the moonlight flickered faintly. In the middle of the great hall, Chen Qinghe paced back and forth, frowning tightly, but was completely clueless. On the side, Bai Lingsu stood frozen in place, somewhat at a loss for words. What to do? Still can't think of a solution. Chen Qinghe had a bit of a headache. The Grand Elder Su Fei had already been saved by them, but the problem now was that the other party's body was heavy with the acacia sect's Qingfeng acacia scatter, a world-famous obscene poison that was simply too powerful. It was simply impossible to force it out of the body with Yuan Qi alone, but right now there is no antidote. Even if you go to the acacia sect to ask for it, the other party may not be willing to hand over the antidote. You have to know that this is the secret of the acacia sect, really want people to obediently serve the antidote, unless the entire acacia sect will be beaten into submission. Obviously, that would be a bit unrealistic. Your Excellency doesn't need to be in a hurry. Master will definitely have a solution. Bai Lingsu stood dumbfounded, a pair of jade hands folded together. At this moment she was also a bit at a loss for words. There was nothing she could do about the fact that the Grand Elder was suffering from obscene poison, and she could only secretly pray inwardly that the other party would pass through safely. The Qingfeng Harmony Scatter is the world's most obscene. I'm afraid it's not that simple to undo it. Chen Qinghe's gaze wandered to the side of the side hall, and through the gauze curtains, 2 figures loomed inside. It could be vaguely seen that Long Shuawei was casting spells to help Sufi and force out the obscene poison in her body. Let's hope that Elder Su will be able to get through this. Chen Qinghe sighed and could only covet his hopes on Long Shuawei. This woman had lived for hundreds of years, had seen a lot, and was a member of the dragon race, so compared to that, she should have a way. After all, the nature of dragons is, LOL. Sighing, Chen Qinghe walked out of the great hall and looked at the full moon in the night sky, his mood somewhat surprisingly poor. Having just gone through a great battle, he still had some scruples in the face of Lin Chen and Su Ming's status, but there were some things he had to do. Only, I'm sure that in the future, I'm afraid that the Lin family won't take it well. Moreover, the Lin family was definitely hiding something. Silent name. Beside Chen Qinghe, there was a twist in the void, and Mo Ming's figure quietly emerged. He half-kneeled on the ground, waiting for the young lord's command. Chen Qinghe made a move with his right hand. A golden light flashed, and a scroll was added to his hand. Inform the Grand Elder of all the events of today. All matters are determined by his old man. Chen Qinghe felt that it was still necessary for the Grand Elder to step in to resolve the situation at this point. He was currently not long out of the world, and he was still not too familiar with the immortal race and many of the things and people in the Great Domain. Besides, such a major event involving the everlasting immortal clan had to be discussed by a few great elders. Your obedience. Silent Name dragged up the scroll with both hands, then quietly retreated into the void. Is your excellency worried that the Lin family is angry over this? It's our fault for startling the prince. If the Lin family is angry, just vent all your anger on my Tai Ching palace. Don't ever spill over to the male. Bai Lingsu quietly appeared behind Chen Qinghe. Her pretty and delicate body was like a fairy in the moonlight. Under the moonlight decoration, the white dress threw the light fluorescence, a pair of slender thighs hidden. White silk socks in vain added some interest. The black high heels slimmed down the young girl's already tall figure. That elegant dainty body is simply a creation of the heavens. The clear and beautiful face was slightly frowning at the moment, and the red lips were pouting, so I really felt sorry for her. Chen Qinghe's gaze surveyed the young girl in front of him, and the corners of his mouth rose. Walking forward, he took one of the young girl's jade hands and rubbed it delicately. Raisu, aren't these words a bit strange coming from you? Bai Lingsu was stunned and quickly shook her head. Gongzi, this is all Lingsu's. Before the words could be uttered, the delicate red lips were ruthlessly blocked by the man in front of her. In an instant, Bai Lingsu's already empty brain completely lost consciousness. But the good thing is that the girl's heart is still there. She closed her eyes in a bit of panic. Her little heart thump 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 thump. After a long time, knowing that the young girl's eyes were mesmerized and she was a bit breathless, Chen Qinghe left that to delicate red lips. The silver wire broke between their lips. Bai Lingsu was shyly lying in Chen Qinghe's arms. Phew! A hot breath came from her delicate ear, and Chen Qinghe's voice rang in her ears. Your master is still watching. Bai Lingsu froze and flusteredly escaped from Chen Qinghe's arms, quasi-bodying to see that her master behind her was staring at her with a deadly stare. In a flash, the young girl's face turned directly into a red apple, panicked and fled the area. It's embarrassing. How can Mr. Chen be in front of master? Bai Lingsu, you really have no shame. The young girl fled without looking back, her heart shamed to the core. Cursing herself for having lost her head, she had sunk into the arms of Mr. Chen in front of her master. Dragon Palace Master, do I have flowers on my face? Chen Qinghe was the first to break the silence. The woman's pair of white pupils just looked at him so calmly. It was really a bit unpleasant. Although he was thick-skinned enough, he was still a bit overwhelmed. Mr. Chen is so dashing. I'm only afraid that my disciple has been unable to escape your clutches. Long Shuowei's tone was flat, her voice cold and without waves. Even after witnessing her love interest put on a sizzling display, she seemed to be unperturbed. The Dragon Palace Master is too kind. Chen Qinghe smiled frankly. Please follow me. After Long Shuowei finished speaking, she turned around and walked towards the hall, while Chen Qinghe followed behind. Without a word, the two of them arrived in the middle of the side hall. As soon as he entered the side hall, he felt that the temperature had risen linearly, and the blazing burning sensation was thick and unbroken in the middle of the side hall. There was also a faint aroma in the air. How is the poison in Elder Su's body? Looking at the back of the person lying on the bed behind the gauze curtain, Chen Qinghe frowned. Vaguely, he felt that the obscene poison in the other party's body had not been lifted. Even I can't do anything about it today. Long Shuowei shook her head, her tone trembling a little, and her white face suddenly flashed a reddish hue. It was only a flash of light, but Chen Qinghe was still keenly aware of it. The poison in Fei Yan's body can only be solved by you, Mr. Chen. Now, Long Shuowei's white pupils flickered. Unexpectedly did not dare to face the youth in front of her who was counted as her junior. This was the first time she had such a feeling. Even to speak, it was difficult to speak. Me? Chen Qinghe was stunned. How come he still had to rely on himself? When he was first rescued he had already tried, but unfortunately the obscene poison was too deep in his body, and he hadn't studied this kind of poison. Even as a supreme being, there was nothing he could do. Today, the poison in Fei Yan's body can only be solved by you, Mr. Chen. A trace of determination flashed across Long Shuowei's face. She very much didn't want to do this, but there was no other good way at the moment. Looked at lying on the bed. Look painful Su Fei Yan. Long Shuowei speak of each other as their own sister for many years. Natural eyes cannot look at each other suffering. Eventually the toxin kicked in and she died. Gritting her teeth, Long Shuowei violently probed her jade hand. Boom! Caught off guard, Chen Qinghe was slapped into the veil by this woman. The body rolled down on top of the bed. Wait! Dragon Palace Master! The poison on Su Chang's body. I can't cure it either. Chen Qinghe was just about to open his mouth to explain, when the next moment a hot and delicate body had already stuck up and wrapped him tightly. Chapter 18 I can help you to regain your throne. This is. Chen Qinghe was about to struggle, but he felt a softness in his body, and his brain was also a bit cloudy at the moment. What was even more frightening was that there was a dryness in his body, and hot blood was rushing to the top of his head. How dare you drug me? Boo! The yuan qi around his body skyrocketed, and even though the clothes on his body had already been torn by the woman lying behind him, Chen Qinghe's overbearing aura still sent shivers down one's spine. The green silk was flying and his face was cold. Chen Qinghe instantly moved to Long Shuowei's face and directly choked the woman's neck with one hand. Duke! Behind him, Su Fei Yan's petite body was lying on her back, her hands scratching haphazardly, clearly having fallen into a frenzy. Chen Qinghe wasn't feeling well either. A feeling of dryness and heat was constantly coming from his body, and an unforgiving image began to appear in his brain. It's the only way to save Fei Yan. It can only be you, Mr. Chen. Who can help him? Even though she was being choked by the man and furiously toppled against the pillar, Long Shuowei's face was still very calm, even without any ripples. Above the cold features, the beautiful eyebrows wrinkled up and said with difficulty. Chen Qinghe's eyes swam with intent, the killing intent within his gaze gradually converging. This crazy woman. Surprisingly, a trace of the obscene poison extracted from Su Feiyan's body was spread on his own body in an instant. This woman is a lunatic. Isn't he afraid he'll kill her in a fit of rage? Looking at the woman's stunningly beautiful face that was unruffled and even a bit cold, Chen Qinghe could only withdraw unhappily. Snap! Long Shuowei's plump and delicate body fell to the ground, her face pale as she kept gasping for breath. However, a hint of viciousness flashed through those white pupils. In the past 300 years, no one had ever dared to think of Chen Qinghe making a move on her like this. This revenge, Long Shuowei remembered. It seems that if you want to cure the poison nowadays, there's only the yin-yang dual combination. I have to say, the Dragon Palace Lord is really generous. Chen Qinghe sneered. He was now Bai Lingsu's nominal husband. Long Shuowei was good, but she also pushed herself personally towards other women. Such a master teacher is really rare in this world. Long Shuowei was apathetic. She knew that she might have apologized to her beloved disciple Bai Lingsu for doing so, but when her eyes came into contact with Su Feiyan's agonized expression, she could only be ruthless. Chen Qinghe looked at Long Shuowei, who was lying on the ground with a complicated and silent expression, and immediately ignored it. This woman, he would have to watch out for in the future, lest he fall in the gutter again. Backhanding Su Feiyan behind him into his arms, his fiery petite body immediately couldn't wait to wrap itself around him. Su Feiyan, pretty face scarlet, delirious, ripe charming stunning face has long been no longer the former proud and cold posture, replaced by seductive into the bones of the soul praying. The fiery red lips kept landing on Chen Qinghe's face. Well, it's not a loss, Chen Qinghe thought, carrying the woman in his arms back to the bed. Are you going to watch it live? He turned his head in a monstrous manner, only to see Long Shuowei still standing in the middle of the hall, her white pupils staring at her. Long Shuowei froze, and as an afterthought, she fiercely gouged out the other party, her red lips skimming, and flew away from the great hall. What young master of the Chen family is just a brat who hasn't grown up? How dare you put up a fight in front of me? Cut. The next day, early in the morning, Bai Lingsu came to the side hall to visit Elder Su. Her heart had been worried about the Grand Elder's obscene poison, and Bai Lingsu had rushed to visit early in the morning. When he came to the doorway of the side hall, he directly floated in. Duke, the scene that came into her eyes made her a bit confused, and Bai Lingsu blinked her beautiful eyes with a puzzled expression as she lifted the gauze curtain. Elder Su, who was originally lying here, was no longer in sight, and instead, he was replaced by Elder Chen. Why is the male lying here? Where's Elder Su? Bai Lingsu approached the bed and looked at Chen Qinghe, whose entire body was cradled in the quilt with only a head poking out, and asked suspiciously, Elder Su has recovered well last night, and is now mostly in her cave. I was just feeling a little tired, so I laid down here for a while. Chen Qinghe's face was embarrassed, but he still forced himself to calm down and smiled. Upon closer inspection, though, his demeanor stayed taut. Oh, then I'll go visit the Grand Elder. Bai Lingsu nodded thoughtfully, her eyes falling hesitantly on the quilt covering Chen Qinghe's body, where a high bulge was raised. Lingsu, quickly go and take a look. Elder Su has almost recovered, Chen Qinghe said with a smile. Bai Lingsu nodded and eventually averted her gaze and turned away. Swish! After Bai Lingsu flew out of the hall, the quilt on Chen Qinghe flew up violently. It's your fault for not being honest in broad daylight. A snow-white petite body instantly flew out, grabbing the dress thrown behind the bed and draping it over her body. Su Feiyan's face flushed scarlet as she reached out and wiped the corner of her mouth. Her ripe and charming features flashed a trace of shyness, and finally glared fiercely at Chen Qinghe as she hurriedly fled the grand hall. Chen Qinghe, on the other hand, leisurely put on his clothes and paced outside the main hall. The rising sun is purple and the crisp air is refreshing. The great hall stood on top of the highest green peak of the Taiching Palace. Standing in front of the door of the hall, at a glance, this Taichung Palace seemed to be prostrate at his feet. A view of the mountains. Does the Dragon Palace Master always like to appear quietly? Chen Qinghe turned his head and at some point, Long Shuowei's figure appeared beside him. This seed doesn't need to want to report back to Mr. Chen yet. Long Shuowei's expression was indifferent and her tone was cold as she gazed at the distant immortal mountain cave. Meh. Chen Qinghe let out a light laugh, feeling that this woman should have reached menopause, nervous and too lazy to bother with her. Well, have you thought it over? The conversation turned. Chen Qinghe chatted about the main event. Long Shuowei's identity is special. Her line, Chen Qinghe is still extremely important. That's why he's stuck around. Long Shuowei's waves were unperturbed, her features cold, her white eyes glancing at the man beside her, her tone cold. This seed is unwilling and does not want to be involved in the midst of your everlasting immortal clan's broken affairs. Hearing Long Shuowei's answer, Chen Qinghe was not surprised. The woman's mind is anyone's guess, but it's a good one. as a princess of the East China Sea dragon family line, but traveling outside, refused to go back, even if it has been seated in the Taiching Palace master seat, but also still unwilling to go to the East China Sea to see. It shows her determination. It's a bit tricky. As long as you nod your head, I can help you regain your throne. Chen Qinghe turned around, looked at the woman's face, and laughed lightly. He gave enough sincerity, depending on the other side in the end to move the heart. The dragon clan underwent a great change 500 years ago, with internal mutilation and chaos. It eventually led to the complete decline of the dragon race, but that's all ancient history. Nowadays, in order to deal with the rise of the Phoenix clan as well as to suppress Feng Yin that, fostering the rise of the dragon clan is undoubtedly the best way. And right now, Long Shuiwei is the most suitable. As the princess of the White Dragon clan, her status, position, and even strength were the best candidates. Chapter 19, this seat doesn't care about your kindness. Oh, speaking in a grandiose manner, you everlasting immortal race, you heal yourselves and look down on the world, as if these four great domains, the central divine state, are all in your hands, and we don't hear of the 10,000 heavenly prides that come and go, and the 100 races that compete and migrate in every matter. Chen Qinghe, don't press your so-called identity on this seat. You are not worthy. Into the world for 300 years, the former mighty white dragon true lord of the East China Sea, and is not a short period of time tail snake, bowed down to support the lord of the people. The name of the white dragon true lord was not a mere name. There were countless bigwigs who had died at the hands of Long Shuiwei in the past 100 years. With her esteemed status, as the palace master of the Taiching Palace, one of the four great palaces, she was not something that could be easily pinned down. Upon hearing Long Shuiwei's domineering cold words, Chen Qinghe did not get angry. It was true that the kind of master would be able to teach the kind of disciple. Long Shuiwei could not be faulted for Bai Lingsu's ability to have that temperament. This woman is also a bit interesting. Have a home not to return. Have to make a breakthrough in the East Xian domain, but also really let her achieve the position of the Taiching Palace master. I'm sure there is some hidden agenda. It's just that looking at her, she seems to be very repulsed by the East Sea Dragon clan. It's a little tricky. Chen Qinghe still felt that he should persuade her properly. After all, she was also the only one who could make things happen, and it was also good to have some control. Why would the Dragon Palace master say that? You are the princess of the Dragon clan. And now that the Dragon clan is in decline, the Phoenix clan's heyday is imminent. Now that the Phoenix clan and the 10,000 Beasts nation have joined forces, the front runners have been revealed, and for a time there was a great tendency to unify the Dongxian demon clan. If we really let them have their way, I'm afraid that your Dragon clan will be in an even more difficult situation in the future, right? Don't forget, you dragons contributed a lot to the Phoenix clan's fall 1,000 years ago. Do you really think those old things have forgotten? Chen Qinghe's lips were kind and enticing, and his words were concise, analyzing the current and future situation of the dragon race. It was true, as he had said, that the decline of the dragon race had become irreversible. You should know that in the past, the dragon clan ruled the East China Sea and was majestic to the demon clan. At that time Jianmu's Phoenix clan has already 10,000 beasts country can only prostrate at the feet of the dragon clan. That kind of how God's might. How dazzling. When the dragon clan was so powerful in the demon clan's lineage, no one dared to touch the edge. And now what? The dragon clan of the Eastern Sea was on the verge of being torn apart, not to mention competing with the Phoenix clan. Internal augur dragon lineage rise, orthodox dragon clan are about to be hollowed out. Ancient dragon clan is even more dead. Sit down, sit down. Orthodox unified lineage is only a white dragon clan left, but the white dragon clan can't afford to pick up the slack nowadays. Instead, the four great dragon lineages quickly annexed territory in the East Sea. I'm afraid that after another 100 years, the Orthodox Dragon clan will completely lose power, and the East China Sea will be ruled by the Jialong clan in the future. So much for being in tatters internally. What's more, with the Dragon tribe has a blood feud with the Phoenix tribe is completely in the construction of would rise. There is a return to the former heyday of the posture. Feng Yan ran that and dared to come to the Chen family to withdraw from the marriage. On the one hand, relying on the Feng clan front. On the one hand, it is also because they have been allied with the 10,000 Beasts country. These two major demon clans had joined forces and were bound to unify the Dongxian demon clan. When the time comes, what will you dragons do? For S sake, the Phoenix clan has already sharpened their knives, itching to smoke your dragon clan's warp and skin, together with the Kuan-Pang lineage of the 10,000 Beasts kingdom and the Golden Winged Rock. These two strong clans, when the time comes, your dragon clan will be the fish and meat on the chopping board of others. If we really want to follow this trend, in less than 100 years, the dragon clan will be removed from this world. Are you in a hurry? I'm more anxious than you are. The reason why Chen Qinghe was in a hurry was also because he was afraid that Feng Yanyan's side would rise too quickly, and when the time came to touch the Chen family's interests, then they wouldn't be able to deal with it. Therefore, the Dragon Clan's side was the key to his bet. With the Chen family's current strength, if they wanted to exterminate the Phoenix Clan and the 10,000 Beasts Kingdom, it would be easy at that time. However, doing so would inevitably be reviled by the 100 races, and might even draw the displeasure of the other everlasting immortal races. That's not good. Therefore, it was best to have all parties within the demon race hamstrung, so that they would fight internally and constantly consume each other. As for his Chen family, he would be able to sit back and reap the benefits in peace. Wouldn't it be nice? Long Shuowei laughed contemptuously, without the slightest bit of divine splendor in her white eyes. White hair was blown by the breeze, and a lotus-white silk robe fluttered. The plump and delicate body stood there as if it was a supreme immortal who coldly overlooked the world. Finished? When you're done, you can off. Coldly dropping a sentence, Long Shuowei whisked her sleeves away. She didn't care about the so-called death or life of the dragon race. If you want to die, you can die. What's that got to do with her? It would be better if the clan was exterminated. Then she would be a little glad in her heart instead? Long Shuowei didn't know if she would be happy, but definitely not sad. Who says that as a dragon princess, you have to give to the dragon clan? I, Long Shuowei, never owed the dragon clan. What's funny is that the world knows that I'm the white dragon true lord, but I forgot that I'm still the palace master of the Taiching Palace. I have been sitting in Taiching Palace for 100 years. The dragon clan has long been irrelevant to me. Taiching Palace is my home. There was inexplicably some bitterness in his heart, and that bitterness gradually turned into pain. The delicate body of the fairy standing proudly on the top of the clouds could not help but tremble, and her absolutely beautiful and cold face suddenly had a cluster of beautiful eyebrows, with a kind of shattered feeling of watering. Oh, how did the dragons treat me in the past? But does anyone know? You guys claim to call me the princess of the Dragon Clan. Don't you know all the things I once suffered in the Dragon Clan? What a supreme, Chen Qinghe. In vain I was impressed with you before, thinking that you would be a dragon and phoenix among men in the future. So it seems that you are just the same as those dizzy old undead. I hate that I even pushed Lingsu into your arms with my own hands, and even sent Fei Yen into your mouth. I, Long Shuowei, was really blind. Long Shuowei, for some reason, began to continually complain in her heart about the man who was much, much younger than herself, small enough to even be her junior. It was just hard to think back to that guy's light laugh. Men are all the same. Who would have thought that the cold, ruthless, murderous white dragon true lord would have a grudge against a man in his heart? Chen Qinghe spread his hands. Got. It was meant to irritate and agitate the other side. I didn't realize the excitement was too much. Something about this woman in the beginning. He had heard a little about it from the Grand Elder. He just didn't expect the other party's emotions to be so great. No, I have to go coax her. A dragon race great Saint powerhouse. This kind of character was something to definitely pull in. With a single step, he instantly arrived on top of Long Shuowei's cloud chuck. Dragon Palace Master, listen to me. You can feel free to put forward any conditions you have. I will definitely not push back. As long as you nod your head, I can kill for you all those big shots of the Dragon Clan at one time. Chen Qinghe could only pull his face down, but seeing that Long Shuowei's back was still unmoved, he was afraid that the woman would be so irritated that he wouldn't give himself the slightest chance to negotiate when the time came. Immediately, he reached out his hand and tried to pull her back. Under the lotus white silk sleeve, a jade hand was cold. Asterisk 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 off. This seat does not care for your kindness. Long Shuowei sidestepped her face and flung her sleeves, a hint of anger on her face. This was the first time she had been so excited. Normally, no matter how serious the matter was, she could always be calm and expressionless. With a palm strike, he directly sent Chen Qinghe, who was on the cloud chuck, flying down. Then without looking back, he headed towards the cave. Chapter 20, Zhu Linger's Fall. Going to Tai Su Holy Land. That crazy woman. I'm a supreme being. If it weren't for Raisu's face, I would have gotten her. Long ago. Rubbing his aching forehead, Chen Qinghe rose from the ground in a sorry state and could only watch the other party leave. Forget it, this is something to be discussed in the long run. We can't be too hasty. On the side of the Phoenix Clan and the 10,000 Beasts Kingdom, it was estimated that there would be little storm in the short term. This side was pretty much dealt with. The Western Wasteland Chu family was completely exterminated, and Zhu Linger's side of the matter had already been resolved. Next, it's Lan Shuiying. It just so happened that Kayan Pavilion's request for help was imminent. The Christmas convention is about to open. Just in time to tackle this by hand. Coming to sit down in the middle of the Great Hall, Chen Qinghe began to plot about the Taisu Sacred Land. Speaking of which, the Taisu Holy Land was also full of sects and many Taoist traditions. but inside it was nothing more than the 5 major Dan clans in power. Lan Shuiying was from the Sacred Dan sect, which was the most powerful nowadays. As for the Dan Pavilion affiliated with the Chen family, it had fallen in popularity over the past 100 years, and although it still stood among the 5 major Dan sects, its power was declining more and more. This couldn't be blamed on the Dan Pavilion. After all, the rise of the Sacred Dan sect a few hundred years ago was also a result of a few of the Chen family's old ancestors secretly aiding them. Dan Pavilion also had to look at the Chen family's face to give in. As a result, the Sacred Dan sect was so sharp that it directly annexed most of Dan Pavilion's resources, and in one fell swoop, it sat at the top of the list among the 5 major Dan sects. Unfortunately, over the centuries, a white-eyed wolf has been raised out of it. It was estimated that the Dan Pavilion also had quite a few complaints about the Chen family. Chen Qinghe was also puzzled. The old ancestor's vision in the beginning was really just not good. How dare you find yourself such an oddball? Dan Pavilion is so loyal you guys don't look for it. You have to go to the Sacred Dan sect to get a marriage contract. Now it's good. The broken things are all stopped on their own. Their several old ancestors are one by one closed door. Tada! Inside the great hall, a voice suddenly rang out. Chen Qinghe sniffed and looked over with a playful expression. Chu Linger finally awoke from her coma, and the injuries on her body were repaired last night. It was just that her cultivation nowadays had fallen by the wayside, and her dantian had even been shattered by ink dye frost slap. One had to marvel at the fact that ink dye frost woman was really ruthless. Nice work! Chu Linger had just awakened and thought she was hallucinating, dragging her tired body around the grand hall. Looking up, he realized Chen Qinghe sitting at the top. Her face was pale. Her former proud face was now filled with exhaustion, and when she saw Chen Qinghe's sneering expression, she could not help but lower her head. She hated it, hated her ignorance. I shouldn't have gone to the Chen family to repent for the marriage in the first place. Played as a pawn, he angered the majesty of the Chen family, resulting in the destruction of the family and himself becoming a lost dog. Ridiculous. Chu Linger mumbled and opened her lips, wanting to say something, but did not make a single sound. She regretted it, but there was no medicine for regret. That young master of the Chen clan, who in her eyes was merely relying on his status as an immortal, was now so noble and honorable. As for the second son of Lin, whom he had always loved, he instead treated himself as a piece and tool to be used at will. It was ridiculous that she was still fantasizing about joining the Lin family and double-crossing. Hate. Chu Linger clenched her 2 hands tightly into fists. Her nails had already pierced into the flesh, and bright drops of blood continued to fall low, but it was as if she didn't notice in the slightest. And that shameless mastermind. In vain I honored and loved her. It's amazing how that woman has been using herself all along. Those soulful eyes had long since lost their vigor, and inside were only endless hatred and remorse. Regret. But there's no medicine for regret. You can go. Chen Qinghe couldn't help but speak out as he looked at the young girl's bowed head. This woman is a bit of an eyesore here. As for getting back at her or whatever, forget it. She's a wreck nowadays anyway. The Chu family had been destroyed by herself. The Taixing Palace had also been destroyed. Her dantian was damaged, and she would only be able to live on in the future. Was there still a need for revenge? No more. A woman like that is left to her own devices. Killing her would be too much of a pushover. The road ahead was still long, and she would not leave behind a single one of the sufferings she should have. Chu Linger raised her head and looked at the towering Chen Qinghe with a complicated gaze. The man she had once disdained was now too high for her own good. Not a chance. Originally she could have married into the Chen family in style. It was all because she personally cut off her own path. Knowing that there was no point in staying here, Chu Linger looked deeply at the figure and said with her head lowered, "Thanks," then turned to leave. She is dead at heart and will have to fend for herself in the future. Only after watching the young girl leave the hall did Chen Qinghe withdraw his gaze and snorted. That's the first one. There are 4 more. There's no hurry to come one by one. None of them can escape. Silent name. There was a distortion in the void, and Marinim's figure reappeared. It's time for us to depart and visit the Taisu sacred land. Since the matter on this side had been resolved, there was no need to stay here. First going over to the Taisu Holy Land to check on the status of the Dan Pavilion. It seemed like there was a big problem with the Dan Pavilion in the transmission. This could not be taken lightly. After all, it was an affiliate of the Chen family, so it was still a matter of extra concern. Young lord, there's some chaos over at the Taisu sacred land today. According to reports from undercover agents, the Dan Pavilion is internally unstable, and it seems that several major Dan sects are going to gather fire and make trouble at the Sacred Dan Conference. Silent name reported in a low voice. For what? Chen Qinghe frowned and asked where the incident was. Dongge, as the Dan sect's leader, has been guarding the Divine Brilliance Cauldron. The other several major Dan sects are making trouble over the ownership of the Divine Brilliance Cauldron. God's brilliant tripod. Chen Qinghe seemed to have some impression of this magic weapon. The magic weapon of a false emperor from the ancient times. In the midst of the great battle, that pseudo-emperor died, and this magic weapon was left behind, becoming a holy relic of the Taisu sacred land. Various forces fought over this at the time, and in the end, the 5 major Dan sects joined forces to keep this magic artifact in the Taisu sacred ground. The pseudo-emperor magic weapon was still a bit different compared to an emperor's weapon, but its might was enough to destroy the heavens and the earth. Among the 5 major Dan sects, the Kayan Pavilion, which was at the height of its power at the time, was elected to guard this magic weapon. However, time had changed. The Kayan Pavilion was now no longer majestic. The rise of the sacred Dan sect was imminent, and several major Dan sects were interested in reacquiring the reins of the pseudo-emperor's magic artifact. Chen Qinghe understood the magnitude of it after a little thought. In the final analysis, it was still the temptation of that false emperor's artifact that was too great. Since Kayan Gu is not working now, it should change hands obediently. However, these Dan sects seem to have forgotten that the Kayan Pavilion was backed by his Chen family. In the past, when the Chen clan was closed, it was fine, but now that the Chen clan is out in the world, this Kayan Pavilion and the false emperor artifacts, they even dared to get their hands on them? When it really doesn't know how to die. Have Chen Hong lead the men to go over to the Taisu sacred land first and stand by. Tell him not to lose my Chen family's divine authority. Chen Qinghe had a cold light in his eyes. Since each and every one of those Dan sects in the Taisu sacred land were disobedient, they could only be ruthlessly suppressed. Chapter 21. Tear your face off? My Kayan Pavilion is highly autonomous. Rumble. Above the dome of the sky, dark clouds rolled, and a terrifying pressure echoed between heaven and earth. A figure with a strong aura loomed between the clouds. The Taisu sacred ground was completely sensationalized, and all the major Dan sect powerhouses were all shocked and trembling. Looking at a terrifying aura above the dome of the sky, their livers were practically cracking. That's the guards of the Changxing Chen family. The Chen family? The everlasting Chen family has visited the Taisu Holy Land? It's not just which heavenly pride of the Chen family. Now that the opening of the Sacred Dan Conference is just around the corner, is the Changxing Chen family here for the Kayan Pavilion? A voice of disbelief rang out, and the strongest members of the major Dan sect looked at the pair of imposing guards from afar, and their hearts couldn't help but be creeped out. If the Changxing Chen family had come here to back up the Kayan Pavilion, then their plans would be in vain. Wow dash! The immortal gate of the Kayan Pavilion was wide open, and all of the many elders came out to greet the upcoming bigwigs. At the forefront of the crowd, a graceful and beautiful woman came out in a row. The beautiful woman was dressed in a blue flowing palace dress. Her chest was as full as jade and her skin was like snow. The green silk was coiled at the back of her head, held in place by a gold hairpin. The clear face was unsmiling, eyes downcast, waiting quietly. Boom! Above the sky, the Chen clan guards slowly descended, and Chen Hong led the way to the crowd. I have been ordered by the young lord to come to Kayan Pavilion to make my rounds. Please also prepare yourselves. The young lord will visit in a few days, Chen Hong said in a flat tone, looking at the beautiful woman in front of him. Mu Yunshu's eyebrows furrowed as she heard this. The young master of the Chen family that she had been longing for had not even arrived yet, and she suddenly felt a little frustrated. But fortunately, that young master of the Chen family would be arriving in a matter of days, so there was no need to worry. I, Kayan Pavilion, am honored by the great presence of the immortal clan. The Dan Pavilion is already prepared and will definitely satisfy the young lord. Mu Yunshu as the pavilion master. Since there is a strength, the absolutely beautiful face hangs up a smile. Very generous said. The beautiful woman's temperament was outstanding, and there was a divine woman's charm between her hands and feet. The enchanting and plump body is like a ripe peach, and the mature temperament makes people impressed. Chen Hong only nodded coldly and entered the great hall under the greeting of the crowd. I heard that the Dan Pavilion has been in trouble lately. If Pavilion Master Twilight has any difficulties, just bring them up. My Chen family will definitely help. Chen Hong remembered the young master's command, and as long as the Kayan Pavilion's demands weren't too excessive, he would do his best to fulfill them. When Mu Yunshu heard this, a bitter smile appeared on her face. Nowadays, the Kayan Pavilion was suffering from external and internal problems, and many things were difficult to solve easily. Rather, there is one thing that requires the assistance of Commander Chen. Oh, what is it? Chen Hong immediately became interested and immediately asked after him. Mu Yunshu glanced at the several elders on the side and sneered in her heart. Recently, after several elders of my Dan Pavilion deliberated, the Dan Pavilion is ready to re-elect the Pavilion Master. Now that Commander Chen is here, it's the perfect time to be a notary. As soon as Mu Yunshu said this, the few elders who were traveling with him immediately changed color. This woman, to bring this up at this time, Is she trying to use the Chen family to pressure us? Ridiculous. The Kayan Pavilion master position was elected, and even the Chen family had no right to interfere. Several elders' minds flowed, glancing at each other and secretly nodding their heads. The Kayan Pavilion had declined severely in recent years and was now at an extremely dangerous point, coupled with the fact that the Sacred Dan Conference was about to start. But facing the group of Dan sects led by the Sacred Dan sect, Kayan Pavilion was afraid that it would be difficult to make a difference this time. I'm only afraid that the Imperial artifact will have to be given away by then. All of the above. Naturally, someone has to come out and face it. After the Grand Elder's private solicitation, the 5 elders of the Kayan Pavilion simultaneously struck the doctrine on Mu Yunshu's body. This woman is not from the Kayan Pavilion's lineage, but was taken in by the previous pavilion master in the outside world 100 years ago. There was no power in the Dan Pavilion, nor did he have a few close friends. I had already seen this woman as a bad influence, and this time, I was able to take advantage of the situation. The 5 elders took advantage of the crisis and joined forces to force Mu Yunshu to hand over the position of pavilion master. Mu Yunshu naturally will not obediently hand over power. These old things are just corpses, doing nothing for the Dan Pavilion, squandering resources based on seniority. However, he was unable to fight against it on his own, which was why he sought the help of the Chen family. Now that Chen Hong was visiting and the Chen family's young master would be arriving in a matter of days, she of course had to seize the opportunity before her to strike back. Re-election of the court master? Chen Hong froze, then his face turned cold as he swept his gaze gloomily at the 5 elders. These old guys were looking at the youth with the terrifying aura, and each of them turned pale. The Sacred Dan Conference is about to open, and it's still the Dan Pavilion master who's on the verge of changing the general at such a moment. If something goes wrong and causes the Imperial artifact to be obtained by another Dan sect, who will bear this sin? Chen Hong's tone was serious and his face was grim. This matter was not trivial. Replacing the pavilion master or whatever, he didn't care. The key was the Imperial artifact Divine Brilliant Cauldron. Once the Kayan Pavilion lost the competition in the middle of this Sacred Dan Conference, it would be a disaster if the Imperial artifacts changed hands at that time. Changing generals on the verge of battle is a big taboo, and replacing the pavilion master at such a critical moment is absolutely inadmissible. Several elders looked at each other with pale faces, facing Chen Hong's terrifying aura and majesty. Several people were like falling into an ice cellar for a moment. Commander Chen repressed his anger. It is precisely because the Sacred Pill Conference is of great importance that it naturally requires a strong person who can stabilize the situation. From our point of view, Mu Yunshu clearly doesn't have this ability. The one who spoke was the Great Elder. He was already nearly old with white hair, and at this moment he stood out and said in an old-fashioned manner. Chen Hong looked at the old man in front of him and couldn't help but snort. This old guy seemed to have not put his own words just now in his eyes. It is not your turn to decide this matter. Replacing the pavilion master is a matter of great importance and requires the young lord to step in and preside over it. If you and the others want to settle this privately, have you thought about the consequences? Chen Hong's tone grew colder and colder. In his opinion, Kayan Pavilion was nothing more than a subsidiary of the Chen family, so naturally anything had to go through the nod of the young master. The colors of the several elders present changed. No, my Kayan Pavilion's internal affairs. Do you want to interfere with the Chen family? Although Kayan Pavilion is affiliated with the Chen family, this is my Dan Pavilion's private matter. Since when does the Dan Pavilion need your Chen family's approval for private matters? Your Chen family is a bit of a bully. The Grand Elder's face was suffocatingly red, and his heart was even angrier as he was disliked by a junior in public. The Chen family has been closed for hundreds of years. Have you ever cared about the death of my Dan Pavilion? Jumping out to ride the face at this time? It's a bit of a bully, isn't it? Commander Chen, you must understand that the Chen family is not qualified to meddle in the private affairs of my Dan Pavilion, the Grand Elder said in a deep voice, a touch of coldness flashing through his gaze. This rule for hundreds of years. Everyone is unspoken, although affiliated, but Kayan Gu internal autonomy. Yu Chen family is not qualified to intervene. What? Are you trying to ruin the rules for both sides? Chapter 22 My rules are the rules. How dare you? As affiliates, you are not qualified to question my Chen family. Chen Hong completely angry. Really give these guys face? You're an affiliated Dan Pavilion and you dare to bargain with my Chen family, and you have the audacity to talk about private matters? Self-governance? I'll you up. Being an affiliate requires an awareness of being an affiliate. Is Commander Chen trying to bully others with his power? This rule has been in place since ancient times. Is your Chen family trying to tear up the agreement? Although I, Dan Pavilion, am affiliated with your Chen family, I am not some cat or dog for you to toy with and drive around at will. The Grand Elder also spoke coldly. He is the oldest resident of the Dan Pavilion, guarding the Dan Pavilion since the opening of the sect. and the events of that year are still fresh in his mind. The Chen clan ancestors' promise was well documented. Although the Kayan Pavilion was affiliated, the Chen family was not allowed to meddle in the internal affairs of the Dan Pavilion. This is the promise made by your Chen family's ancestor back then. Do you not recognize it? Humph. I think you guys are not seeing the coffin. I'll say it again. You and others have no room to bargain as affiliates of the Chen family. With a wave of Chen Hong's hand, the guards standing above the celestial dome immediately hooted and hollered and surrounded all of these years. What a bull ****** promise. It's so in your face. How dare a dog behave in front of its master? Looking for death. The scene was tense for a while, and a group of Kayan Pavilion's strongest men had grave expressions on their faces. The Chen family guard side was also raging. As long as Chen Hong gave the order, they would immediately strike. Chen Hong's chest was full of plans. The young lord had specifically instructed at that time to knock these old guys from Kayan Pavilion by himself. I didn't realize that I hadn't made a move yet, but this old thing was writing his own face. So what are you waiting for? Of course it was ruthlessly suppressed as the young lord commanded. For you to do so, you've taken the Kayan Pavilion too lightly. Chen Hong, are you trying to tear up the agreement the Chen family made with us in the first place? The great elders Yuan Chi surged around him, and the strength of a great saint was revealed. Cut the crap. I think you guys have forgotten about my Chen clan's divine might. Chen Hong pointed the divine spear in his hand, his battle spirit flourishing. Both sides were at swords drawn, and a great battle was about to break out. Mu Yunshu stood on the sidelines, looking at the tense atmosphere, but the corner of her mouth floated in an arc. Just what she wanted. Fight. All the more ruthless the better. It is best that Commander Chen can get rid of those old guys in one fell swoop, so that she will have no obstacles within the Dan Pavilion in the future. Boo! The surrounding Yuan Chi collided, and both sides stared at each other closely for a moment, ready to strike at any time. The Grand Elder's eyes were shadowy as he stared at the junior in front of him and fiercely struck out. Knock! Terrifying Yuan Chi erupted, and the brazen strike of a great sage powerhouse was truly terrifying, and space was distorted for a moment. The Grand Elder blasted out a fist, the golden light was incomparably bright, and the terrifying fist shadow instantly enveloped Chen Hong's circumference. Chen Hong has long been waiting, eager to try. Eyes retarded oh hello vaguely mixed with a trace of excitement. With a shake of the divine spear in his hand, he directly met them. The divine spear blossomed with brilliant golden light. The terrifying sharpness instantly tore through the void in front of him, and countless spear shadows erupted out. Click! Just as the two great saints struck out and were about to collide together, the space between the two suddenly shattered, and a terrifying pressure instantly erupted out. It directly suppressed the duo's attacks brutally. Both sides are about to start a fight in a flash all by that horrible pressure waves. A dumbfounded look at that from the spacecrack retarded oh hello out of the man. Chen Qinghe appeared. Young lord. Chen Hong immediately half-kneeled on the ground and respectfully greeted the youth in front of him. The Chen family guard is just as good as it gets. On the Grand Elder's side, his gaze was astonished as he sized up the youth who had suddenly appeared. This kid's strength is truly terrifying. He was able to instantly dissolve the attacks of Lao Fu and Chen Hong. The Chen family's young lord was truly worthy of being a generation's pride. Damn it, looks like the plan is going to fall through this time. Gentlemen, things can be talked about slowly. Why start a fight at the drop of a hat? The Kayan Pavilion and my Chen family have counted hundreds of years of friendship. It's not good for either side to tear their faces off. Chen Qinghe let out a light laugh and said with a bland face. The Grand Elder's expression changed, his heart on alert. Chen Qinghe? Mu Yunshu carefully sized up the youth in front of him from the sidelines. So young, worthy of being a pride of the everlasting immortal race. I don't know what the strength is, but even I can't tell the depth. Chen Qinghe noticed the gaze from the side and turned his head to look, only to meet Mu Yunshu's beautiful eyes that were raked with deep meaning. He just nodded flatly toward the beautiful woman. I didn't expect young Lord Chen to come personally. We are not honored. The Grand Elder's expression was not good and he said perfunctorily. He had long since made up his mind that no matter how much the Chen family's side blocked him, Mu Yunshu must hand over the position of pavilion master, and also suffer a chastisement. Besides, this young master of the Chen family looks like nothing more than a brat. What can he be capable of? Oh, I already know about all of you. Seeing that the other party was not interested and even had a hint of hostility, Chen Qinghe did not bother to be polite. The matter of replacing the pavilion master will have to be considered in the long run. At the moment, the Sacred Dan Conference is approaching, so I think it's better for you to focus on that. He was originally good words. After all, the Sacred Dan Conference was about to open, and it would not be good for the two families to tear their faces apart. And more crucially, something happened within the Kayan Pavilion at this time, and the impact would be too great. The Grand Elder, however, didn't appreciate it and instead said in a deep voice, "What are these words from young Lord Chen? According to the rules, this is my Kayan Pavilion's private matter. Even your Chen family is not qualified to intervene. Mu Yunshu nearly laughed out loud from the sidelines, and the beautiful woman's red lips rose up as she watched with good humor. This grand elder was indeed an old codger, daring to speak like this even in front of the Chen family's young master. See how you end up. Chen Qinghe frowned, looking at the grand elder in front of him. The other party looked lonely and arrogant, obviously not putting him in his eyes. Good. You're shameless, aren't you? How dare you say that in front of me? What a bull ****** rule. Kayan Pavilion is affiliated with my Chen family, and all things big and small should have my Chen family's approval. Chen Qinghe's tone was cold and his gaze unkind. Humph. You Chen family don't bully people too much. My Kayan Pavilion is not your Chen family's dog. The grand elder's eyes were cloudy as he spoke angrily, but he only spoke in general and then lost his voice. Great elder. The several elders' gazes were horrified, and they didn't dare to make a move at all as they watched the scene in front of them. Hiss. Supreme. The terrifying pressure around Chen Qinghe caused the breath of everyone present to stutter. The aura was just too oozing. The grand elder was strangled by Chen Qinghe's neck, unable to make a single sound, and was lifted up by Chen Qinghe with one hand like carrying a chicken. His gaze was filled with fear. Being so close, the supreme aura from the other party was about to take his breath away. What rules? My rules are the rules. Here, I'm in charge, Chen Qinghe said coldly. His domineering gaze made the crowd shudder, and each of them was immediately silenced. Mu Yunshu stared at the youth's gesture from the side with her beautiful eyes wide open, her heart bursting with excitement. Chapter 23. Then go to hell. You are simply too deceitful. The second elder's teeth were bared as he pointed at Chen Qinghe and rebuked loudly. The Hall Kayan Pavilion elders. What things so suffocated? You Chen family power so what? It is not too much to look down on us. A cat-headed boy who had first entered the supreme being also dared to put up a fight. There are always unbelievers in this world. Chen Qinghe sneered in his heart. The second elder, this old bastard, one hand behind the negative, is gathering yuan qi. Look at that fluctuation. Estimate the world power is not small magic weapon. The old mongrel is a smart ass. Unfortunately, it was hard to escape Chen Qinghe's supreme eyes. Boo! With one hand, he flung the first elder away, and a terrifying pressure swept towards the second elder like a tidal wave. The monstrous yuan qi rolled like a tidal wave, and the divine patterns around his body were generous as he blasted out with a single punch, directly tearing apart a piece of the void in front of him. Ding! Golden light flowed. Brilliant divine light illuminated the heavens, and the ancient Brahman sound of the inheritance sun reverberated eerily, defending this punch. The second elder held a small bronze tripod and stormed back from the book 100 miles away. The terror of a supreme strike caused him to instantly turn pale. If it wasn't for the imperial artifact of the divine brilliance tripod in his hand, I'm afraid that he had already been blown to mush by a punch. Catalyze the ancient plate killing formation. Big deal. The fish is dead. The grand elder let out a furious rebuke, blood red in his cloudy eyes. Whatever you do about the Chan family of immortals, since you, Chen Qinghe, want to make a move, I'll spell out this body and wear out your little brat. Chen Qinghe, you damaged the covenant, and you must give an account of what happened today. The second elder lifted up the divine emperor cauldron and instantly killed. The Tao spreading around the divine cauldron, a runic seal engraving emitting a bizarre divine light. Even though it was a pseudo-imperial magic weapon, its power was no worse than that of an imperial weapon. This was also the capital that the five elders dared to confront Chen Qinghe. What about the supreme? All beings are equal before the emperor's weapon. Saying, a cold light emanated from Chen Qinghe's eyes. The corner of his mouth hooked up in an arc, and he said in a deep voice, the argument is that you all must die. How ridiculous. A group of great saints dare to ask for a claim in front of the supreme being? Isn't that a death wish? I'm a supreme being. What's the point of wasting words with you guys? Tough repression is the truth. Fine. Let's fight to the death then. The grand elder nearly laughed in anger at the kid in front of him. Damn it. I've lived for hundreds of years. I've never seen such arrogance. The great sage is not taken at random. Formation. With a wave of his hand, the five elders formed a hexagram station, and the divine emperor cauldron instantly transformed from the size of a palm to a huge bronze cauldron that was several zhan high under the impetus of the second elder's yuan qi. Brilliant dash. Ancient Brahma sounds echoed eerily, and in the bronze cauldron, a green-colored divine aura continued to spread out. The chaos in the circumference of the sky was constantly hanging upside down, and the positive heaven and earth were all shaken. The might of the imperial artifact completely erupted. A silhouette of green light that was 100 feet tall descended from the sky, as if it was like a great emperor, and the entire heaven and earth were subjugated at this moment. Chen Qinghe looked at the tactics of the few old guys and couldn't help but frown. not realizing that the other party had condensed a pseudo-emperor Dharma body with the help of the divine emperor cauldron. That terrifying chaotic fluctuation was definitely a false emperor without a doubt. What a tactic! Pseudo-emperor Dharma body. This kind of heavenly Dharma was able to condense, so it was evident that the divine brilliant cauldron was strong. It was no wonder that the Taisu sacred ground had gone to great lengths to fight over this item, and all the major Dan sects were eyeing it. Good thing too, otherwise wouldn't it be a bit too boring with just these old guys? Chen Qinghe was finally interested. It seemed like he could have a good battle with this false emperor Dharma body. He himself had never gone all out since he was born. Kid, the great world is as strong as the clouds, although it is said that all under the Supreme Being are ants. Don't be arrogant. It's not as if there are no methods to fight against the Supreme Being in the world. In vain, as the young master of the Chen family, you have no grooves in your heart, and you think highly of yourself. Today, even if we die, we will make sure you are buried here. The 5 elders simultaneously infused Yuan Qi into the divine brilliance cauldron. Boom! The hundreds of feet of false emperor Dharma body that stood in the firmament finally moved. Click, click. The huge palm that stretched across the heavens came towards Chen Qinghe and ruthlessly suppressed him, and that terrifying might made everyone's eyes widen. Surprisingly, the void was instantly crushed and exploded. It was simply terrifying. Chen Qinghe raised his head to the sky and looked at the magnificent and huge Dharma body with a composed expression. He raised his right hand, and Yuan Qi flowed like substance. Knock! Divine patterns flowed around his body, and the supreme purple Qi filled the air. Wow! The robes were hunting, and the green silk was like a waterfall. The starry sky above the firmament shifted in an instant. A large, boundless hand stretched across the firmament, almost capable of matching the giant palm of a false emperor's Dharma body. The great avatar, the star-picking hand. Boom! 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 Pseudo-emperor versus supreme exalt. This kind of huge disparity against each other had never been seen before in ancient times. Even someone as strong as a supreme being wouldn't dare to challenge a false emperor. But Chen Qinghe dared, out of the blue. It was a great divine ability of the supreme realm. The 5 elders in the formation, sensing the power of Chen Qinghe's star-picking hand, each had a huge change in expression. Their faces were pale, clearly not expecting that the might of this handful of great divine abilities had reached such an appalling level, enough to rival a false emperor Dharma body. Boom! The 2 giant palms violently attacked each other. In an instant, the heavens and the earth were a brilliant divine light. The false emperor Dharma body, which was several feet tall, actually showed a trace of trembling. The golden and radiant body collapsed in a flash. Click, click, click. Crazy. The 5 elders couldn't believe their eyes. How was this possible? The false emperor Dharma body had actually been shattered by a supreme being with a single blow. If you look at the past and present, there's never been anything like it. The divine brilliant cauldron could not withstand such terrifying might, and the purple divine aura dissipated in an instant. The runes on top of the bronze tripod body continued to flow backwards, and the green-colored divine light dimmed quite a bit at this moment. Disobey me? Then you all can just go to hell. Chen Qinghe's eerie voice echoed above the sky. The great body stands between heaven and earth. The black robe and sleeves were windless, and his hair blue as if he were a killing god. It's daunting. Chen Hong, who hid in the distance and watched, and a group of Chen family guards, their eyes retarded oh hello full of worship. This is the young master of their Chen family. The heaven's pride supreme was as terrifying as it was. Mu Yunshu on the side couldn't believe what was in front of her eyes. This guy is too strong. That domineering and magnificent body was deeply imprinted in the beautiful woman's mind. No, young Master Chen. We were wrong. It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. We're old and we're blind. We promise you what you want. Do as you say. Several elders have already been scared out of their wits at this moment. What bull ***** great Saint Majesty. At this moment all of them have been thrown to the back of their minds. Facing such a terrifying heaven's pride supreme, not even a fake Emperor Dharma artifact was an opponent, let alone a few of their regional great saints. Chen Qinghe let out a cold smile at the corner of his mouth. Begging for mercy? You must die even if you beg for mercy. Die for your master. Laws swirled around his body, and he blasted out with a fist that shone brightly with golden light. Space directly collapsed, and the distorted void instantly enveloped the 5 elders. A huge void fist shadow fell from the sky. It's like a punishment from the gods. All they could do was stare and wait for death. Boo! Chapter 24 Threaten me, then don't leave. Boo! For a moment, heaven and earth were silent. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The disciples of the entire Kayan Pavilion were dumbfounded as they watched what was happening in front of them. Everything is just too fast. It's almost electrifying. 5 elders at the peak of great sage. Just like that? There's not even a hair left. Didn't they say that all under the great sage are ants? Is the great sage so unbeatable? No. It's that young master of the Chen family who is too strong. So powerful. This young master of the Chen clan is actually a supreme being. Too terrifying. At such an age you're already a supreme powerhouse. When you look at the 5 great domains, no one can surpass you. No? The 5 elders were killed just like that? Then what are we going to do in the future? It'll be over if the other major Dan sects come to our door. What are you afraid of? With the Chen family's young lord backing you up, in the entire Taisu sacred land, who would dare to hit the door ungratefully? There were countless discussions as they hid within the sect formation, looking at the young celestial pride who stretched out across the sky in a spirited manner. In the eyes, there was only awe and admiration for the throne. Chen Qinghe came to Chen Hong's body. Looking at the youth in front of him who was the same age as himself, he nodded with satisfaction. How did young lord suddenly appear here? Won't you be arriving in another day? Chen Hong asked respectfully with a hopeful gaze. On the side of the Taisu sacred land, I think it's better to be quick to cut through the chaos. This side of things must be resolved this morning, or it will delay my future layouts. Chen Qinghe said blandly. After his deep thought, he always felt that if this continued, the layout would be even slower afterward. It would be better for him to do it himself. There were no forces on the Taisu sacred land side that could threaten them, let alone any powerhouses. He had to take the divine brilliant cauldron as soon as possible to pave the way for the Dragon Clan's line afterward. Only the matter of the Dragon Clan is of any importance. With a flip of his right hand, golden light shone brightly in his hand, and the divine brilliant tripod had already been collected back by Chen Qinghe just now. The power of this false emperor's magic artifact was enormous. Just now, the 5 elders had not utilized its true power at all. Mu Yunshu, get out here. Hand over the divine brilliance cauldron and we can spare your life. Hurry up and hand over the divine brilliance cauldron, or your Kayan Pavilion will be wiped out today. Ha ha ha, what a heavenly good thing. Your Kayan Pavilion seems to be actively trying to finish. Bang, bang, bang. Between the surrounding heaven and earth, several ear-splitting roars were heard, and not far above the sky dome, a terrifying aura spread out. It's about time you Kayan Pavilion killed each other. Mu Yunshu, you don't obediently bind your hands. Hand over the divine brilliance cauldron. Hundreds of figures stretched across the firmament, and for a time, the yuan-qi between heaven and earth was so dense that the terrifying pressure almost caused a palpitation in the hearts of those present. The major dance sects of the Taisu sacred land had finally come out. A big battle just now startled these guys. They had detected the fluctuations on the Kayan Pavilion side from afar, and had felt the aura of the great saints fighting from as far as 10,000 miles away. The matter of the Kayan Pavilion master Mu Yunshu being at odds with the 5 great elders was well known to everyone in the Taisu sacred land. It's just that everyone didn't expect that at such a critical juncture of the Sacred Dan Conference, the Kayan Pavilion's internal affairs were completely torn apart. It's a good thing. That's a good thing. Good kill. Whether it was Mu Yunshu or the 5 elders, it didn't matter if either side won, because their major Dan sect had long been dead set on this piece of fat meat. Dead a good thing. 2 dead people wouldn't make a lot of money. Death comes and goes, and they sit back and reap the benefits anyway. Right now is the best time. The major Dan sects were also too lazy to be pretending. The terrifying fluctuations just now were enough to indicate that a great sage powerhouse had fallen. And it's still 5. Without a doubt, it must be the 5 great elders. Although the crowd was puzzled as to when this woman, Mu Yunshu, had become so powerful, they had no time to think deeply about it. At this time, one step slower and the divine brilliant cauldron would change hands. The Holy Pill Conference? Who the cares about that? The pseudo-emperor artifact was close at hand. And the Kayan Pavilion only had Mu Yunshu, a great saint. Now, so wasn't that a proper piece of fat meat? Well, wonderful. In the void, a great saint stood. There were almost hundreds of them as far as the eye could see. The entire Taisu Holy Land's Dan sect powerhouses, large and small, all swarmed over at this moment. For the sake of that, it was that false Emperor Dharma artifact. These guys are simply too arrogant. Chen Hong's eyes widened in anger, and he took the lead in leading the guards to block in front of the group of great saints. The Kayan Pavilion is affiliated with my Chen clan. How dare you guys openly hit the door? Is it a desire to challenge the majesty of my Chen family? Chen Hong held his divine spear, and behind him, the Chen family guards directly unfolded into battle formation. Chen Hong? One of the 4 masters of the Chen family. The Chen family sent someone? No wonder Mu Yunshu dared to take action against the 5 elders. So it's because the Chen family is behind it. The Chen family? So what? Don't go too far, you immortal race. This is the Taisu Holy Land, and we are not affiliated with your Chen clan. Damn it, the Chen family also has no one left. Messing with such a small doll dares to be arrogant in front of us, but a mere great sage. If it weren't for the fact that you're a son of the Chen clan, I could take you down with one hand. Hubris. Truly he is arrogant. Have they always been this brave? Such a thought flashed through Chen Hong's mind. These guys were just too arrogant. I don't give a damn about my Chen family. Mu Yunshu is a little overwhelmed. Beauty woman has not seen such a big scene. Hundreds of great saints were out in force. This was a rare sight in 100 years. Mr. Chen, do something for me. The beautiful woman came to Chen Qinghe's front. Her beautiful eyes were filled with water vapor and she looked churlish. Right now her only reliance was this Chen family young. The terrifying strength of the multiple parties had long been seared into his mind. Mu Yunshu only wanted to submit to this heavenly pride supreme. Pavilion Master Mu has nothing to fear. None of them will be able to leave today. Chen Qinghe let out a light laugh, looking at the crowd of great sage powerhouses above the firmament, sneering in his heart. Yeah, these assholes really seem to have forgotten the majesty of my Chen family. Boom! He took a step into the sky and came directly to Chen Hong's side. You all are not putting my Chen family in your eyes anymore? Chen Qinghe's appearance was all without causing a commotion. A kind of great sage powerhouse looked at the youth that appeared in front of him with a frivolous gaze, clearly not placing it in his eyes. Although he couldn't see the youth's aura, judging by his age, he was at best one of the four two of the four Chen family members? It's still not dirt. There are so many great saints present. Each of them can drown you with a mouthful of spittle. Kid, don't fart. So what if it's the Chen family? This is the Tai Su Holy Land. We don't look at your Chen family's face to act. Chen Hong, as you are one of the four masters of the Chen family, we will sell you a face. Su leave, or else. Good. What a threat. That's a naked threat. In that case, none of them are going anywhere. Chapter 25, Capturing the Great Sage with one hand. Battling the Supreme with both hands? Don't use the Chen family to pressure us. It's not your Chen family's turn to meddle in this Tai Su Holy Land. Old man Heavenly Flame roared furiously, his great saintly radiance unusually dazzling. This old man was clearly looking down on the two young men in front of him. For a while, the atmosphere was unusually grave, and both sides were at swords drawn. Only the Major Dan sect was clearly more powerful in terms of strength. Big and small Dan sect bigwigs were all gathered here now. Just that strong aura of a great saint was already daunting. This is a very spectacular scene. To be able to make hundreds of great sage powerhouses step forward to snatch it, it was evident that the lure of this magic weapon, the divine brilliant cauldron, was great. Kid, quickly retreat. This is a private matter between us and Kayan Pavilion. Why do you need to get involved? Daoist Jiuli held a Taiji divine flame disc and stepped out with kind words. Mu Yunshu arrived in front of Chen Qinghe at this time, and the beautiful woman had a strange expression as she looked at the group of great saint powerhouses in front of her. You have killed my Kayan Pavilion with great fanfare. Have you forgotten the old ancestors' covenant of yesteryear? When these words came out, the crowd changed color slightly, but immediately returned to normal. What kind of bull ***** covenant? It's been hundreds of years. Who cares? Seeing that Kayan Pavilion is now in decline, and today there is infighting. Such a great opportunity. No one wants to miss. The temptation of this pseudo-imperial artifact of the divine brilliant tripod was too great, and the major Dan sects of the Taisu Holy Land had been eyeing it for a long time, only that they hadn't been able to get a chance. Besides, can you guard the divine brilliant cauldron in this manner now? We're all on our own. Taisu Holy Land Major Dan door, traced back a few thousand years. That can be the same lineage of the same Dora. If you can't protect the divine brilliant cauldron, and if it's seized by other forces outside of the Taisu Holy Land, how can the Taisu Holy Land still have the capital to stand up in the Eastern Xian domain? Wouldn't it be nice if you took it out and gave everyone a hand, and we'll protect it for you? Old man Heavenly Flame laughed coldly and said disdainfully, what kind of goods are you, Mu Yunshu, that you are worthy of saying such things in front of us? Do we need you to remind us of the covenant? I might as well tell you that we're going to take this divine brilliant cauldron today. Mu Yunshu's chest rose and fell, and a flash of anger surfaced above her features. These guys were great saints, yet they had such ugly faces. For the sake of a pseudo-emperor artifact, he went so far as to fight on the mountain gate and break the covenant set by the old ancestors. Chen Qinghe stared at that heavenly flame elder, and after his divine soul probed, he realized that the other party was only a mere 7th level of a mere great saint. But he did not expect to be so arrogant. Old man, haven't you forgotten that Kayan Pavilion is affiliated with my Chen family? Is this act of yours today an attempt to declare war with my Chen family? Chen Qinghe really couldn't understand. Is my Chen family so unbearable now? As an immortal, he was surprisingly devoid of any majesty nowadays. It seems like a big mistake for the old ancestors to be closed to the world for 300 years. The Chen family? What about the Chen family? The old man has a great saint cultivation, proud of the ancient world. How many great saints does your Chen family have? What kind of bull **** immortal clan? It's been closed for hundreds of years, yet it still dares to come out and disgrace itself. Really treating our major Dan sects in the Tai Su Holy Land as soft persimmons? Elder Skyfire had a disdainful look on his face. He had been roaming the Tai Su sacred land for more than 100 years, and his strength was definitely able to be ranked in the top 3 amongst the major Dan sects, now also only 300 years of age. Think that it is the time to fight forward and dominate. The eternal immortals? I'm going to be a great emperor in the future. What are you? A bull ***** immortal? Chen Qinghe's face turned blue and he almost laughed at this old man's anger. In that case, there's no need for nonsense. Let's see the real thing under our hands. Fine. Old me will be afraid of you, brat? Pull out all of your Qin clan's strongest men, lest word get out later that the old man bullied his juniors. Elder Heavenly Flame came out of the crowd and stood at the top of the dome of the sky. A big fiery red robe blew without wind and grinned. With a flip of his right hand, a crimson flame kept pulsing. Heavenly phosphorus divine flame. It really is old man Skyfire's innate divine fire. Worthy of being an alchemy divine flame. Just that terrifying aftershock alone makes one feel paralyzed. It is said that this heavenly phosphorus divine flame is enough to burn the divine souls of great saintly powerhouses, and even their fleshly bodies are hardly spared. The many great saints looked at the crimson flames in Elder Heavenly Flame's hands, and each of their eyes were astonished, even envious. This divine fire could be considered a unique and exotic treasure for the path of alchemy, and with the support of the divine fire, the chances of success in alchemy would be greatly increased. Moreover, the power of the divine fire itself was very terrifying, and it was through the power of this divine fire that the Heavenly Flame Elder was powerful enough to become famous in the Tai Su sacred land. Old man Heavenly Flame looked arrogant and couldn't stop sneering. 2 juniors who don't know the sky and the earth. How dare they pose in front of the old man? I'll take you all on in a few days and raise my god's authority. Chen Qinghe felt a bit ridiculous. This old thing took out a divine fire and dared to speak loudly and arrogantly? Does that thing of yours work? He thought that the old bastard could have some strong means, but he didn't realize that he was just relying on the power of the divine fire, which made him slightly disappointed. Chen Hong, give me your divine spear. Chen Hong immediately handed over the golden divine spear in his hand to the young lord. His gaze was fiery as he stared intently at the young lord's back. The young lord is going to strike again. You mongrels are about to meet the wrath of the young master of my Chen family. Chen Qinghe weighed the golden divine spear in his hand and felt pretty good. Celestial grade magic weapon. Good quality. Good enough. Boo. With one step, Yuan Qi continuously surged out around his body as if it was a tidal wave, and a terrifying aura was revealed at this moment. Elder Heavenly Flame's face changed as he looked at the youth in front of him with some consternation. This kid's breath isn't simple, although he couldn't see the depth, but judging by the aura around him that was so dense that it was about to become substantial, it was estimated that he was also in the Great Sage realm. Humph. I can't imagine that the everlasting immortal clan is really a crouching tiger and hidden dragon. Only, I don't know what means this kid used to conceal his own cultivation, even he couldn't see the depth. But so what? Kid, good strength. But do you think that with this amount of strength, you are a match for Lao Fu? The Heavenly Flame Elder snorted all over, his body's golden light shining brightly, and his great sage aura completely filled the air. There seemed to be a flow of Taoist lines, and divine seals descended. The heavenly phosphorus divine flame in his hand boiled more and more, the scorching flames scorching the entire heaven and earth. In an instant, even the Yuan Qi in the void was instantly vaporized. Many people felt a blazing burning sensation, and even as great saints they were able to clearly feel the power of the divine fire. The old man's journey across the Tai Su sacred land relied on a hand of out-of-this-world divine fire techniques. Just by virtue of you are worthy of being old man's opponent? I hold divine fire, and I can capture a great sage with one hand. 2 hands can battle a supreme being. The Heavenly Flame Elder was domineering and incomparable, holding divine fire as if he could be invincible in the world. This kind of divine might simply dazzled the crowd of great sage powerhouses. Chapter 26, Great Sage? Ruthless Suppression. Capture the great sage with one hand and battle the supreme with both hands? Well. So arrogant. Ha! Whose ministry is this that is so brave? Good. You are purely looking for death. Well, in that case, I'll have to honor your request. Directly and ruthlessly suppressed. Boom. Chen Qinghe was already too lazy to talk nonsense. This kind of arrogant jumper, surely he should let him taste his own power. Old man Heavenly Flame had just finished his vicious words and was still immersed in his domineering speech just now. Delightedly, he thought that after today, his mighty name would spread throughout the entire Eastern Xian domain. Ha. So what if the everlasting immortal race is still going to be held in one hand by the old man? Just as he was fantasizing in his mind that he was going to shake Dongxian with might in the future, a terrifying aura caused his heart to tremble. Supreme! It is the supreme being. Elder Skyfire couldn't believe his eyes. There was absolutely no mistaking that supreme purple chi. How is that possible? This kid was so young, but he had reached the supreme realm. It's yet absolutely false. False. It wasn't just Elder Heavenly Flame who was shocked. There was also a group of great sage powerhouses. Hiss dash. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This kid is actually a supreme being. When did the Chen clan have an additional Heaven's Pride Supreme? Why never heard of it? What exactly is this kid's origin? And why does he have the supreme purple chi on him? Fake. Right. How can there be such a young supreme? Don't panic everyone. This must be some sort of secret technique. Don't panic. No. Why did you run backwards when you said not to panic? The scene was a bit tumultuous for a while, and the hundreds of great sage powerhouses all looked pale. Goo. Old man Heavenly Flame involuntarily gulped, feeling his throat dry out. The body shape even subconsciously took 2 steps back. It suddenly occurred to him that his harsh words just now were not a bit premature. Battle of the Hands Supreme. Elder Skyfire felt like his person was numb. I'm just blowing smoke. How can this be true? No, you're the supreme being, you should have said so. If you had come out earlier and said you were the supreme being, would I have dared to talk nonsense with you here? You're a young man. You don't follow the rules, do you? Trying to pull a fast one on an old man like me? Oh, weren't you arrogant just now? What? Scared? Chen Qinghe laughed carelessly. Goo. Old man Heavenly Flame felt his throat unusually dry, and his pale face twitched slightly. The right hand holding the heavenly phosphorus divine flame couldn't stop trembling. The crowd of great sage powerhouses behind them immediately consciously pulled away from old man Heavenly Flame and stepped back in unison. The old man's own harsh words just now have nothing to do with us. Mu Yunchu's bright red lips hooked up. Her beautiful eyes were glowing as she stared at the back of the heavens remarkable supreme. Her heart didn't know what she was thinking about, and her stunningly beautiful face unexpectedly climbed with a hint of redness. I can't imagine that the Chen clan has produced a heavens remarkable supreme, but so what? Old me has the divine fire enhancement. It's no big deal to battle a supreme being with both hands. Heavenly Flame old man wanted to regret it was already too late. His hallowed great saint could not afford to lose this person. If this gets out, he will not have the face to mingle in the future. So one can only force oneself to stay calm and continue to put in harsh words. Chen Qinghe frowned slightly. I've seen people who aren't afraid to die, but I've never seen people who are in a hurry to get killed. In that case, I'll begrudgingly satisfy you. Boo! Holding the divine spear in his hand, he took a step out. The berserk yuan chi instantly surged towards old man Heavenly Flame. The supreme purple chi was draped around his body, and a golden divine pattern shone brightly and abnormally. The golden light divine lance in his hand emanated supreme divine might. The divine spear waved, and a terrifyingly sharp blade instantly churned the void, crushing towards the Heavenly Flame elder. Kid, don't be so arrogant. Elder Heavenly Flame let out an explosive cry, his hands holding up the crimson heavenly phosphorus divine flame. The flame scorched the sky, encompassing almost the entire firmament. The burning flame scorched the entire heaven and earth with an incomparable dry heat, and countless yuan chi instantly evaporated. 3 massive divine flames struck out, colliding with the sharp blades wielded by the divine spears. The might of divine fire instantly erupted. Several sharp attacks were neutralized in the blink of an eye. Supreme? It can stop this heavenly phosphorus divine flame of mine. Old man Heavenly Flame instantly smiled with joy when he saw that his divine flame was actually able to withstand Chen Qinghe's attack. Surely, the might of divine fire could not be resisted even by a supreme being? Ha ha ha. The old man is going to fight the supreme being with both hands. Ridiculous. A mere great saint dares to be arrogant in front of me. Die. Eerie. Piercing words exploded in his ears. Old man Heavenly Flame's complexion changed drastically in an instant. The crimson flames in the void unexpectedly kept retreating strangely after coming into contact with the supreme violet aura around Chen Qinghe's body. It's as if it's feared to the core. How is that possible? Elder Heavenly Flame was shocked. The divine fire he relied on couldn't even hurt the other party in the slightest. Boo! Die! Chen Qinghe was too lazy to waste his words and energy on this old man. Star Picker! An unruffled voice came out of his mouth. Boom! 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 Above the dome of the sky, the buckets turned to the stars, and a large, boundless hand encompassed almost the entire heaven and earth. The supreme pressure suppressed, and the terrifying might instantly made people feel their scalps tingle. Boo! The void shattered and could no longer withstand the supreme powerhouse's methods. Run! How terrifying! A supreme powerhouse is as terrifying as this. Is this the power of the supreme being? Countless great saints had their livers cracked, wanting to immediately flee this place, but that terrifying majesty seemed to lock them in place. A powerful sense of oppression slammed into them, making it impossible for them to move a step. This is the power of the supreme being. Boundless large hands suppressed down, almost enough to destroy the sky and the earth. A great divine ability at the supreme level was simply terrifying. You claimed that you were able to battle supreme beings with both hands. What? Now I'm right in front of you and you don't even have the ability to resist? People who talk big suffer death. Old man Heavenly Flame looked desperate as he used all his strength, but he was simply unable to resist that boundless hand. Even after using his most powerful heavenly phosphorus divine flame, it was futile. No, my lord, spare me, spare me. In the face of the aura of death, even a hallowed great sage powerhouse could only helplessly beg for mercy at this moment. Endless remorse flooded his mind. He shouldn't have provoked the youth in front of him, and he shouldn't have released the harsh words just now. What's more, he shouldn't have cursed the Chen family and provoked the immortal race. It can be cut. It's already late. Regret is useless. A great saintly powerhouse must also die. Boom, boom, bump. The boundless hand savagely suppressed and instantly annihilated a great saint powerhouse in this heaven and earth. It went up in smoke completely. The whole room was so silent that a needle could be heard for a while. The hundreds of great sage powerhouses present no longer dared to make a single sound. They looked at that heaven's pride supreme in horror. That tall and upright figure was deeply imprinted in their minds. Suddenly, Chen Qinghe swept his gloomy gaze towards the crowd. Everyone's breath hitched. Now, it's your turn. Chapter 27. Chen Qinghe is crazy. He wants to rebuild the Tai Su Holy Land. Now, it's your turn. Chen Qinghe's tone was grim, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Standing in the firmament, holding a divine spear, a supreme violet aura spreading with divine might. How many great men of the past and present have there ever been such a unique person? The heavens remarkable supreme, terrifying as it was. He is the young master of the Chen family? Finally, someone exclaimed in shock and recognized Chen Qinghe's identity. At his waist, there hung a golden poured Chen family spirit medal. The golden light was so bright that it was simply impossible to ignore. The crowd sniffed and looked, all of their eyes widening. The spirit tablet of the young master of the Chen family. He's Chen Qinghe. Chen Qinghe is actually already a supreme. This kid is only in his early 20s. How did the Chen family hide the news so tightly that we didn't even hear a single whisper? Damn. Lost count. The faces of the crowd of great sage powerhouses were turning blue at the moment, and the scene was at a standstill for a while. They had never expected that the youth in front of them would be a supreme powerhouse. The point is, the other party is the young master of the Chen family. How did they not realize that before? We've really kicked the bucket this time. So it's young Lord Chen. We were so ratty that we didn't recognize your excellency. Please bear with me if I've offended you much. Jiu Li Taoist stepped out, dressed in grey taiji clothes, with crane hair and fairy style. He was the patriarch of the Xiandan sect of the Taisu sacred land, with a peak cultivation level of the 9th level of great sage, a few points stronger than the heavenly flame elder just now. It was among the top 3 in the Tai Su Holy Land. At this moment, not caring about his own identity, he hurriedly came out to show his goodwill. Facing a heaven's pride supreme, even a great sage would have to admit defeat. With the other party's decisive nature, once the fight starts, their side will all be finished. He was forced to do so, and Taoist Jiu Li was considered the leader of this crowd. However, his posture was extremely low, just like he was not as overbearing as before. He had thought it through and didn't care about losing face in front of a group of great saints. At this moment, it is important to save life. Who cares about face or anything else? Wrap it up? Wrapped up in what? One by one. You all just now verbally abused my Chen family, provoking my Chen clan's divine might in front of me. Wrap it up? Chen Qinghe grimaced and had to admire this old Taoist's cheek. Just now, he told himself and Chen Hong to get lost quickly, and now he's smiling to make amends? You want to get rid of me with just a few words? None of you will leave today. As soon as these words came out, Taoist Jiu Li's face turned pale, and the Taiji divine flame disc in his hand was nearly unsteady. The crowd of great saints looked at each other, their faces according to a look of horror. This kid's crazy. Is it possible that young Master Chen wants to wipe us out? Joke. Some people shouted angrily. The hallowed great saint powerhouse. How can it easily still be taken by people? Chen Qinghe, even though you're the young master of the Chen family and you're a supreme being, can you do whatever you want? Right. We have been inherited in the Taisu sacred land for thousands of years, and the clan's fragrance has been passed down from one lineage to the next. So just by you want to take us all down. Fight him. With so many of us great saints, the big deal is that both of us will lose. Chen Qinghe, even if you run out of aura, you may not be able to kill us all. Seeing that there was no room for mutual conversation, the group of strong men were too lazy to waste any more words. Just you, a supreme being, want to take down hundreds of our great saints? Spelling aura can even spell you to death. This is the holy land of Tai Su. I don't believe you dare to kill us all. If you dare to make a move, So many forces in the East Qian domain will watch you fool around. The group of great saints were not brainless. Their reliance lay in the fact that Chen Qinghe did not dare to suppress all of them. Hundreds of great sage powerhouses. These were the top battle forces of the world. Although you are already a supreme power. But so many great saints say they can be killed? Aren't you afraid of public outrage? What will the other major powers of the East Qian domain think of you then? Not to mention the everlasting immortal race. They're going to stand by and watch you. A brat. Do whatever you want? The crowd of the Taisu sacred land had thought correctly. It was no small matter for a supreme being to rashly strike out and kill hundreds of great saints. Enough to startle the 5 great domains. The immortal clan side would not stand by and watch Chen Qinghe act recklessly. The moment of necessity will surely strike. However, they overlooked one thing. That is, does Chen Qinghe dare or not? Boo! Chen Qinghe's gaze was grim. And there was no nonsense. Pulling the wool over the eyes of a bunch of great saints was simply degrading to his status as a supreme being. Between the lifting of his hands, a large bronze cauldron shimmered with divine light and appeared in the air above his head. Divine patterns flowed and golden light shone brightly. Pseudo-emperor artifact. The divine brilliance cauldron. So what if there are hundreds of great saints? If I don't want to, they all have to die. They had also underestimated the power of the supreme being. It's ridiculous to hope that other forces will intervene. Not to mention the major powers. Even if the eternal immortal race were to step in, I would kill them all the same. The great ancient world is at hand, and no one can stop me. The divine brilliant cauldron's light and might were clear to the world, and a terrifying imperial weapon pressure swept out at once. The hearts of those present were terrified. This kid is for real. Chen Qinghe held up the divine brilliance cauldron with one hand as the purple aura spread around him. Nothing was said. Yet again, everything was said. Just then, a beautiful woman in a blue court dress stood out. Slender posture independent of the world. Snowy and fragrant shoulders like white snow. One right hand holds up the lotus dojo. The beautiful eyebrows were slightly wrinkled, and the red lips were lightly opened. Mr. Chen, don't act impulsively. Could it be that you want to bloodwash my Taisu Holy Land? Chen Qinghe stared at the blue-clothed beauty, his mind flowing, finally remembering the identity of the other party. One of the 5 great dance sects of the Taisu Holy Land. The sacred dance sect master, Lu Qiushui. But this woman has another identity. That was Lan Shuiying's master teacher. Well, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find you guys. And here you are. Chen Qinghe held up the divine brilliant cauldron of golden light in one hand, looked at the crowd of great sage powerhouses in front of him, and said aloud, so what if it's a bloodbath? Today, I'm going to suppress all of you who don't know the heights of heaven. Taisu's sacred land? Old man rebuilding one is. Bump! When these words came out, they exploded like thunder in an instant. The heavens flashed with lightning and thunder, and the clouds covered the sky with stormy weather. Crazy. This asshole is crazy. That was the only thought in everyone's mind. Lu Qiushui's beautiful eyes were horrified as she looked at the heavens remarkable supreme in front of her, suddenly having a strong sense of remorse. The Chen family's young master was so strong, and he was still a supreme power. They shouldn't have let Lan Shuiying withdraw from the marriage before. Now, well, the other party had killed the door, and the first one to be eradicated was undoubtedly their sacred dance sect. At this moment, it's too late. This guy is crazy. He dares to say rebuild the Taisu Holy Land. Mother her, can't the supreme being afford to come? Rebuild the Taisu Holy Land. Do you know the weight of these words? The crowd of great saint powerhouses were completely enraged by Chen Qinghe. One after another, they pulled out their magic weapons and prepared to fight to the death. All of them were being output by people writing their faces. At this time it was everyone who had to fight for their lives. Boo! Chen Qinghe would not give them a chance. One hand lifted the divine brilliant cauldron toward the hundreds of great saints, suppressing them. Chapter 28, How dare you, a Nirvana realm person, play with an imperial artifact? Isn't that purely looking for death? Boom! 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 The sky trembled and the earth tumbled. The divine brilliant tripod was suddenly generous with divine light between the buckets. The bronze tripod body was several feet tall, and countless green-colored divine light continuously surged out from it. It was like a chain of god-locking chains that transformed into hundreds of channels and pounced towards a group of great saint powerhouses. Fight him! Purple platform divine flame. Someone shouted and offered the alchemy divine flame to resist. Some people pulled out rare magic weapons to counteract it. Some people relied on the aid of divine pills, swallowing a large number of divine pills in one gulp to strengthen their fleshly bodies and harden their resistance to the divine might of imperial weapons. That's what makes Taiso Sanctuary so special. What they said earlier in their mouths. Even if you are a supreme being, you may not be able to kill us all before your aura dries up. This statement is not without merit. A bunch of alchemists who spent the whole day refining pills, Of course the last thing they lacked was various rare divine pills. Even the everlasting immortal race sometimes needed to ask for divine pills from the major dance sects of the Taisu Holy Land. Of course, usually, these old guys would have gotten their asses handed to them on their own. But this also showed that their alchemy skills were definitely not weak. Now that the great battle had opened, one by one, they were shoving the divine elixir into their mouths in a desperate manner. What golden light flesh body, divine soul true refining, aura cohesion and other divine pills, just like no money, a mouth full of them. What? I'm just high as a kite. The great sage's aura spread across the heavens and earth. Countless exotic treasures and divine light treasures instantly illuminated the sky. The entire Taisu Holy Land was almost on the verge of not being able to withstand this terrifying vision. Taoist Jiu Li held the Taiji divine flame disc, divine lines intersecting and Tao laws coming out in unison, accompanied by a loud shout from him. The god-locking chain in front of his body instantly collapsed. Chen Qinghe, you've bullied people too much. Old me is bound to fight you to the death today. This old man was worthy of being a peak great sage. His methods were not weak as he offered the Taiji divine flame disc in his hand and took the lead in killing towards Chen Qinghe. Oh, dying, let's start with you. Chen Qinghe shouted angrily, his purple aura spreading around him. The green silk at the back of his head danced wildly, and a murderous aura filled his composed eyes. At this time, he changed his usual image of a gentle gentleman. In one hand, he held up the false emperor's magic weapon, and in the other hand, he held the golden divine lance. It was like an invincible god of war, a domineering capital that stood proudly in the sky. Ding! With a flip of his left hand, the golden god gun let out an ear-piercing chirp and instantly shot out towards Taoist Jiu Li. Although it was only a heaven-level magic weapon, when he used it in his hands, the power was astounding. Bang! 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 The divine spear flew out and exploded a crack in the void. Even if Taoist Jiu Li sacrificed the Taiji divine flame disc in his hand to fight against it, it would not help. Click! In the blink of an eye, the Taiji divine flame disc in Taoist Jiu Li's hand was instantly pierced through by the divine spear. The sharp edge is more than just a strong stranglehold that follows. Ah! A terrifying scream resounded through the clouds, and the body of Taoist Jiu Li was directly strangled out of a hole. His face was pale and full of panic, and blood flowed around him. Give my divine brilliance cauldron as sustenance. Chen Qinghe extended one hand. Stargazer. The boundless hand directly grabbed Taoist Jiu Li's body and threw him into the huge bronze cauldron above. The peak powerhouse of the 9th level of the great sage could not even send out a single sorrowful cry before he had been refined by the pseudo-emperor's magic weapon in an instant. Not good. Run away. The supreme being is surprisingly so terrifying. Run for your life. No, I don't want to die. Countless great sage powerhouses saw this tragic scene and no longer had the heart to resist. Even the peak great sage Jiu Li Taoist was unable to resist. So where would they have the guts to go on fighting to the death? Escape. That was the only thought in everyone's mind. The crowd was already repentant. They regretted their reckless actions, regretting that they had angered a supreme powerhouse. One shouldn't have had the mind to snatch the divine brilliance cauldron. Even more so, one should not underestimate the depths of the Changqing family. I'm sorry for what I've done, but there's no use regretting it now. Some great saints had already been chained by the chain of locked gods and pulled into the bronze cauldron to be refined. Countless people want to escape from here. How could Chen Qinghe give them a chance? One hand held up the divine brilliance tripod and suppressed it with one hand. The supreme Dharma body descends into heaven and earth. For a time, the sky collapsed, and the horrifying pressure made people only feel their limbs aching and their scalps tingling, and some of those with slightly weaker cultivation instantly fell to their knees. Lu Qiushui couldn't stop flying and tried to escape, and the beautiful woman looked back, only to see the most unforgettable scene of her life. The heaven's remarkable supreme being had a grim face, and his icy eyes were locked onto his own. He's going to kill me. Lu Qiushui's beautiful eyes were horrified. Chen Qinghe was finally going to settle the score. Lan Shuiying's repentance of marriage is to be understood today. She, the sacred Dan sect, bore the brunt of it, and none of them could escape. Boundless large hands came to suppress. Lu Qiushui's beautiful eyes flashed, her posture trembled, and the aura of death enveloped her completely. The beautiful woman was desperate. Master! Suddenly, a scream came to his ears. Lu Qiushui hurriedly looked over, only to see his beloved disciple swooping in with the green sky creation furnace in his hand. Boom! 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 The star-picking hand was directly shattered by the divine furnace in the young girl's hand. Everyone's gazes were astonished, and some great saints recognized the white-skirted girl, great disciple of the sacred Dan sect, Lan Shuiying. The green sky creation furnace she held in her hand was a sacred Dan sect's old ancestors' handcrafted sacred artifact thousands of years ago. A pseudo-imperial magic weapon. Another pseudo-emperor magic weapon. In the sky above the Taisu sacred ground, two imperial artifacts, pseudo-imperial magic artifacts counted. and were of a lower class, actually appeared at the same time. Chen Qinghe, you dare to oppress my Taisu Holy Land's major dance sect based on your status. I, Lan Shuiying, was so blind in the beginning that I still thought you were some kind of hoary gentleman. It looks like I made the right decision when I repented of my marriage. Lan Shuiying's pretty face was filled with anger as she held the celestial creation furnace in her hand, and with the power of the imperial artifact, she resisted in front of the crowd. Chen Qinghe had a complicated look on his face. I didn't expect it. The master and disciple have sent it to my door. It's a double whammy. An imperial weapon? Okay. This is mine. I didn't think that the sacred dance sect was hiding quite deeply, but they even had a false emperor artifact as well. Just the right piece to collect. Do you think you can fight against me just because you hold an imperial weapon? What kind of imperial artifacts are you playing with when you're a mere mole in the Nirvana realm? Chen Qinghe is too lazy to follow the nonsense. A bunch of great saints were killed by themselves and cried out. And you, a Nirvana realm waste, dared to rush over to seek death. What's wrong with holding an imperial weapon? Relying on an imperial artifact to fight against me? Joke. Lan Shuiying did not expect the man in front of her to be so brutal and unreasonable in the slightest. Doesn't he have an ounce of compassion? Do you have to kill everyone in the Taisu Holy Land? This man is such an asshole. Fortunately I, Lan Shuiying, have a discerning eye, or else I would have almost become this asshole's woman. Lan Shuiying thought in her heart, her beautiful eyes glowing. Holding the celestial furnace of creation in his hand, the divine might of the imperial artifact shone brightly, and the incense in the furnace spread out to protect her. With me here today, you won't think of doing anything wrong. Lan Shuiying shouted with great righteousness. Ha. Good. Then I'll kill your master and disciple first. Slaughter the sacred dance sect again. Chen Qinghe's eerie and terrifying cold smile hovered in the void. Holding up the divine brilliant cauldron savagely killed. A Nirvana realm dares to play with imperial artifacts? Isn't that a pure death wish? Bring it to you. Chapter 29, send your master and disciple on their way. You're a supreme powerhouse. Yet you're killing us. I know you're angry at me for repenting of my marriage that day, but aren't you at fault at all? Lan Shuiying's silver teeth clenched as she looked at the man in front of her, vaguely fearful in her heart, but still stubbornly stopped in front of the other party. If you're so powerful, why didn't you come out earlier? Your Qin clan is an immortal clan. Do you still want to pussyfoot around with us ordinary forces? Does it have to come to this? Lan Shuiying droned on and on, speaking with great righteousness. Every word was directed at Chen Qinghe. Chen Qinghe frowned. This woman is still blaming it all on herself. Good. You're so ed up, aren't you? It pisses me off. Just as he was about to make a move to suppress it, a fragrant wind pounced beside him, but it was Mu Yunshu who came to his side. The beautiful woman's pretty face was chilled with a cold smile as she reached out and pointed at Lan Shuiying on the opposite side of the room. What a smooth-talking girl, full of benevolence and morality, but turning black and white upside down. Mu Yunshu was uncharacteristically cold, her beautiful eyes staring tightly at the young girl in front of her. Today's matter is clearly a case of you coveting my Kayan Pavilion's divine brilliance cauldron and wanting to snatch it at the expense of breaking the contract. If it wasn't for Mr. Chen's timely arrival, I'm afraid that my Kayan Pavilion would have been destroyed today, and there would be no more legacy. What's ridiculous is that you're even so bold as to accuse Mr. Chen of holding the strong and bullying the weak. Mu Yunshu was covered in a great saint's aura, so he had 7 points in his aura, and at this moment, when he angrily rebuked the young girl in front of him, he was even more overbearing. On the contrary, Lan Shuiying was a bit overwhelmed by the dislike, and a trace of panic flashed in her beautiful eyes. Also, are you worthy of reasoning in front of Mr. Chen? How honorable is the everlasting immortal clan? Your sacred dance sect is relying on the power of its rise, yet you want to go to the door to repent for your marriage and do such a stupid thing. The immortal Chen clan was already extraordinarily gracious when they didn't suppress it in court that day. You are instead complacent, thinking that your status is honorable and ignoring the majesty of the Chen family. The sacred dance sect repented of their marriage first, and are eyeing my Kayan Pavilion. If I don't kill you all today, the heavens will not allow it. Pity this brother of mine who has to bear your insults. This seat will act on behalf of this younger brother of mine today and step in to kill you here. The more Mu Yunshu spoke, the more angry she became, and the coldness above her features flourished. With her green silk flying and her robes hunting, the great sage immortal was moved to anger. Boo! Mu Yunshu suppressed a palm towards Lan Shuiying. The terrifying aura caused the young girl's heart to tremble and she hastily used the Qingtian creation furnace in her hand to resist. However, her cultivation was low, but she was only in the district Nirvana realm, and even if she held an imperial weapon in her hand it would be difficult for her to resist it nowadays. His delicate body was instantly slapped away by a palm, and even the emperor's weapon in his hand almost missed. Mu Yunshu didn't hold back. How terrifying were the great sage's means. Instantly appearing in front of Lan Shuiying, he slapped the young girl's pretty face fiercely. Snap! A crisp ringing sound resounded in the void as Lan Shuiying's delicate body flew out once again. Her face was full of shock, covering her pretty face, where it was already red and swollen, with blood dripping out from the corner of her mouth, and her cloaked appearance was very wretched. You! How dare you hit me? Lan Shuiying looked incredulously at Mu Yunshu in front of her. How dare this old woman hit her? Snap! Mu Yunshu's pretty face was frosty, her beautiful eyes were filled with murderous aura, and she once again shot out a slap. Lan Shuiying was simply unable to resist, and her delicate body flew out once again, crashing into the arms of her master, Lu Qiushui. Nowadays, both sides of her pretty face were swollen high, the red palm prints were exceptionally eye-catching, and blood couldn't stop flowing from the corners of her mouth. You old woman! Asterisk 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 asterisk. Who are you to hit me? Lan Shuiying hissed frantically, lying in the arms of her master, Lu Qiushui, hurling abuse at Mu Yunshu. Mu Yunshu laughed coldly and disdainfully said, You master and disciple are really a pair of stupid pigs. It would be justifiable for the sacred dance sect to be destroyed in your hands. Lu Qiushui's hallowed great saint, who used to be so powerful and famous in the Taisu Holy Land, met anyone with a fairy arrogance, never putting the others in her eyes, not to mention Mu Yunshu, this person. The two have long been looking at each other to be in each other's eyes. On ordinary days, Lu Qiushui hadn't rarely belittled the other party based on the strength of the sacred dance sect, but at this moment, she was biting her red lips tightly, clinging to her beloved disciple, facing Mu Yunshu's taunts, but not daring to make a single sound. Not far away, Chen Qinghe was staring grimly at their master and disciple duo. Mu Yunshu slapped 2 times, and then seeing the wretched appearance of the master and disciple, she only felt soothed in her heart. The beautiful woman was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, she came to Chen Qinghe's side and said with a faint smile, My younger brother won't blame me, right? Mu Yunshu blinked her beautiful eyes and said somewhat coyly, In terms of seniority, in front of this brat like Chen Qinghe, she was at the senior level. In terms of age, it was even unknown how many hundreds of years older the other party was. It's the same generation as Long Shuiwei of the Taiqing Palace. At the moment, she was posing as a little girl in front of a brat. Chen Qinghe looked at the beautiful woman pavilion master in front of him with deep meaning. He had to say that this woman was very good at seizing the moment. There are no words for this attentiveness. It's just that the call of brother was a little too intimate. It's only the first time they've met, so how did they get involved as siblings? However, Chen Qinghe did not care about this. Obviously, Mu Yunshu was showing his loyalty with this move. Kayan Pavilion was affiliated with the Chen family, so she always had to show something. Chen Qinghe smiled faintly and said in a warm tone, Sister Mu did a good job. Little brother is very satisfied. That's good. I was afraid you'd be moved by old feelings and blame your sister. Mu Yunshu's beautiful eyes lit up as she tried. That won't happen. I don't have any old relationship with that. Chen Qinghe shook his head. As the crowd of saint powerhouses present watched the two flirting there, each of their faces turned blue. Dog, man and woman. All of them thought so in their heads. Lu Qiushui's beautiful eyes contained fury. Her silver teeth clenched, and she secretly took the imperial weapon in Lan Shuiying's hand. What a! So shameless, wagging his tail in front of a junior. Mu Yunshu wa Mu Yunshu. You woman usually so high and proud. I cannot imagine that there is also this lowly appearance. Asterisk 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 go to hell. Lu Qiushui suddenly snapped, and Lan Shuiying in her arms had already fainted. It's going to be a death anyway, so we might as well put up a fight. How could it be that Mu Yunshu had to accompany her to the Yellow Springs? Jealousy refines the divine soul. Lu Qiushui shouted delicately, not hesitating to invoke her essence blood to activate the imperial artifact. The celestial creation furnace violently erupted with brilliant divine light, instantly shattering the void and attacking towards Mu Yunshu. The terrifying might of the imperial weapon killed Mu Yunshu in an instant. Seek death. Chen Qinghe waved his large hand out, and a large, boundless hand descended from the sky, directly grabbing the cyan sky creation furnace. What's the hurry? I'll send you on your way now. Boo! The supreme purple chi was released, and a terrifying pressure crushed towards the Lu Qiushui master and disciple duo. 2 green-colored divine auras flew out of the divine brilliance tripod. The chain of locked gods dragged Lu Qiushui and Lan Shuiying, master and disciple, directly into the bronze tripod body. In an instant, the 2 women were refined. Chapter 30. All come to my divine brilliance cauldron for a gathering. Rumble. A loud noise suddenly erupted from the distant immortal mountain. It was as if someone had broken out. A divine light flew in, and a terrifying aura shook the sky and dome. The white on divine light was blinding and incomparable, as if discussing the blazing sun in the sky. the divine might was majestic. It is like the gods of heaven below. Chen family brat, don't bully people too much. The old and gloomy voice echoed in the sky above the firmament, like a terrifying Taoist rhyme that resounded through the clouds. The killing intent in it was so pervasive that it sent shivers down one's spine. The people in the room panicked and sought to look up. However, he saw an immortal old man standing in the sky, treading on the clouds. A blue robe grinned and white hair flowed. This aura, it's supreme. It's the sacred Dan sect's old ancestor. We are saved. Some people present recognized the one in front of them. The great power that exuded supreme breath was precisely an old ancestor that had been in seclusion in the sacred Dan sect. Chen Qinghe fixed his eyes, but he smiled disdainfully. I thought it was some old monster who didn't come out of the world, but it turned out to be a false alarm. It was only a half-step supreme. He immediately stood out, protecting Mu Yunshu on the side, and said in a cold voice, so it's old ancestor Yang of the sacred Dan sect. What? Did you come out today for revenge? Chen Qinghe's straightforward surface position. Elder ancestor Yang's face was blue. He didn't expect that this Chen family junior would not give him the slightest bit of face. Kid, even though you are a supreme, don't be too arrogant. If you want to drive my Taisu sacred land to extinction, it depends on whether you have the ability to do so. Chen Qinghe felt a bit amused when he heard this. This old man has not been too high on himself. With his little strength, he is also worthy of barking in front of self, looking for death. So what if it's the Taisu Holy Land? Today I, Chen Qinghe, will wash this place in blood. Anyone who dares to stand in my way, die. It was just a single half-step supreme, who hadn't even stepped into the supreme realm, who dared to come out and call his bluff. It's a death wish, kid. Even if your Qin clan's great powers come out today, I'm going to take you down. Old ancestor Yang was completely furious and pointed out a finger. In the blink of an eye, countless agar lights converged and shot out as a rain of swords. The rain of aglow swords almost spread across the firmament, killing towards Chen Qinghe with an overwhelming and unparalleled capital. The rain of swords covered the sky and pierced through the void, blocking all exits. Everyone was shocked into a cold sweat by this casual strike by old ancestor Yang. That horrible sword rain, but any great saint powerhouse can only die with hatred. One touch is death. Chen Qinghe faced a sky full of sword rain, but was unmoved. Eyes narrowed as he simply raised his left hand. He thought that the other party would be able to come up with some earth-shattering means, but he didn't expect it to be such garbage. Classy. An icy voice resounded through the heavens. Boo! Words out of the law follow. In an instant, all the sword rain unexpectedly and bizarrely collapsed in an instant. In the next moment, the void distorted steeply, and Chen Qinghe's figure had appeared behind old ancestor Yang. Everyone's eyes widened as this bizarre scene was simply appalling. Obviously, there was not even a single fluctuation, but Chen Qinghe dissolved that sword rain with just a single sentence. Without a single sign of space breaking, the other party had already appeared behind old ancestor Yang. How powerful that really is. Thinking about this, all of the great sage powerhouses couldn't help but suck in a breath of cool air. It turns out that this guy has never really shot before, tightly just catalyzed the emperor weapon, has killed them crying out. If Chen Qinghe had used his full strength, I'm afraid that everyone would have been instantly subdued. What kind of demon is this? Old ancestor Yang was abruptly startled, fiercely sensing a chill behind him, and hastily swept away to avoid it. Boo! Chen Qinghe stood in the void, just pointing out with a single finger. The supreme purple chi instantly exploded a dome of heaven. How is it possible? How could you kid be so strong? Old ancestor Yang was shocked beyond belief. How come he just came up and got defeated? It was only after the old man closed his eyes and paid his respects that he realized a trace of the supreme chi. According to reason, even if this kid is already a supreme being, but he himself has 1 foot in this category, it is impossible that the gap is so great. Chen Qinghe was expressionless as he said indifferently, "You're just a half-step supreme. You do not enter the supreme being and see me as a frog in the bottom of a well looking at the bright moon. When you enter the supreme being, you realize that you are an ant seeing the green sky, seeing the green sky." The hegemonic words spread throughout the heavens, as if they were the voice of the Tao, exploding in the ears of the crowd. Old ancestor Yang was even more filled with disbelief. These words hit him too hard, even overturning his perception of the supreme being. Just as well then you jinxed the divine brilliance cauldron. The three of you, your grandparents, may also gather together. Chen Qinghe held up the divine brilliance tripod and smiled grimly. He didn't want to expose his supreme strength too much, so he had always used imperial weapons to suppress it. It's the same at the moment. This kind of trash wasn't worth using his supreme strength. The emperor weapon in his hand could easily kill it. Rampant! Old ancestor Yang bellowed, rising up with divine might as an ear-splitting blast erupted around him. Terrifying divine light gathered all over his body as he took one step to shatter the void. Boo! It chopped towards Chen Qinghe. Imperial artifact divine might. Chen Qinghe held up the divine brilliant cauldron, and the purple chi around his body was dense, all of which gathered in the divine brilliant cauldron. Boo! As he flung out the divine brilliant cauldron, the mighty imperial artifact divine might unexpectedly exploded directly into the heavenly beyond. Purple chi divine aura flew out, and hundreds of chains of locked gods instantly wrapped around Old Man Yang's body. What? Old Ancestor Yang was shocked, but throwing how he struggled didn't help. The body was yanked hard into the divine brilliance cauldron. An ear-piercing scream was emitted from the bronze tripod. Chen Qinghe's gaze was grim as the purple chi around his body continued to pour in to suppress it. Ah! 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 A miserable scream was like the cry of ghosts and wolves, resounding through the clouds. Everyone couldn't help but shiver. The great saint powerhouses present were simply about to pee in fear. It's even if the great sage says kill. Even half-step supreme beings lifted their hands to suppress them. It's horrible. Accompanied by a terrifying scream, the bronze body of the divine brilliance cauldron shook violently. Eventually, it tends to calm down. A half-step supreme being was refined. However, Chen Qinghe had no intention of stopping. Instead, his gaze was grim as he stared at the group of great saints. There's no one there now, is there? No one else. It's your turn, oh. All come and gather in this divine brilliance cauldron of mine. As soon as the words fell, countless supreme violet chi-enhanced chains of locked gods flew out from the divine brilliant cauldron. A divine aura carried an incomparable pressure as it flew towards a group of great sage powerhouses. Don't, Mr. Chen, spare me. No, 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 I don't want to die yet. Run away, run away. I was wrong, please spare my life. Mr. Chen. Countless great sage powerhouses let out ear-splitting screams and begged for mercy, but all that greeted them was death. A body was mercilessly dragged into the divine brilliant cauldron, and accompanied by ear-piercing screams, a great sage powerhouse was then jinxed alive. Above the entire Taisu sacred land, the wailing continued to resonate through the clouds.